Godzilla clenched its fists, coalescing its power into a strike aimed at the sea turtle. What the heck? Yechwan's expression shifted dramatically. He had not anticipated that this fellow would act so suddenly. Without hesitation, he layered the protective shields upon the sea turtle, adding a total of 7 shields in the span of a mere second, nearly exhausting all available disposable shields. A thunderous crash resounded as Godzilla's fist impacted the protective barrier, unleashing a terrifying force that left the shield riddled with cracks before it shattered completely. Run! Yechwan bellowed in desperation. Accompanying his command, the sea turtle immediately activated its hovering acceleration while employing its invisibility technique, darting away at an astonishing speed. In that moment, Godzilla appeared momentarily bewildered. Was it that the little sea turtle was too elusive, or was it that his own might was insufficient? As a being of forbidden status in the ocean, even without exerting full strength, it seemed implausible that an SSS-level marine creature could withstand such an onslaught. How could it possibly not be sent flying? When he regained his senses, the sea turtle had already surged over 10 nautical miles away, inciting a furious pursuit from Godzilla. Only the turtle's blood could cleanse this humiliation. An SSS-level creature might crack a single shield with a full-force strike. Yet this forbidden entity had effortlessly shattered 7 layers. What a terrifying display of power. Yechwan's demeanor grew serious as he remarked, "It's pursuing us relentlessly. Does it intend to fight to the death? I fear that even if we all band together, we may prove no match for it." The little flying dragon spoke in hushed tones. "Damn it. Are we really going to meet our end here? Fear not, we shall not." Dan Xingzi replied solemnly. There exists a rule in the oceanic realm. Forbidden creatures are not permitted to linger in the sea of taboo. Otherwise, they challenge the very laws of the ocean and face annihilation. Old man, we still require some time to enter the sea of taboo. Do you truly believe we can withstand this creature for that long? The little flying dragon nearly wept in despair. Stop jesting. Just as the tension escalated, the voice of the system resonated unexpectedly. Island upgrade complete. Congratulations, host. Your island has ascended to level 22, earning an upgrade package. Would you like to activate it? This announcement puzzled Yechwan. Why was the system communicating this now? However, he set aside his thoughts and first activated the double amplification before responding. Activate. Activation in progress. Congratulations, host. You have received 4,000 evolution points. Absolute Defense 5, Island Stabilization Device 2, Super Shockwave 2, Island Propulsion Device 2, Evolution Value Package 2, and Basic Resource Package 2. With the double amplification, all rewards were doubled. Yechwan remarked, I must ask, system, we are currently being pursued by a being of forbidden status. Is it permissible to stack the super shockwaves this time? That is acceptable, but only for this instance, the system promptly replied. Then we are in agreement. Yechwan took a deep breath and immediately activated the island propeller, causing the turtle's speed to surge from 1,000 nautical miles per hour to an astonishing 2,000. Godzilla, already unable to keep pace, found the disparity between them even more pronounced. This only served to infuriate Godzilla further, as blue luminescence flickered from its mouth, inducing a palpable tension among the onlookers. Was it about to unleash a formidable attack? Undoubtedly, it was preparing for a grand strike. Yechwan's expression turned grave as he declared, however, we are not to be trifled with. I shall now employ our most potent assault, hoping it can withstand Godzilla's mightiest blow. Otherwise, we may truly meet our doom here. Curse it, why must we encounter such calamities? The little dragon gritted its teeth. If we can turn this peril into safety, I shall surely embrace a path of virtue and commit fewer sins. Spare me the rhetoric. Yechwan retorted with a cold snort, merging 2 super shockwaves into one, augmented by a weapon enhancement card, culminating in a super shockwave with power exceeding 4-fold. Ready to counter Godzilla's impending onslaught. Boom. Godzilla's attack brewed for over 10 seconds before erupting forth, creating a semi-cylindrical depression in the ocean several hundred meters deep. As the luminous beam hurtled menacingly towards the turtle. It's coming, good heavens. The little dragon nearly screamed, feeling a sense of foreboding despite the distance of over 10 nautical miles. Bring it on. Yechwan bellowed skyward, as the quadruple shockwave coalesced into a beam nearly indistinguishable from Godzilla's atomic breath, crashing forcefully against the luminous pillar. Chapter 539, Atomic Breath vs. Super Shockwave. The two forces collided in a cataclysmic clash, the terrifying power rendering sound nearly non-existent as they met, seemingly obliterated in an instant. Subsequently, the water surface within a 10 nautical mile radius collapsed entirely, revealing an immense sphere of light that pressed down on the ocean, forcing the water downward by nearly 1,000 meters. The marine life in that vicinity, including SSS-level creatures, was utterly annihilated, leading to a near-extinction event for all beings within that expanse. Soon after, a shock wave of cataclysmic proportions radiated outward, generating monstrous waves that surged forth, towering hundreds of meters high, as if hunting down any unfortunate survivors. Boom. Godzilla, taken aback by the devastation wrought by the attack, braced its head against the impending shockwave. Despite being a forbidden-level oceanic creature, this formidable strike merely staggered it back a few steps, only for the subsequent waves to crash down upon it, submerging the beast beneath the tumultuous sea. As the shockwave surged forth from Turtle Island, it traveled several dozen nautical miles before colliding with the land. However, Turtle Island was propelled forward in the direction of the shockwave and was safeguarded by 3 protective shields. Ultimately, only 2 layers of the shields were shattered, and the shockwave reached the forefront of Turtle Island. The colossal wave, on the other hand, appeared to have slowed significantly, failing to catch up to Turtle Island, trailing behind until the distance between them widened to a point where it no longer posed a threat. Am I still alive? A sense of trepidation washed over me as I gazed at my hands. Little Flying Dragon shook his head in disbelief. It was truly astonishing that we had evaded the assault of a forbidden-grade marine creature. We could only dodge once. If it were to strike again, especially with atomic breath, we would be doomed. Yichuan remarked gravely. Thus we must pray it refrains from attacking us once more. This so-called forbidden-grade marine creature is indeed terrifying. Taking a deep breath, Dan Xingzi solemnly stated, although we did not feel anything just now, we undoubtedly danced on the threshold of death. Even against a super S-grade marine creature, one would emerge severely injured, if not dead. The others nodded in agreement, all fervently hoping that Godzilla would not strike again. In truth, Godzilla was quite vexed at this moment. It was well aware that its move was extraordinarily powerful, capable of overwhelming even other forbidden-grade beings. Yet this little Karami managed to withstand it and escape. The more Godzilla pondered, the more perplexed it became. It swayed, its nearly 3,000-meter frame rising directly to the water's surface, swiftly charging toward the direction of the turtle. With each stride, the surface of the water trembled violently, and certain forbidden-grade entities seemed to stir with anticipation. Though Godzilla's size was immense, its speed was not to be underestimated. It could reach over 2,000 nautical miles per hour in an instant, slowly closing the distance between itself and Yichuan's group. This bastard is really pursuing us. Little Flying Dragon's face turned pale as he observed the expanding red dot on the super radar. Brother, are we truly facing dire straits today? Do not panic. Yichuan shook his head slightly, his expression grave, until the very last moment, refrained from uttering words of despair. After all, we are still alive, are we not? His words left Little Flying Dragon feeling helpless. Dan Xingzi, however, spoke earnestly, stating that in the current situation, we might as well confront it head-on, as we had no other options left. Yichuan's countenance darkened, and he remained silent, quickly deliberating on a countermeasure. After some contemplation, he produced a super missile system, amplifying its power twofold, and promptly launched it toward the charging Godzilla. Godzilla dismissed the super missile with indifference, raising its massive claw to strike it down with ferocity. With a thunderous roar, the terrifying force of the explosion surged forth, causing Godzilla to stumble in surprise. Yet, it suffered no injury, not even a scratch upon its hide. This only served to incite Godzilla's ferocity further, as its speed inexplicably quickened. Big brother, this is not good. That creature has accelerated. The little dragon exclaimed in exasperation. Yichuan's lips twitched. He found himself at a loss for how to confront this formidable foe. System, do you intend to let me perish at the hands of this Godzilla? He questioned, but silence reigned as the system remained unresponsive. Suddenly, Yichuan recalled the concept of dimensional space. If they could enter another dimensional realm at this moment, perhaps they could evade the impending attack. He remembered the system mentioning that he possessed 2-dimensional spaces. Since one was known to be the Labyrinth of Pan, what could the other be? If he could locate this second-dimensional space and take refuge within it, they might just survive this crisis. Without delay, Yichuan began to search fervently. However, he found nothing that resembled a gateway to dimensional space. Just as he pondered this, he felt a movement at his wrist. His small companion, the toxic creature, seemed to awaken. In a flash of inspiration, Yichuan recalled the glass marble he had pulled from the chest of a skeleton when he and the creature had entered the belly of the golden dragon fish. Inside that marble lay mountains, lakes, and verdant grasslands. Could this be the dimensional space the system had referred to? With determination, he retrieved the object. It appeared remarkably transparent, resembling an artistic depiction of a miniature world. Yichuan, with utmost seriousness, inquired, System, Is this object a dimensional space? Indeed, the system finally responded. The glass orb encapsulates a small world, which the host can claim as their own dimensional space. Astonished, Yichuan gazed at this so-called small world, which was sizable enough to rival a small town. To transform it into his dimensional space would be an invaluable treasure beyond measure. A wave of exhilaration washed over him. System, how can I claim this small world? To subdue the guardian beast. The system promptly provided the answer. Before that, you must allow me to enter it. Yichuan replied, exasperated. Otherwise, what good is this information? Note, the system will grant the host one entry into the small world, after which all further exploration is at the host's discretion. Came the system's voice once more. Understood. Yichuan nodded and declared, I will now enter the small world. Godzilla cannot pursue us for 20 minutes. Within this time, I will subdue it and bring everyone inside. Should any unforeseen circumstances arise, you must hold your ground temporarily. Brother, is the time not too rushed? Little Flying Dragon couldn't help but ask softly. There's no other choice. It must be done. Yichuan sighed helplessly, as he was directly transported into the small world by the system. From the outside, it merely appeared as a model encased within a glass orb, yet upon entering, he realized the vastness of this small realm. It spanned 100 square kilometers, complete with mountains, lakes, and lush greenery. Even the clouds in the sky and the sun were genuinely present. Indeed, this is a remarkable little world, Yichuan remarked, taking a deep breath. Suddenly, a thunderous noise erupted as a colossal water spout emerged from the distant lake. Moments later, a black serpent, measuring several dozen meters in length and as thick as a barrel, appeared before Yichuan, glaring coldly at him. Who are you to dare intrude upon my domain? It hissed. I am Yichuan, and I merely wish to inform you that this small world shall henceforth belong to me, and you will become my contracted beast. Yichuan stated expressionlessly. Now, we can proceed to sign the master-servant contract. Are you jesting? The black serpent regarded Yichuan with disdain, its cold laughter echoing. In all this time, no one has dared to confront me, the black dragon. You, an outsider, believe you can conquer my world? Such delusions. Yichuan scoffed quietly, refraining from further words. This creature was an SSS-grade being in its growth phase, although he could not claim he could defeat it with his current strength. Subduing it within 20 minutes would not be an easy feat. In a fit of rage, he bellowed and launched himself at the black serpent. The serpent roared in response, its massive body swaying to one side as its lengthy tail lashed out violently towards Yichuan. Come, he shouted, as the forbidden spear surged in power. Its tip aimed directly at the serpent's tail. A resounding boom echoed as they collided, creating a nearly 100-meter-deep crater in the lake. The black serpent remained unscathed, opening its gaping maw and unleashing a barrage of black arrows towards Yichuan. The piercing sounds filled the air, covering every possible escape for him. Instead of retreating, Yichuan advanced, executing a reverse flow technique that collided with the air, creating an opening. Switching from spear to sword, he struck once more at the serpent's body. Enraged, the serpent lifted off the ground, repeatedly charging at Yichuan. He deftly evaded, seeking the serpent's vital spot. Striking its weak point was essential for subduing the creature. However, the opportunity was fleeting, and Yichuan knew he must remain composed to avoid missing his chance. Should the serpent fortify its defenses, the battle would become significantly more arduous. The two adversaries engaged in a fierce exchange, neither willing to yield an inch. Throughout the course of their battle, Yichuan was struck 3 times. However, after 10 minutes of relentless combat, he discovered the vulnerability of the black serpent. In a moment of cunning, he feigned a weakness, leading the black serpent to believe it had found the opportunity to deliver a lethal blow, charging towards Yichuan with ferocity. Now was the moment. Yichuan's eyes narrowed, and he let out a low exclamation as he evaded the black serpent's deadly strike at an extraordinarily peculiar angle. In an instant, he transformed his weapon from a longsword to a spear, unleashing absolute gravity at breakneck speed, aimed directly at the black serpent's critical point. No! The black serpent shrieked upon realizing Yichuan's ruse, but it was too late. With no time to evade, it attempted to counter the impending strike with sheer force. Boom! In the next heartbeat, the spear, imbued with cataclysmic power, struck the black serpent's vulnerable spot. The sheer force, exceeding 20,000 tons, sent the black serpent's body reeling, rendering it momentarily incapacitated. Its combat prowess diminished by at least 2/3. Little Black, is it time to acknowledge your master? Yichuan inquired with a smile, his tone nonchalant. Death is preferable to dishonor. The black serpent gritted its teeth, glaring coldly at Yichuan. There is no need for such empty rhetoric. What purpose does it serve? Yichuan replied dismissively. Just sign the contract with me, and you can continue your duties as the guardian of this realm. Surely, you don't believe I intend to reside here? You're not staying here? The black serpent asked, suspicion etched across its features. Good heavens, am I mad? Why would I remain in this place when the vast world awaits exploration? Yichuan replied incredulously. I only entered during perilous times to seek refuge or to store certain items. This time, I am merely hiding from a forbidden-level entity that is pursuing me. Hence the need to bring a companion for safety. If only you had mentioned that sooner, we could have avoided this conflict and signed the contract right away. The black serpent remarked, exasperated. Enough of this. Let us finalize the contract. I'm in considerable pain and need to tend to my injuries. With that, the black serpent initiated the process of signing the contract with Yichuan. Meanwhile, the distance between Godzilla and Turtle Island diminished further. At this moment, the island's suspension and acceleration had entirely ceased, moving at a speed of merely 190 nautical miles under the propulsion of the island's engines. While it felt swift, in comparison to Godzilla, it was akin to crawling. Damn it, is my brother not finished yet? Little Flying Dragon muttered, clenching his fists as Godzilla drew nearer. This creature is likely challenging to operate. Otherwise, it wouldn't take so long. Zhao Feiyu stated with a grave expression. In this scenario, we must do our utmost to buy time for Yichuan. With that, as Godzilla charged forward, Zhao Feiyu decisively commanded. Deploy all available weapons on Turtle Island. We must hold it off for a while. Chapter 541. A critical moment. Entering the small world. The distance between Godzilla and Turtle Island was steadily diminishing. However, Godzilla refrained from utilizing its atomic breath. It was uncertain whether the initial failure to unleash such an attack had sown doubt within itself, or if it simply intended to assert its dominance through sheer strength. Catch up quickly. Attack now. The little dragon urged in hushed tones, observing that Godzilla was merely 100 nautical miles from Turtle Island. Patience, just a bit closer. Zhao Feiyu responded quietly, fearing that without the element of surprise, they would be at a disadvantage. What if it catches us off guard? Blueberry Jam murmured anxiously. At that moment, Godzilla had already approached within 10 kilometers of Turtle Island, closing in with astonishing speed. The turtle, driven by sheer will, was striving to escape. Yet its velocity remained woefully inadequate. Engage. Zhao Feiyu commanded as Godzilla's claws were poised to strike. In an instant, ground to air, super laser cannons, heavy artillery, and rotating crossbows were all aimed at the impending onslaught of Godzilla. Upon Zhao Feiyu's command, every weapon was unleashed. Boom. The terrifying barrage detonated when both forces were merely a kilometer apart, enveloping Godzilla in an overwhelming force. Caught off guard, Godzilla momentarily faltered. Yet, to Godzilla, these attacks were mere hindrances, inflicting no significant damage. Instead, they ignited its fury. With a swift dive, its colossal form surged forward, closing the distance to the fleeing turtle within mere kilometers. The turtle, now acutely aware of Godzilla's charge, was paralyzed with dread. There was no time to break. In that fleeting moment, all weapons were fired again. With eyes ablaze, Godzilla pivoted and unleashed a devastating tail swipe aimed directly at the turtle. Brace for impact. If necessary, we must fight back, Zhao Feiyu shouted, though a flicker of uncertainty lingered in his heart. After all, this was a creature of forbidden caliber. Even super S-class marine beings might struggle against it, let alone a being of such taboo status. Are we going to perish here? Blueberry Jam's eyes widened in terror. Her lips clenched tightly. Brother, why aren't you ready yet? In that moment, the turtle finally succumbed to rage, unleashing absolute gravity with a cataclysmic force directed at Godzilla. With no escape possible, the only option was to charge forward. Let us give it our all. In that instant, both Godzilla and the turtle unleashed their formidable powers, preparing for a climactic confrontation. Yet, Godzilla's tail strike fell short. Initially, it unleashed its full strength, intending to deliver a fatal blow to the sea turtle with a single swipe of its tail. However, it unexpectedly lost its momentum, spinning in circles several times. Perplexed as it gazed in the direction where the hefty turtle had just been, it struggled to comprehend how such a substantial creature could simply vanish. This did not seem to be a mere figment of its imagination. The only plausible explanation was that the turtle had sought refuge in a place unknown even to itself. Yet it could not remain hidden forever. It would eventually resurface. Thus, Godzilla chose to remain, patiently awaiting the turtle's reappearance, eager to exact a brutal vengeance. At that moment, Blueberry Jam and Lu Yue had already closed their eyes, unable to fathom how a turtle could possibly rival Godzilla. In such dire circumstances, it seemed that only death awaited them. Yet, the anticipated clash never materialized, and even the sound of the ocean faded away, leaving both women bewildered. Slowly, they opened their eyes, only to discover that the turtle had found its way onto a patch of grass, surrounded by lush greenery and the faint aroma of blooming flowers. "Brother," the little dragon exclaimed with excitement as it spotted Yichuan nearby, bursting into laughter. "You actually did it." Indeed, it was astonishing to realize that a small world existed right beside him, and it was now within his grasp. Yichuan chuckled as he responded, "From now on, should we encounter insurmountable dangers, we can simply retreat into this small world." Impressive. The little dragon gave Yichuan a thumbs up. "This small world is vast. You are truly fortunate." Dan Xingzi surveyed their surroundings, his expression growing serious. "You must understand, to create a small world and attain one's own dimensional space, one must reach a realm beyond the moon phase. Otherwise, it is mere fantasy. You, having only reached the transformation stage, have already acquired a small world. If others were to learn of this, they would undoubtedly be envious. That was merely a stroke of luck." Yichuan laughed, shaking his head. "I had taken it from the neck of a skeleton without realizing it was a small world until a sudden spark of inspiration struck me. This is a secret. Do not disclose it to anyone, or they may come to seize it," Dan Xingzi warned gravely. "I understand," Yichuan replied, nodding slightly. "Brother, the pressing issue now is how we are to exit," the little dragon said, exasperated. "Given the current situation, the moment we step outside, Godzilla will surely annihilate us. It's terrifying. Indeed, a being of such a forbidden caliber is not something we can contend with at present." Zhao Feiyu added solemnly. "We must devise a plan to find a way out. Look." Yichuan waved his hand, conjuring a large screen before them that displayed the scene outside, revealing Godzilla standing at the site of their confrontation, seemingly unwilling to relent until the turtle emerged. Upon witnessing the scene before him, the little dragon could only clap his hands in exasperation, exclaiming, "This fellow simply stands here, awaiting an opportunity. If we venture out, won't we be struck down in an instant? Yet, we cannot hide here for eternity," Blueberry Jam retorted with a smirk, acknowledging the beauty of their surroundings. "At this juncture, we are left with but one course of action," Yichuan mused thoughtfully, his tone turning grave. "What?" The moment he spoke, all eyes turned expectantly towards him. "We shall wait until tonight. By then, the sea turtle's skills, its speed enhancement, and invisibility will have fully restored. We can stealthily surge over 1,000 nautical miles," Yichuan declared, emphasizing that this was their only viable strategy. "We cannot overpower it nor slay it. Thus, we must resort to this plan," Dan Xingzi sighed in agreement. In all his years, he had never encountered a forbidden-level marine creature, let alone found himself at odds with one. Accompanying them these past few days had afforded him experiences previously unknown. Subsequently, Yichuan instructed Saturday to prepare some provisions, and they all indulged in a few delightful drinks. It wasn't until the early hours of the night that Yichuan began to observe Godzilla. At that moment, Godzilla had closed its eyes, seemingly in slumber. Surrounded by an eerie silence, the group remained on Turtle Island, taking advantage of the remaining effects of the island's accelerator. With a soft sound, they stealthily propelled themselves out into the ocean, returning to the marine world. To Yichuan's delight, Godzilla remained in deep sleep, oblivious to the turtle's covert exit, and did not pursue them. This brought an air of excitement among the group. Indeed, it could be said that the threat posed by Godzilla had been temporarily averted. After the turtles surged forward for several minutes without any sign of Godzilla stirring, Yichuan set up the super radar and then decided to retire for the night. "Host has not yet checked in. Would you like to check in?" The system's voice echoed in his groggy mind. And upon realizing it was already 6 in the morning, he muttered, "Check in," as he stumbled to the bathroom. "Check-in successful. Congratulations, host. You have gained 2,000 evolution points and Super Shockwave 1. The system's voice followed, and everything doubled under the enhancement. Yichuan then made his way back to the front of Turtle Island. After a period of accumulation, the supply boxes had piled up to over 200, predominantly iron chests, with a few copper boxes that were likely salvaged by the sea turtle and flying creatures during the night. After all, with a double increase in resources, Yichuan took the opportunity, with no other matters at hand, to open all the supply boxes. 4,543 metal sheets, 3,532 stones, 1 large drone, 3,678 plastics, 2,564 glasses, 1 evolution value package, 4,753 wooden planks, 1 basic resource package, and 1 weapon enhancement card. As the supply boxes continued to be opened, an abundance of valuable items emerged. However, most of these were rather mundane for someone of Yichuan's caliber, rendering them largely useless and merely suitable for disposal. Only exclusive items like the evolution value package and weapon enhancement card proved to be genuinely beneficial. Soon, Saturday had prepared breakfast, and after a hearty meal, the group gazed towards the Forbidden Sea, filled with nostalgia. The recent adventures had indeed been thrilling and exhilarating, yet the future remained uncertain. ч16, however, couldn't help but press his lips together and spoke seriously. I feel that the path to the Sky City lies nearby. Perhaps it is time for us to bid farewell. Old man, this is quite sudden. Little Flying Dragon remarked with a pout. I think you should stay with us a little longer. It seems there are still many delicacies you haven't tasted. No, leaving the life forbidden zone means I might have to return, and that would be too troublesome. ч16 waved his hand with a smile, feeling relieved now that Godzilla had ceased its pursuit. Well, all good things must come to an end. Since you have discovered the path to the Sky City, we want to keep you. Yichuan smiled slightly. Take care, senior. Your potential is immense. I believe we shall meet again someday. Gently patting Yichuan's shoulder, ч16 replied, I will be waiting for you in the Sky City. Agreed. Yichuan laughed heartily. Agreed. ч16 chuckled as well, embracing a few of them before turning and swiftly vanishing into the water. The old man is truly a person of great spirit. Little Flying Dragon sighed deeply, shaking his head slightly. I hope we meet again someday. No need for sorrow. We shall meet again, Yichuan said with a smile. Indeed. Little Flying Dragon eventually nodded in agreement. However, before long, the super radar suddenly emitted an alarm, causing the group to frown and rush over. To their dismay, it was Godzilla, inexplicably pursuing them once more, now only 100 nautical miles from Turtle Island. At its current speed, it would likely catch up in just a few minutes. Damn it. Wasn't this little rascal done chasing us? Why has it suddenly come after us again? Upon witnessing this scene, Little Flying Dragon's expression changed dramatically. Could it be that it has realized we have all left, and is now hastily pursuing us? Big brother, what should we do now? Liang Hongying asked in a serious tone. Yichuan shook his head and remarked solemnly, for now. It seems we can only navigate cautiously until we finally escape this perilous zone and truly free ourselves from it. Xiaofilong sighed, expressing his bewilderment at the sudden emergence of such a predicament. Just then, the terrifying figure of Godzilla loomed before them, its mouth emanating a blue glow, unleashing a devastating atomic breath toward their location. The sheer force surged forth in an instant, as if intent on obliterating everything in its path. Yet, at the very moment it was about to strike Turtle Island, the island vanished once more. Godzilla, now approaching, surveyed its surroundings with a perplexed expression. The creature pondered how, if it had merely turned its back on the turtle the previous day, it could now witness its complete disappearance before its eyes. How had this transpired? Godzilla stood still, resolute in its decision not to sleep that night, awaiting the turtle's reappearance. The same scene from yesterday unfolded again. Xiaofilong rubbed his face vigorously, sighing. This is quite troublesome. I wonder if we could possibly locate another forbidden-level marine creature to divert Godzilla's attention toward its adversary. Lu Yue whispered. We could seize this opportunity to escape the perilous zone. Yichuan paused, glancing at Lu Yue. Suddenly, he recalled a forbidden-level creature that had traversed from the Forbidden Sea into the perilous zone. The Azure Dragon from the Dragon Palace had entered the perilous zone after its transformation into a forbidden-level being, yet as a newly transformed entity. It likely lingered on the outskirts, probably not having ventured deeper than 10,000 nautical miles into the zone. If I could find it. With this thought, Yichuan immediately inquired, System, can you ascertain the location of the Azure Dragon? Silence ensued. Yichuan furrowed his brow and continued, we let Godzilla escape due to its carelessness last time. This time, it surely won't be so negligent. We can't possibly remain trapped here indefinitely, can we? I'm not asking you to fight. I merely seek a coordinate, and yet you feign ignorance. How frustrating. Finally, the system responded, providing Yichuan with a coordinate. He swiftly input the coordinate into the super radar, confirming his suspicions that it indeed lay within a 10,000 nautical mile range, merely 2,000 nautical miles away from their current position. Without delay, Yichuan shared his hypothesis and the Azure Dragon's location with the group. Zhao Feiyu pondered aloud. If executed well, we could reach that location tonight. However, the Azure Dragon has only just ascended to the forbidden level, and considering we previously disturbed its lair, do you think it will assist us now? Perhaps it may seem implausible, but we must devise a way to make it possible. Yichuan countered, shaking his head. For now, we can only wait until we encounter the Azure Dragon. At this juncture, there seems to be no alternative but to proceed in this manner. Lu Yue could not help but spread her hands, remarking that we are no match for it. Thus we must rely on external assistance. Let us hope everything unfolds as we envision. Otherwise, we may find ourselves pursued by two formidable, forbidden marine creatures. Her words elicited a few disdainful expressions from the crowd. Yet no further comments were made. After all, the plan had been established, and now it was merely a matter of execution. Pondering over it would only serve to add to our worries. It would be more prudent to explore this confined space and indulge in some diversions. As night swiftly descended, it was already past 1 in the morning. Everyone remained vigilant, keeping a watchful eye on Godzilla. Despite its terrifying prowess, it seemed to have a peculiar fondness for slumber. Initially, it had been holding on, but by the latter half of the night, its eyelids began to droop. After an hour had passed, the desire for sleep prevailed over animosity, and it finally succumbed to slumber. Almost at that very instant, the sea turtle resorted to its previous tactic, cloaking itself and propelling forward at an accelerated pace, swiftly covering 1,000 nautical miles. Soon after, the group entered the colossal submarine, intending to journey underwater to the Azure Dragon's Dragon Palace. Given that Godzilla's primary target was the sea turtle, and with the turtle temporarily sealed within a bottle, they hoped to delay Godzilla's pursuit. Just 500 nautical miles to reach the Azure Dragon's lair. Even if Godzilla catches up, it likely won't pose a significant threat. As the dawn broke, Yichuan glanced at the coordinates on the super radar and murmured, "Beep, beep, beep." Almost instantaneously, the super radar emitted an alarm. Godzilla was now merely 100 nautical miles away from the submarine. Good grief, this creature is relentless. We switched to the submarine, and yet it can find us so swiftly. This is simply implausible. Xiao Feilong exclaimed, slapping his thigh. What do we do now? Detection shows the host has not yet checked in. Would you like to check in? The system's voice followed suit. Though anxious, Yichuan was curious to see if the system might offer a pleasant surprise, and promptly replied, check in. Check-in successful. Congratulations, host. You have received 2,000 evolution points and a temporal barrier device. The system's voice resonated. What is a barrier device? Yichuan inquired, sensing a glimmer of hope. A temporal barrier device can impede any entity for a duration of 1 hour, the system promptly elucidated. As Godzilla surged forward, the group shouted warnings, and Yichuan swiftly activated the barrier, specifically designating Godzilla as the target. Bang! In the next moment, Godzilla's head collided with the transparent barrier, creating a thunderous roar that reverberated throughout the ocean, causing the waters to tremble violently. Yet, as a forbidden-level creature, it astonishingly failed to breach the barrier, its head spinning from the impact. Goodness, what have you done to stop it? Upon witnessing the scene, the young dragon was instantly filled with exhilaration, its eyes wide with laughter as it inquired. This thing cannot hinder it for long. Yichuan declared solemnly. TMD, I truly miss the days when we encountered gods and vanquished them, confronted demons and obliterated them. Now, we flee at the slightest provocation, and it is exhausting. The young dragon could not help but sigh in resignation. We are no longer the formidable little squad we once were. A formidable squad must consider whom it faces. Zhao Feiyu, somewhat speechless, remarked that against an Ultra S-class creature, we might still exhibit some prowess, yet when confronted with a forbidden-level entity, our might is utterly diminished. This is simply unavoidable. With a thunderous roar, a terrifying sound erupted as Godzilla unleashed a mighty tail swipe. The colossal tail struck the barrier with tremendous force, unleashing millions of tons of power in an instant, yet it failed to inflict any damage upon the barrier. Instead, it generated a towering wave hundreds of meters high. We must return to the surface and allow the flying creatures to carry us away, Yichuan decisively proclaimed. We have an hour, let us fly as far as we can. With that, the submarine surfaced, and the group promptly mounted their 3 small companions and the wind god pterosaur, with Wang Kai transporting Yichuan and Blueberry Jam. The 6 flying creatures soared into the sky, rapidly heading toward their destination. Beneath the surface, Godzilla observed the departing flying creatures, its malevolence intensifying as it began to strike the barrier repeatedly, its coloration gradually shifting toward a fiery red. Ultimately, Godzilla's form transformed entirely into a blazing state of crimson flames, and it opened its gaping maw to unleash a devastating atomic breath, producing a blue flame intermingled with red, which blasted a nearly 1-meter-wide hole through the barrier, directed toward the fleeing group. Brother, another atomic breath. Despite being several dozen nautical miles apart, the young dragon sensed the terror of the impending attack and could not help but shout loudly. Chapter 544. Seeking aid from the Azure Dragon. Only to be scorned. Yichuan furrowed his brow, fixating on the atomic breath hurtling toward them, and bellowed, commanding everyone to seek refuge within the small world temporarily. No. However, in the next moment, Yichuan's expression shifted, clearly realizing that even the small world might not evade this onslaught. He shook his head slightly, exiting the small world once more, and summoned 10 protective shields to stack before him, resolutely pressing down against the incoming atomic breath. Bang! A crisp sound resonated as the atomic breath, imbued with red flames, effortlessly shattered the protective shields. Yichuan witnessed the shields fracturing layer by layer, and in an instant, 9 layers had crumbled. As only the final layer remained, Yichuan forcefully propelled himself away from the shield, simultaneously launching an air bullet and employing the countercurrent technique against the oncoming attack. Crack! In the next moment, the last shield shattered with a resounding crash, and the air bullet combined with the countercurrent technique was instantaneously obliterated, leaving the atomic breath to surge directly toward Yichuan. Damn! Yichuan almost uttered a curse, and immediately afterward, with a mighty roar, a formidable blue metallic shield materialized before him, bracing for the impending strike. Boom! Another thunderous sound echoed as the atomic breath violently slammed against the shield, creating a deep dent roughly 20 centimeters into the 30-centimeter thick metal barrier. The sheer force propelled Yichuan backwards for several hundred meters, his body crashing onto the ocean's surface, skimming across the water for yet another few hundred meters before finally coming to a halt. He could scarcely believe that this forbidden-level marine creature possessed such overwhelming power. The destruction of 10 layers of protective shields was one thing, but this nearly impenetrable shield forged from blue steel was almost breached. Surely, this beast must rank among the top entities even within the entire life-forbidden zone, he mused. At this moment, Yichuan dared not linger for even a moment, swiftly releasing Wang Kai and mounting it to hasten towards the designated coordinates. The speed of the wind god pterosaur was slightly slower than that of the 3 small creatures, with Wang Kai among them being the swiftest. After a period of upgrades, its speed had reached an impressive 200 nautical miles per hour. With a good effort, they might just reach the coordinates before Godzilla caught up. At this moment, Godzilla had already succumbed to a state of fury, its fiery red form radiating flames as it relentlessly battered against the barrier. Having dominated the life-forbidden zone for years, it had never anticipated being obstructed by such a trivial glass structure. The terrifying collisions triggered tsunamis soaring thousands of meters high, relentlessly surging towards the Forbidden Sea. The scene akin to a countdown to the apocalypse. An hour later, Godzilla's crimson state gradually subsided. It stared intently at the barrier, contemplating how to breach it. After several minutes had passed, Godzilla retreated several hundred meters, then charged forward in a swift motion, crashing into the barrier with immense force. The impact, equivalent to millions of tons, resulted in a resounding crack as the barrier shattered. This sudden turn of events caught Godzilla off guard, propelling it several miles forward in a near-comical tumble, igniting its wrath further as it let out a furious roar and resumed its pursuit of Yichuan and his companions. Finally arriving at the coordinates, Yichuan narrowed his eyes, releasing a quiet sigh of relief. He swiftly recalled Wang Kai and, after a free fall from the heights, plunged into the ocean, swiftly descending towards the seabed. Indeed, he soon discovered a vast underwater palace, the Sea Dragon Palace, which was devoid of any guardians and offered an unobstructed view of its interior, significantly larger than the one in the Forbidden Sea. Just as Yichuan approached the Sea Dragon Palace, a terrifying roar erupted, and a massive azure dragon, hundreds of meters long, burst forth. Its head alone dwarfed Yichuan several times over, coldly scrutinizing him and demanding, "Insignificant human, do you dare intrude upon my domain? We are allies," Yichuan declared resolutely. "Do you, of all beings, consider yourself worthy of my friendship?" The azure dragon's voice resonated like a thunderous bell, and its lantern-like eyes suddenly filled with doubt. "How could you possibly comprehend my words? I can assure you that a juvenile aquatic scorpion dragon has taken over your abode in the Forbidden Sea. As we passed, it attempted to attack us, but we vanquished it," Yichuan stated solemnly. "Do you not agree that we have safeguarded your home, aquatic scorpion dragon?" The azure dragon fixed a cold gaze upon Yichuan and inquired. "Consequently, we were pursued by the father of the aquatic scorpion dragon, a creature of super S-class status. We battled with it for an entire month and, with the assistance of a senior, ultimately defeated it," Yichuan declared with utmost seriousness. "I believe you owe us a favor. In my lifetime, I have never encountered anyone bold enough to demand a favor from me." The azure dragon erupted into laughter, coldly regarding Yichuan. "Young man, as a human, you are indeed one of the finest among your kind. I have said all that needs to be said. In any case, you owe me a favor, so tell me, will you repay it?" Yichuan impatiently raised his voice. The azure dragon shook its head and replied indifferently, "Since my arrival here, That home has been forsaken. I shall never return. Thus what has become of that dwelling is of no concern to me. What of your current residence? Yichuan furrowed his brow and immediately asked, What do you mean by that? The Azure Dragon, sensing something amiss, inquired in a deep tone, Young man, do not presume that the deeds you have performed in the Forbidden Sea can intimidate me in this realm of life. I care not who you are. Even if I were to slay you, it would matter not. Are you familiar with Godzilla? Yichuan scoffed and retorted, Godzilla? Upon hearing that name, the Azure Dragon nearly blurted out, then furrowed its brow. Has Godzilla truly arrived? It has come to track me down. And because my companions feigned ignorance of its presence, it has developed a grudge against us. Yichuan snorted coldly. I have come to request your assistance in holding it off for a brief moment. We must return to the Forbidden Sea. By what right? The Azure Dragon immediately demanded, This is your affair. Why must I be entangled in it? As they spoke, Godzilla had already arrived. And upon noticing Yichuan conversing with the Azure Dragon, it showed no hesitation, charging fiercely towards the Azure Dragon. Chapter 545. Escaping Godzilla, a fleeting tranquility. Godzilla, strike it. Why attack me? As Godzilla hurtled directly towards him, the Azure Dragon felt utterly exasperated. Seeing that Godzilla showed no intention of dodging, it let out a furious roar and unleashed a powerful tail swipe towards Godzilla. Godzilla regarded this young dragon with disdain, extending a massive hand to grasp the tail that the Azure Dragon had swung at it. After all, being a creature of taboo status, the combat prowess of the Azure Dragon, while perhaps not surpassing that of Godzilla, was certainly formidable enough to rival it. A single lash of its tail left Godzilla's entire arm numb, forcing it to retreat a few steps, gazing incredulously at the Azure Dragon. Gritting its teeth, the Azure Dragon glared at Yichuan, exclaiming, Look at the mess you've created. You cannot blame me now. I asked for your assistance, and you declined. Godzilla's aggression towards you is his own matter, completely unrelated to me, correct? Yichuan raised his hands in surrender, replying, It seems Godzilla already harbored resentment towards you. Seizing this opportunity to teach you a lesson. The Azure Dragon stared at Yichuan in disbelief, unable to fathom such shameless words. Godzilla's wrath was clearly directed at him due to Yichuan's actions, yet in his words, it somehow morphed into his own fault. What kind of nonsense was this? Roaring with fury, Godzilla, having failed its first attack, unleashed a thunderous bellow and charged at the Azure Dragon once more. The Azure Dragon had no choice but to engage, continuously defending against Godzilla's onslaught. These two taboo-level marine entities, despite merely testing each other's strength, unleashed a terrifying display of power that sent monstrous waves crashing and tremors through the seabed, creating layers of frothy surges that spread far and wide, deterring any creature from lingering within thousands of nautical miles. Yichuan let out a sigh of relief, his voice reaching the Azure Dragon's ears. Thank you, esteemed elder, for your assistance. I am eternally grateful and shall repay you handsomely when the opportunity arises. With that, he swiftly mounted Wonkai and sped off into the distance. Damn it! The Azure Dragon cursed through gritted teeth at Yichuan's retreating figure, realizing he could only engage in battle with Godzilla from this point on. It attempted to dissuade Godzilla, urging it to quell its fury and return whence it came. Wonkai raced over 200 nautical miles before Yichuan finally released the colossal aircraft. The crew quickly boarded the giant machine, propelling themselves towards the Forbidden Sea. Little Flying Dragon burst into laughter, proclaiming, Brother, who would have thought this tactic would be so effective, effortlessly distracting Godzilla? We might just return safely to the Forbidden Sea. Yet, Yichuan's expression turned serious as he pondered. I wonder if the Azure Dragon will harbor resentment towards us because of this. Godzilla is already a fierce adversary. If we also offend the Azure Dragon, will we dare to return to the zone of life? Indeed, Little Flying Dragon bit his lip, acknowledging the peril. Once they navigated the tumultuous Forbidden Sea, they would inevitably return to the zone of life. Offending two taboo-level marine beings simultaneously would spell their doom. Thus, they could only hope the Azure Dragon would not hold them accountable. Yichuan sighed, contemplating the dire consequences that could ensue. The group shrugged off the matter, choosing not to dwell on it any longer. The colossal aircraft soared at a speed of 500 nautical miles per hour, and with another day and night of travel, they anticipated their exit from the zone of life. Yichuan magnified the super radar to 5,000 nautical miles, confirming that Godzilla remained in place, presumably still engaged in battle with the Azure Dragon. At last, he could finally relax. As evening descended, Yichuan expanded the super radar to 1,000 nautical miles and eventually retired to bed alongside everyone else. However, he took a moment to glance at the public chat room. The super tsunami is imminent. Is everyone prepared? This situation extends beyond merely the super tsunami. I have detected terrifying waves approaching the Forbidden Sea and the open ocean, towering around 1,000 meters. Ultimately, they may reach the outer seas. Will these colossal waves mitigate the super tsunami? It is uncertain. Theoretically, it is possible, yet the origins of these waves are quite alarming. The discussion among the group continued about the impending super tsunami, seemingly set to manifest today. Fortunately, as he was aloft, Yichuan believed he would remain unaffected. After enduring such anxiety for an extended period, he felt it was time for a well-deserved rest. Gazing at the resplendent moon outside, he soon drifted into slumber. It wasn't until after 7 the following morning that Yichuan groggily awoke, peering through the window at the sun that had already risen. He couldn't help but stretch, exclaiming, Sign in successful. Congratulations, host, you have acquired 2,000 evolution points and 1 temporal barrier device. The system's voice resonated once more. Another temporal barrier device? Yichuan began to understand that the system would not bestow items without reason. This must serve a purpose. Could it be that the Azure Dragon cannot withstand Godzilla, who is rapidly approaching? Pondering this, Yichuan furrowed his brow but chose not to share his concerns with the others, fearing it might incite panic. By this time, the others had finished breakfast and greeted him warmly. Blueberry Jam, with a cheerful smile, remarked, Brother, last night was the most restful sleep I've had in days. I feel utterly rejuvenated. Hee. Stay composed. Until we return to the Forbidden Sea, we must remain vigilant. Yichuan declared earnestly, uncertain how long the Azure Dragon could hold off Godzilla. The issue is that Godzilla's temperament is excessively volatile, pursuing us for nearly 10,000 nautical miles without any deep-seated enmity. Little Flying Dragon remarked, exasperated. Regardless, we have undoubtedly made an adversary of Godzilla. Zhao Feiyu spoke solemnly, perplexed by how it could track them across thousands of nautical miles. I'm utterly speechless. System, how do we defeat Godzilla? Yichuan inquired after a moment of contemplation. It cannot be killed. It is invulnerable. The system doused Yichuan's hopes with a harsh reality. Goodness, that was unexpected, Yichuan responded, quickly asking. If it cannot be killed, can it be tamed? If we could tame this behemoth, we wouldn't merely traverse the life-death zone. We could roam the eye of death. Just then, the radar alarm blared, sending a wave of apprehension through the group. Could Godzilla be upon us once more? As they spoke, the 7 had already arrived at the super radar, gazing at the display with growing bewilderment. Godzilla had not appeared. However, something even more troublesome had emerged. Chapter 546, Crossing the Toxic Mist, No Escape. What is that? Little Flying Dragon furrowed his brow, questioning with skepticism. Toxic Mist. Lu Shuai replied gravely. This is a unique fog of the life forbidden zone. Even formidable warriors may succumb to its poison. Is that true? Little Flying Dragon cast a glance at Lu Shuai. You once claimed that SS-level threats were as common as dirt, and that SSS-level dangers were everywhere. Yet here we are, with Super S threats rampant and taboo levels lurking all around. Indeed, this is Toxic Mist, and it is exceptionally potent. Yichuan declared, immediately activating a protective shield. Almost instantaneously, the fighter jet plunged into the toxic haze. Sizzling sounds erupted in an instant, as the once impenetrable shield began to corrode violently. Zhao Feiyu frowned deeply. Rushing to observe the exterior shield, he said solemnly, the corrosive nature of this toxic mist is formidable. It likely won't hold for long. At most a few minutes. Yichuan shook his head slightly, then directed his gaze towards the super radar, noting that this toxic mist extended several hundred kilometers outward. The fighter jet would require at least half an hour to escape. The life forbidden zone, indeed, was not a place for just anyone. Liang Hongying sighed softly, acknowledging the unfortunate predicament of inadvertently entering the life forbidden zone. It's my fault. I shouldn't have turned back inside the old Dragon King's belly. Little Flying Dragon immediately took the blame upon himself. This can also be seen as a preliminary exploration of the life forbidden zone. It's not truly anyone's fault. Yichuan reassured, patting Little Flying Dragon's shoulder with a serious tone. At least next time we come, we will surely be better prepared. But what do we do about our current situation? Little Flying Dragon pouted slightly, asking helplessly. Minor issue, Yichuan asserted, waving his hand decisively as a barrier appeared outside the fighter jet, enveloping it like a fabric and sealing off all the toxic mist. At that moment, the outer shield finally shattered, disintegrating into fragments that vanished into the toxic fog. The barrier, exposed to the mist, began to creak under the corrosion. Yet its defensive strength was evident. It would withstand the assault for the time being. Only then did the group breathe a sigh of relief and resume their respective tasks. Blueberry Jam, in a rare moment, took out her phone to commence a live broadcast. Observing the influx of viewers in the stream, she smiled brightly and said, "Hello, everyone. I am Blueberry Jam, currently live from within the toxic mist of the life forbidden zone. Oh my gosh. We are still struggling out at sea while the goddess has entered the life forbidden zone, and even amidst the toxic mist? I envy you, goddess. How is it in the life forbidden zone? Is it fraught with danger? Alas, I can barely muster the courage to enter the taboo sea. Truly, the goddess is a paragon for us all. I aspire to follow in your footsteps. This is indeed the toxic mist of the life forbidden zone. I have learned something new. I must offer the goddess 100 tokens." Gazing at the gray, murky fog outside, along with the narration of Blueberry Jam, the live chat was flooded with messages. Everyone was quite concerned about the movements of Blueberry Jam and others, and they found Yichuan's growth to be utterly astonishing. Perhaps Yichuan could be deemed a once-in-a-century prodigy of survival. After lunch, with merely over 3,000 nautical miles remaining to the Forbidden Sea, it was anticipated that by 6 o'clock in the afternoon, they would finally emerge from the life forbidden zone. The group felt a sense of relief. It seemed that neither Godzilla nor the Azure Dragon could catch up with them now. "Brother, once we exit the life forbidden zone, shall we head directly to the location indicated on the treasure map?" asked the little dragon, lounging on the couch with a cheerful smile. "Indeed." Yichuan nodded, acknowledging that this was the last treasure map they possessed regarding the Forbidden Sea. "Splendid." The little dragon chuckled heartily. "Let us not celebrate too soon. After all, this is the treasure site within the Forbidden Sea, and there will undoubtedly be super S-level marine creatures present," Yichuan cautioned, dousing the little dragon's enthusiasm with a splash of cold reality. "If we encounter an adult one, we will still face difficulties. Nonetheless, it should be easier to deal with than a forbidden-level creature," the little dragon retorted with a playful roll of his eyes. Detected that the host has assisted Dan Xingzi in locating the cloud token, aiding him in entering the Sky City. The instance task is completed, and a special reward package is available. Would you like to open it? The system suddenly chimed in. Dan Xingzi has already entered the Sky City? So soon? Yichuan's expression shifted. He understood that this instance task required Dan Xingzi to enter the Sky City to count. He promptly responded, "Open it." Opening the special reward package. "Congratulations, host. You have received Evolution Value Package 2, Resource Package 2, Temporal Super Defense 2, Island Propulsor 2, Super Missile 2, Special Tree Species Nutrient Solution 2, and Temporal Barrier 2. The system's voice followed. The rewards were even greater than last time, although the double enhancement had long expired. Otherwise, it would have been a double reward. System, since the shield can be applied to aircraft, can the Island Propulsor also be utilized on aircraft? Yichuan suddenly pondered. In theory, yes. The system replied. Beep, beep. Just as they were conversing, the radar alarm blared once more. Everyone rushed to take a look, and they were left speechless. It was indeed Godzilla again. After being stalled by the Azure Dragon for a while, it had managed to catch up once more. Is this never-ending? The little dragon exclaimed, almost in a fit of frustration. It was truly relentless to pursue them after all this time. Could the Azure Dragon have been defeated? Blueberry Jam inquired, astonished. After all, it is a forbidden-level marine creature. If it were so easily vanquished, it would not be so fearsome. Zhao Feiyu shook his head, speculating that an agreement had been reached between both parties, or perhaps the Qinglong had escaped. Godzilla, after careful consideration, deemed it necessary to pursue us, thus closing the distance. What shall we do? Blueberry Jam exclaimed, confronted by the reality that our only option was to flee passively. It is closing in. As he spoke, Godzilla approached the aircraft with increasing rapidity. This time, a fierce expression adorned Godzilla's visage. It had yet to swallow its pride, having had its atomic breath thwarted twice. Its sense of self-worth felt threatened, compelling it to eradicate these oblivious humans at any cost. This time, there would be no escape. We are doomed. Xiao Feilong inhaled deeply, rubbing his face in a flustered manner, declaring, we are certainly finished. Chapter 547. Encounter with the Pterosaur Swarm, the final strike with that. Godzilla unleashed an atomic breath towards the rapidly soaring aircraft. The terrifying force instantly tore through the sky, violently striking the colossal warplanes soaring at 10,000 meters, even causing the very fabric of space to crack under the immense pressure. Goodness, another atomic breath. Witnessing this scene, Xiao Feilong nearly lost his composure. Do not panic, Yichuan whispered, promptly activating an island thruster. Just as the system had indicated, the island thruster proved effective on the aircraft, doubling its speed to a staggering 1,000 nautical miles per hour. As the atomic breath surged toward us, the aircraft accelerated just in time, narrowly avoiding the deadly beam. Incredible. That was perilously close. Liu Yue remarked, rushing forward to glance at the continuing onslaught of the atomic breath, murmuring, "The aircraft's speed has doubled. This time, we shall undoubtedly evade this behemoth." Godzilla, astonished that its surefire strike had failed, felt a wave of confusion wash over it. It could scarcely believe that as an entity of forbidden status, it was unable to subdue a handful of humans emerging from the Forbidden Sea. Even an SSS-level sea turtle had proven to be no match. What on earth was happening? In that moment, Godzilla began to question its own power. After all, it had driven the Qinglong to desperation. Logically, it should possess formidable strength. How could it possibly falter against such insignificant humans? However, Godzilla did not relent, continuing its swift pursuit of the aircraft. "Brother, this fool is still chasing us," Xiao Feilong remarked incredulously while observing Godzilla through a super telescope. "Does it not realize that in less than 3 hours, we shall escape this zone of death? It likely remains unaware," Zhao Feiyu stated gravely. "Yet, its speed currently matches that of the aircraft. The uncertainty lies in how long it will take for its atomic breath to cool down. If it unleashes another attack within 3 hours, we could be in serious trouble. We can only rely on luck then." Yichuan thought optimistically. "At worst, we can temporarily retreat into the small world, for it cannot possibly prevent us from returning to the Forbidden Sea." Indeed, several individuals nodded in agreement, momentarily relaxing. 3 hours swiftly passed, and the colossal aircraft was now merely over 200 nautical miles from the Forbidden Sea, with mere minutes left to enter its depths. Godzilla persistently pursued, yet had not unleashed its atomic breath again. It remained uncertain whether the ability was still on cooldown or if it was seeking an opportune moment. However, the alarm sounded once more, revealing on the super radar a vast entity approaching from over 100 nautical miles away, set to collide within minutes. "Is that toxic mist?" Blueberry Jam inquired, her voice laced with skepticism. "No, it is a swarm of pterosaurs," Yichuan replied, shaking his head gravely. "With such a massive quantity, there must be millions of them. How can they soar so high?" The little dragon asked in a hushed tone. "The aircraft is flying at over 8,000 meters. These creatures are flying high and fast. Aren't they afraid of oxygen deprivation?" Yichuan retorted with irritation. "The toxic mist reaches altitudes of 10,000 meters, let alone these SS-level pterosaurs. It is likely due to this very reason that they have developed such a vast population in this lethal zone. Should we ascend the aircraft?" Zhao Feiyu promptly suggested. Though merely SS level, their numbers are overwhelmingly vast. Even with a shield, we cannot be certain of our safety. Ascend the aircraft by 4,000 meters. Before colliding with the pterosaurs, Yichuan nodded, immediately giving the command. The aircraft began its rapid ascent, and at a speed of 1,000 nautical miles per hour. It quickly soared to 12,000 meters. Yet, despite surpassing most of the pterosaurs, those that flew at higher altitudes still collided with the aircraft's protective shield, causing it to reverberate violently. In such rapid flight, even SS-level flying creatures could exert power comparable to SSS-level beings, particularly with their sharp beaks resembling lethal arrows. Just a few hundred pterosaurs rendered the shield utterly ineffective. Before Yichuan could replace the shield, a tremendous crash echoed as a pterosaur, unable to halt in time, collided with the propeller, shattering it completely. Immediately after, hundreds of pterosaurs surged forward again. They too attempted to evade, but with both parties moving at such high speeds, evasion was impossible. In the brief moment the propeller was struck, they crashed into the aircraft, shattering the cockpit glass and causing the entire plane to plummet rapidly downward. What is happening? Are we truly falling like this? The onlookers were left dumbfounded at the sight before them. The sheer number of pterosaurs made it impossible to counteract. If we had entered the small world a second earlier, this aircraft wouldn't have been destroyed. The little dragon lamented. "Brother, we should abandon the plane." "Not yet. Let the aircraft fly a little longer," Yichuan replied solemnly. "Primarily, if one seeks refuge in a small world, emerging only to be pursued by Godzilla, the terror of its atomic breath far surpasses that of these pterosaurs. Should one suffer even a glancing blow, it would not only spell doom for the aircraft, but also pose a grave threat to all present. The aircraft can only charge through the swarm of pterosaurs with grim determination. Even now, as the aircraft plummets, it continues to glide at a breakneck speed towards the Forbidden Sea, and Yichuan is confident he can escape the death zone before the crash. Yet, within mere minutes, Godzilla has caught up, utterly disregarding the pterosaurs as it weaves through their ranks. Observing the rapidly descending giant aircraft, blue light flashes from its maw, unleashing another fierce atomic breath aimed directly at the aircraft. The azure beam instantaneously obliterates tens of thousands of pterosaurs, unerringly striking the aircraft. while the super radar emits frantic alarms, as if all hope has been extinguished. Captain, the aircraft's control system has failed. We cannot evade this strike. The technicians report, their voices raised in alarm. With only a few dozen nautical miles remaining to the Forbidden Sea, the imbecile could not delay for a mere few seconds. Curses the little dragon, his expression darkening. What a fool. This fellow seems to be eagerly anticipating this strike. Yichuan scoffs, hoping that this time, their ruse would lead it to believe they had perished. What ruse? The little dragon inquires, puzzled. Chapter 548, Escaping Godzilla. Yichuan's speculation. Yichuan offered a faint smile, refraining from elaboration, and with a decisive wave of his hand, he commanded, boom, accompanied by a tremendous explosion. Godzilla's atomic breath struck the giant aircraft with devastating force, reducing it to mere fragments in an instant. The nearby pterosaurs were caught in the blast, debris raining down from the sky. At this moment, Godzilla finally paused, its small eyes fixed on the direction of the aircraft's descent. Yet no sense of satisfaction graced its visage. After all, this group had successfully withstood 2 of its atomic breaths. It was illogical that they would succumb so easily now. Godzilla remained stationary for nearly half an hour, as the pterosaurs had long since fled, and no other signs of life emerged. Within the small world, the onlookers regarded the motionless Godzilla with a sense of unease. Although they had evaded its pursuit, the aircraft was utterly destroyed, leaving them with no spoils from this encounter. With only a mere 10 nautical miles to the Forbidden Sea remaining, Godzilla stood still, seemingly incredulous that these individuals had met their demise so effortlessly. As if awaiting their next move, Yichuan and the others, for the time being, decided not to ponder further, content to remain in the small world, fishing by the lakeside, playing badminton on the grass, and engaging in their respective activities. Godzilla was in no hurry, and neither were they. After all, time was not on their side. A full day had passed, and it was only in the evening that Godzilla finally turned to depart. However, Yichuan sensed that Godzilla might be employing a ruse, believing it had not ventured far. He decided to rest for the night and continue his journey at dawn. The night in this miniature world was enchanting, with the moon hanging high and stars twinkling in the sky, accompanied by the sounds of chirping insects. Yichuan retrieved the tent he had set up earlier. Each person had their own tent, and sleeping on the grassy expanse brought a unique charm to the experience. Detected that the host has not yet checked in. Would you like to check in? Early the next morning, the system's voice echoed in Yichuan's ears. He stretched lazily and peered through the transparent dome at the outside, feeling as though he had returned to his university days on Blue Star, camping with classmates. He couldn't help but smile and said, check in. Check-in successful. Congratulations, host, you have received 2,000 evolution points and a lucky blind box. The system's voice followed promptly. Open the blind box. Yichuan exclaimed, his expression shifting with anticipation. Blind box opening. Congratulations, host. You have obtained a double amplification, pending use. With the system's announcement, Yichuan felt a surge of excitement. It had been only a few days, yet he had managed to acquire a double amplification. The probability of obtaining such a reward had indeed increased this time. How splendid. As before, he refrained from using it immediately, opting to save it for a more opportune moment. On that Saturday morning, they enjoyed fried dough sticks and tofu pudding for breakfast. Afterward, they looked outside to find the sea calm, and Godzilla had not returned. With a sense of relief, Yichuan sent the turtle island out of the miniature world. To be cautious, the turtle promptly engaged its invisibility, followed by hovering and accelerating, darting away in an instant. They soared hundreds of nautical miles, entering the Forbidden Sea, and with no sign of Godzilla, they finally felt a sense of ease. The little dragon laughed heartily, exclaiming, what a challenge this journey to the life-threatening zone has been. We must ensure we are adequately prepared before venturing forth again. I need to at least reach the water entry realm, and you all should at least achieve the transformation realm. Otherwise, we should refrain from coming here. Yichuan gestured grandly, laughing heartily. The others nodded in agreement. They had truly escaped from the brink of death this time. However, they were even more eager to reach the transformation realm. At that point, they could navigate the Forbidden Sea with confidence. With the crisis averted, Turtle Island began to advance at a speed of 95 nautical miles per hour, aiming to reach the location of the final treasure map within 2 weeks. With nothing pressing at the moment, Yichuan reclined on a lounge chair, gazing at the distant beach, and casually inquired, System, with my current strength, I should be nearing the water entry realm. Besides the mermaid's tears, what else do I need to successfully enter the water? Immortal grass. The system promptly responded. What is this immortal grass, and where can it be found? Yichuan asked, puzzled. The place we are heading to for the treasure does indeed contain immortal grass. The system promptly provided an answer. The longevity herb is exceedingly rare throughout the entire oceanic realm, likely not exceeding 7 specimens. It urged the host to seize this opportunity, for otherwise, they would not have another chance to enter the water. Is that so? Yichuan's spirits lifted immediately. When I first entered the realm, it was quite challenging. Yet for the others, it seemed relatively simple. Did you not mention that their methods of entry differed from mine? Entering the realm merely serves as a threshold for cultivation. Even if one achieves transformation, they remain distinct from ordinary individuals. However, the conditions for entering the water are the same for everyone. The system, akin to a splash of cold water, conveyed this fact to Yichuan. Yet, Yichuan persisted with his inquiry. So you mean to say that those formidable beings who have already entered the water have also obtained the mermaid's tears? Is it truly possible that there are so many, given that the mermaid's tears are the treasure of the merfolk? They are using the tears of the merman, which are simply found within ordinary merfolk. What you possess is the mermaid's tears, originating from the leader of the merfolk. The system's tone bore an edge of impatience. Although Yutian and the others referred to it as merman's tears, in truth, it is a grade above. It is precisely for this reason that upon utilizing it to ascend to the water realm, your combat prowess will undoubtedly surpass that of other beings at the same level. Yichuan's lips twitched in disbelief. However, he now recalled that Yutian and the others had consistently referred to it as merman's tears, while the system had always insisted it was mermaid's tears. No wonder. He hoped to successfully acquire the longevity herb this time. Taking a deep breath, Yichuan murmured to himself, feeling he was already quite powerful, only to realize that there are always greater forces beyond one's comprehension. There are heights yet to be scaled. Suddenly, the alarm of the super radar blared, causing a wave of tension among the group, who feared it might be Godzilla or the Azure Dragon. After all, everyone was aware of the oceanic world's rule prohibiting Taba-level creatures from existing in the Forbidden Sea and the outer ocean. But there had been no prior tests conducted with such beings, had there? What if Godzilla, in a fit of despair, decided to pursue us? Chapter 549, An Uninvited Provocation? However, upon observing the display on the super radar, the group collectively breathed a sigh of relief, with the little dragon even exhibiting signs of excitement. A fleet of over 30 super aircraft carriers had emerged 100 nautical miles away, accompanied by dozens of fighter jets rapidly approaching their position, expected to arrive within a few minutes. Brother, these individuals must be aware of our predicament in the life-restricted zone, and they're coming here to provide us with an outlet. The little dragon exclaimed enthusiastically. What benevolent souls! Given that they have chosen to charge at us without any prior warning, they are undoubtedly foes. Yichuan promptly agreed. Let us not delay. We must eliminate them first. I'll take care of it. The little dragon chuckled, immediately rushing to the hillside, readying the heavy artillery. As Yichuan activated the temporal defense, the roar of fighter jets pierced the air, with over 20 aircraft hurtling towards them, unleashing a barrage of bullets and missiles in a bid to execute a carpet bombing that would render Turtle Island incapacitated. However, they underestimated the formidable strength of the protective shield. The bullets and missiles merely produced a cacophony upon impact, failing to even jolt the island. Come on. Little Flying Dragon chuckled heartily, promptly engaging the heavy artillery. In a moment, a series of heavy cannons erupted, coinciding perfectly with the arrival of the aircraft above Turtle Island. As cannonballs exploded, a terrifying chain reaction ensued, engulfing all the fighter jets. Before they could comprehend the situation, they were consumed by a sea of flames. Within mere seconds, apart from 3 pilots who managed to eject their seats and escape, all aircraft and remaining pilots perished. Delightful. Compared to the prey, I much prefer being the hunter. Little Flying Dragon exclaimed, nearly bursting with excitement. He leaped off Turtle Island and charged towards the shore, seizing one pilot by the hair and forcibly dragging him onto the beach. Weren't there 3 pilots? Why only capture one? Blueberry Jam inquired, perplexed. The other 2 were dealt with by the dolphins. Little Flying Dragon retorted, then slapped the captured man across the face, demanding, Who are you? And why did you attack us? You killed Archbishop Lace. Of course, we seek vengeance. The man replied darkly. Moreover, we have calculated your trajectory, and it undoubtedly leads to the treasure we detected. We must obstruct you. What Archbishop Lace? Blueberry Jam asked, bewildered. Brother, have we killed an archbishop? This fellow is from the Holy See. Yichuan sneered. We once battled a cardinal, eliminating them all. That man did mention that the Vatican would seek retribution. Had this brat not brought it up, I would have entirely forgotten. The Vatican. Liang Hongying frowned, realizing they had preemptively discovered the treasure's location, though it seemed they had not yet explored it. That treasure is fraught with peril and situated in a rather awkward position. Do you think it can be easily explored? The man scoffed. Regardless, the treasure is now ours. Any attempt to claim it will be utterly futile. The Vatican is surprisingly formidable, managing to locate that treasure. Little Flying Dragon remarked in astonishment, acknowledging the Church's capabilities. Their Pope is at the pinnacle of the transformation realm and is soon to ascend to the water realm. But he requires one thing, the longevity herb, Yichuan elucidated. And within that treasure lies the longevity herb. It seems the Pope must have employed some method to discover its location. Brother, if you speak like that, won't you soon find yourself submerged? The little dragon exclaimed joyfully. Don't dream too much. That treasure belongs to our Pope, and you haven't even located the treasure site yet you are already indulging in grand illusions. Are the people of the 9 provinces always this blindly confident? A man retorted with a cold laugh, dripping with disdain. You fool, how dare you speak so insolently? The little dragon furrowed his brows. Humph, regardless, if we die, we shall ascend to heaven. What do I have to fear? The man continued, still dismissive. God will surely bless us. Amen. Get lost. The little dragon, infuriated, kicked him in the chest, causing him to fly backwards several hundred meters, landing lifelessly on the water's surface. Brother, shall we first deal with that fleet of aircraft carriers? The little dragon asked dismissively. Of course. There will be fighter jets on those carriers. We can take them to shorten our travel time. Yichuan nodded with a smile, just as the little dragon suggested. Everyone felt rather constrained while being chased by Godzilla. It was time to take out their frustrations on these members of the church. All right. In an instant, laughter erupted among them. The sea turtle and the fleet of aircraft carriers sped towards each other at an astonishing pace, and within just over half an hour, they met. At this point, Yichuan had switched to a new temporal defense. The sea turtle advanced with an air of arrogance, completely disregarding the presence of the aircraft carriers. This left many captains both furious and perplexed. Gentlemen, this appears to be an SSS-class sea turtle. Even if its strength is formidable, is it not a tad disrespectful to swagger into our fleet? One captain stated gravely. In such a situation, we must launch some missiles to bring it back to reality. I propose we initiate the attack. The proposal was approved, and they immediately launched 100 missiles to teach it a lesson. The leading captain considered for a moment and said sternly, additionally, let us release our SSS-class creatures to inform the island masters that they are not the sole possessors of SSS-class marine beings. With the command given, a cacophony of sounds erupted as nearly all the aircraft carriers began launching missiles without restraint. 100 missiles soared skyward, then plummeted downward, striking Turtle Island fiercely. The deafening roar that followed was akin to the full-force strike of a Super S-class creature. However, the power was still insufficient to breach the protective shield, resulting in no damage whatsoever. Meanwhile, at the edge of the woods, the little dragon and Lu Shuai prepared their ground-to-ground missiles, grinning as the little dragon remarked. Now that they have finished their barrage, it is our turn. With that, the little dragon pressed the launch button. 18 ground-to-ground missiles were launched with astonishing speed, soaring into the sky, leaving the fleet commanders utterly flabbergasted. They immediately shouted into their loudspeakers, close defense guns, for heaven's sake. Nearly all the warships and aircraft carriers were similarly engaged, firing their close-range defenses at the perceived threat, yet they failed to recognize the abysmal efficacy of their own weaponry. The power of their close-range defenses could be likened to mere refuse. As the 18 ground-to-ground missiles targeted the 18 aircraft carriers, they scattered like petals in the wind amidst the barrage of bullets from the close defense systems. Each missile effortlessly cleared a vast swath of obstacles, granting precious moments for the others to strike the carriers. The air was filled with thunderous explosions as each of the 18 aircraft carriers was bombarded by the missiles. Although the warheads were not large, their destructive force was astonishing, sending shockwaves in all directions, particularly devastating upon impact with the water, where they breached the hulls of the carriers, allowing torrents of seawater to rush in. In an instant, the captains of all 18 carriers began to cry out for help. The lead captain wore a grim expression, utterly taken aback by the formidable strength of their adversaries. Not only were their defenses impregnable, but their offensive capabilities were equally formidable. No wonder the esteemed Archbishop Lays had met his demise. It was not due to a lack of strength on his part, but rather the overwhelming might of his opponents. Amidst the cacophony of cannon fire, a deep growl resonated, and the rearmost aircraft carrier began to tremble violently. Yichuan and his companions took notice of this carrier. Apart from its close defense systems, it bore no offensive weaponry, not even aircraft. However, the terrifying sounds emanating from within suggested the presence of a dreadfully powerful entity. With a thunderous crash, a colossal black bear, nearly 20 meters tall and over 50 meters long, emerged. its razor-sharp claws tearing through the carrier's hull as it stood upon the water's surface, letting out a furious roar. The shockwaves of its terrifying vocalization rippled outwards, instilling an indescribable fear even in the crew aboard the carrier. The Pope commanded us to bring it here. One wonders whether this is a blessing or a curse. The lead captain swallowed hard as he beheld the SSS-class Black Bear striding towards Turtle Island, a being capable of annihilating everything in its path. After all, we are here to avenge Archbishop Lays. Let us not forget our paramount objective, to thwart their journey to the treasure site, whispered the first officer, emphasizing the critical importance of their mission. The lead captain nodded slightly, refraining from further speech. Good heavens, what a massive black bear! The crew gasped in astonishment at the sight of the approaching creature. Brother, I recall we once killed a brown bear. But that one was considerably smaller than this black bear. Blueberry Jam spoke softly. That was an Alaskan brown bear. Though formidable, it was hardly comparable. Yichuan nodded and remarked that the black bear had already attained an SSS level of power, rendering it incomparable. Having been stifled in the life-threatening zone for so long and yearning for an outlet for his pent-up frustration, he suggested they take it out on this formidable black bear. Little Flying Dragon, he said, already donning his battle armor. Yuga, Honging, shall we proceed? The two nodded, and in unison, they advanced toward the black bear. With a resounding roar, the black bear paid little heed to the trio and launched a fierce assault, its claws capable of rending anything apart. The trio could even hear the sound of its claws slicing through the air. A terrifying wave of force surged forth from its strikes, scattering destructive energy in all directions, threatening to strike the three at any moment. However, their greatest advantage against the black bear lay in their agility, allowing them to deftly evade its attacks while delivering their most potent strikes. Yet, the bear's thick fur proved impenetrable, no matter how hard they tried. They could not breach its defenses. Thus, a stalemate ensued. Lu Shuai, Yichuan said coolly, observing the fierce battle ahead. Eliminate all the motherships except the flagship. Understood. Lu Shuai, taken aback for a moment, nodded slightly, and immediately set to work. Mere seconds later, 18 ground-to-ground missiles launched into the sky, catching the captain and his crew, who were intently watching the battle, off guard. They hastily commanded their defenses, but their reactions were a fraction too slow, in the heat of such intense combat. They had not anticipated a counterattack from the enemy. Despite the close-range cannons firing once more, it was too late. Several more aircraft carriers were obliterated, and many people, having just sensed the impending doom, perished in the onslaught. Lu Shuai's subsequent barrage of ground-to-ground attacks hastened the sinking of all carriers except the flagship, with fighter jets and small vessels being utterly destroyed, leaving no chance for escape. What are these bastards planning? The captain of the flagship glared at the scene, filled with rage, wishing he could tear Yichuan and his companions apart. After all, such actions exhibited a blatant disregard for the SSS-level Black Bear. Shouldn't they be engaging the bear directly instead of sidelining their aircraft carriers? Suddenly, in the midst of Lu Shuai's assault on the fleet, Little Flying Dragon inadvertently fell into the Black Bear's line of attack. The bear swatted him away with a single paw, sending him flying hundreds of meters, his battle armor torn apart by the razor-sharp claws, exposing his body beneath. That was close. Little Flying Dragon gasped, beads of cold sweat trickling down his face. Thankfully, he wore armor. Without it, he would have been severely injured. In that moment, he came to a sobering realization. Not only was battling Ultra-S-level creatures a daunting task, even confronting SSS-level beings was a significant challenge, a rather disheartening truth indeed. It seems the time has come for us to make our entrance. Yichuan remarked with a slight shrug, "My dear turtle, let us join forces to obliterate this foe." The colossal head of the sea turtle turned towards Yichuan, nodding in agreement. After Yichuan empowered the island's stabilization device, both he and the turtle commenced their assault simultaneously. The sea turtle unleashed absolute gravity. Its power doubled by the reverse flow technique, and charged fiercely towards the black bear, while Yichuan leaped high and surged forward. Chapter 551, The Black Bear's Demise and a Revelation. Witnessing the audacity of the sea turtle incensed the black bear. As an SSS-tier powerhouse, it could not tolerate another SSS-tier being exhibiting such arrogance in its presence. The only outcome could be death. In that instant, the black bear let out a thunderous roar and dashed towards the sea turtle, intent on delivering a powerful collision to knock the creature unconscious. However, in that moment, the black bear underestimated the turtle's might. With the absolute gravity enhancing its strength twofold, the turtle unleashed hundreds of thousands of tons of force. Even if the black bear possessed slightly superior power, it was insufficient to contend with such overwhelming force. With a tremendous crash, the two beings collided, causing the water's surface to plummet dramatically, sending towering waves hundreds of meters high surging outward. The flagship, barely afloat, was violently tossed aside, propelled over 10 nautical miles. In the next heartbeat, the black bear was thrown back by this force, even as Yichuan surged forth from behind. The forbidden spear expanded to hundreds of meters in length, and with Yichuan employing absolute gravity, a staggering force of at least 200,000 tons descended upon the black bear's nape. In the black bear's eyes, the sea turtle was the sole threat. Yichuan and his companions were mere trifles. Even when Yichuan had previously charged from behind, it had paid him no mind. Yet now, that terrifying power surged from the rear, causing it to gasp in shock, realizing it could not turn in time to defend itself. Ultimately, gritting its teeth and stamping its foot, the black bear resolved to withstand the blow with sheer bodily strength. After all, its hide was exceedingly thick. Surely it could withstand a human strike? Boom. With that thought, the forbidden spear crashed into its nape, the overwhelming force nearly turning the black bear's brain to mush. It could hardly fathom that human strength could be so formidable. Was this individual not merely at the transformation stage? It seemed to pale in comparison to that wretched Pope. As darkness enveloped its vision, the black bear nearly succumbed to unconsciousness. Suddenly, it felt a jarring impact beneath it in the water, an indescribable numbness rendering it nearly oblivious to its own body. Watching helplessly as the sea turtle charged again, brandishing its fearsome claws, it could only retreat, utterly devoid of the strength to retaliate. The black bear found itself in a state of bewilderment, uncertain of the sea turtle's intentions. It had become a mere fish on the chopping block, yet the turtle refrained from striking. Did it adhere to the principles of Bushido, believing in a fair confrontation? Or was the bear's defense so formidable that it could not breach its hide? As these thoughts consumed its mind, sensation returned to its body, only to be swiftly overtaken by a searing pain. Lowering its gaze, the bear was horrified to discover that its abdomen had been slashed open, with a significant portion of its innards spilling forth. It finally comprehended why the sea turtle had merely approached before retreating. The creature had already inflicted a grievous wound. With a roar of anguish and fury, the black bear bellowed to the heavens, forcing its organs back into its body and charging fiercely at the sea turtle. Even in such dire straits, it pressed on with its assault. Observing the frenzied bear, the little dragon, now back on Turtle Island, could only shake its head in disbelief. It promptly commanded the heavy artillery to unleash a barrage upon the bear. Unfazed by the onslaught of heavy fire, the bear pressed forward. Yet the explosions and flames forced its innards to spill forth once more. Just as it neared the turtle within 100 meters, it could advance no further, even losing its inner core, which was promptly devoured by a dolphin in the water. Thus, the once mighty SSS-class terrestrial creature, the black bear, fell to the combined efforts of a few. The couple, upon seeing the bear's innards, rushed forward to tear them away and cast them into the sea before dragging the bear to Turtle Island for processing. The little dragon, grinning widely, remarked, "Brother, it seems we've significantly reduced the time required to deal with SSS-class beings. It's no longer as arduous as before. Our strength has steadily increased. And with the cooperation of the turtle and the dolphin, such results are only to be expected." Yichuan replied with a smile. "Is your battle armor intact? My armor can self-repair. It will be fine soon." The little dragon replied nonchalantly. Yichuan nodded and, in the blink of an eye, appeared aboard the flagship, where the captain and several sailors were already on high alert. As they boarded, they were swiftly surrounded. "Damn, look what you've done. Are you from the church?" Yichuan inquired coolly. "I wish to know if your pope is also at that treasure site." "What does it matter to you?" the captain retorted coldly. "It concerns us, but not you." The little dragon shouted back. "Answer us truthfully, and your deaths may be swift. Otherwise, I shall make you wish for a fate worse than death." "You." The captain's expression darkened, his anger directed at the little dragon. "Answer my question honestly," Yichuan demanded impatiently. "Our pope is indeed present, and just an hour ago, we received word that he has led 7 cardinal bishops into the water in search of the treasure." The captain clenched his fists tightly and spoke earnestly, estimating that they would soon be able to retrieve the treasure. "Brother, it seems we must act swiftly." Upon hearing this, the little dragon immediately reminded him in a hushed tone. Yichuan slightly nodded and then inquired, "I have heard that the location of the treasure is rather precarious and fraught with danger. What does that entail?" The captain responded in detail. "The treasure lies within a trench, over 5,000 meters deep, nestled within a cavern. Inside the cavern flows magma, and the treasure is situated within it." "Within the magma?" The others displayed expressions of confusion. "How does your pope enter the magma to seek the treasure?" The captain, with a grim expression, replied, "They supposedly possess some equipment. But the specifics remain unclear to us. We have disclosed everything we know. Do as you please. We have commandeered the aircraft." Yichuan interjected, "I shall honor my promise and grant you a swift end." The captain's face paled, but before he could utter another word, the little dragon and his companions had already taken action. Chapter 552, Constantly Changing Aircraft, Confrontation. Before long, the little dragon and his companions had efficiently cleared the area. Observing the aircraft on the deck, Zhao Feiyu spoke up, "Brothers, these aircraft are among the most capable in the oceanic realm. If we do not consider returning, each aircraft can fly up to 3,000 kilometers at a speed of 1,000 kilometers per hour. This means that to reach the treasure, we will need at least 10 aircraft. And we must change every 3 hours?" The little dragon said with a hint of exasperation, "Isn't that rather cumbersome? Such is the drawback of not having supernuclear batteries." Yichuan replied with a slight shrug, "It's a pity these aircraft run on diesel. Otherwise, if we had batteries, we could proceed in one vigorous push." "Not to worry, I can pilot the plane with you, Go. It's completely fine." The little dragon chuckled, snapping his fingers afterward. Thus, after Yichuan sent 9 aircraft into the pocket dimension, they boarded one of the large aircraft and swiftly made their way toward the destination. As time passed, night descended upon them. Zhao Feiyu and his companion had piloted for an entire day, covering 9,000 kilometers. After the 3rd aircraft ran out of diesel, the group temporarily entered the pocket dimension, planning to rest for the night before continuing their journey. The tents on the grass remained intact, and the group simply entered the tents to rest. They feasted on bear meat specially prepared by Saturday, and soon everyone drifted into slumber. Yichuan, however, opened the public chat room to take a glance. Fortunately, as his dimensional space, it was authorized to connect with the signals from the oceanic realm. "Damn it. My island has been destroyed. This super tsunami is utterly terrifying. Who can help me? The fleet I painstakingly assembled has been utterly shattered by the tsunami. And trillions are lost just like that. Unless one temporarily hides in another dimension or in the sky, no one can escape. It's all a matter of luck. One can only hope that the cataclysmic tsunami will cease sooner rather than later. Otherwise, we are truly doomed." The populace remains engrossed in discussions surrounding the super tsunami, with naught else occupying their thoughts. However, according to their assertions, once we reach the treasure trove, the deluge will come to an end. It is likely that this super tsunami will claim the lives of numerous island lords. Indeed, within the realm of the ocean, lacking absolute prowess leaves one with no fate but death. As dawn broke the following day, several individuals had already awakened, with Yichuan stepping out of the tent at the sound of the system's alert. "Sign-in successful. Congratulations, host, you have obtained 2,000 evolution points and a temporal barrier device," the system announced. Yichuan shrugged slightly, casting his gaze towards Saturday and his partner preparing a barbecue, and ambled over. "Starting the barbecue this early?" he inquired. "Brother Chuan, this fish was caught by Zhao Feiyu and the others in the lake, and we decided to grill it right away," Saturday explained. "Although it is morning, why not indulge in a delectable barbecue?" "Indeed," Yichuan nodded, accepting a freshly grilled fish and savoring it. After satisfying their hunger and engaging in discussions, they decided that Xiao Feilong and Zhao Feiyu would pilot the aircraft while the others would remain in the miniature world, waiting for the right moment to emerge. Thus, they continued their journey for another day, and by the following morning, after utilizing 2 aircraft, they finally approached the treasure site. However, when they were still over 200 nautical miles away, countless surface-to-air missiles began to rain down upon them. The duo was compelled to eject, and Yichuan waved his hand, summoning everyone back to Turtle Island. They watched as their aircraft, which had flown several nautical miles away, were annihilated by hundreds of missiles. Goodness, the enemy possesses formidable strength. They deployed hundreds of missiles just to take down a single aircraft. Xiao Feilong exclaimed in astonishment. "Isn't that akin to using anti-aircraft guns to swat a mosquito?" At that moment, they gathered before the super radar, adjusting it to a range of 500 nautical miles. To their astonishment, they discerned the enemy's configuration, revealing over 200 super aircraft carriers surrounding an invincible battleship. It appeared that each carrier had just launched a missile. Such a configuration is certainly of a caliber surpassing that of ordinary battleships, and the existence of an invincible battleship is indeed unexpected. Observing this setup, Xiao Feilong murmured, "This is not a force that can be compared with the ordinary. It seems this is not even their full arsenal. Since they have not departed, it indicates that the Pope has yet to emerge from the treasure site." Zhao Feiyu exclaimed with delight. "We still have a chance. Even if they do emerge, we can seize the items from them. What is the issue?" Xiao Feilong chuckled. "Brother, Should we send a volley of missiles to greet them first? Once my turtle goes into stealth, its explosive speed will allow us to penetrate their aircraft carrier formation while they are caught off guard, and then we shall teach them a lesson. Each one spoke directly, expressing relief that they had only eliminated a single SSS-level creature, which allowed them to resolve the situation swiftly. With that, the turtle entered an invisible state and darted forward, enhanced by the island thrusters. In an instant, the turtle surged ahead at a staggering speed of 1,000 nautical miles per hour. By the time the aircraft carrier fleet detected the turtle, it had already surged several nautical miles ahead, leaving everyone astonished. They immediately began to target the rapidly approaching turtle with all their firepower, launching a fierce assault. However, in its accelerated state, bolstered by a protective shield, these attacks were no more than a mere tickle to the turtle. At this moment, Blueberry Jam initiated a live broadcast, grinning as she watched the viewer count skyrocket, playfully asking, "Darlings, can you guess what we are doing right now?" Judging by the clouds visible in the background of the live stream, the goddess's speed had surpassed Mach 1. Was she engaged in combat? With tsunamis wreaking havoc all around, was there no super tsunami here? I heard that the life-forbidden zone would remain untouched by super tsunamis. Could it be that the goddess was still within that zone? Why ask so many trivial questions? Let us shower some gifts, family. The chat exploded with activity. And within just a few minutes, billions in donations flooded in, with the viewer count surpassing 10 million. Blueberry Jam couldn't help but smile, announcing, "We've discovered a treasure trove, but the church has beaten us to it. We are currently planning an assault on their aircraft carrier fleet." It turned out that the swift approach was from their small team. "Goddess, are you really going to attack your own fans?" At that moment, a viewer who had just sent several gifts sent a barrage of messages. "Ha ha ha, the goddess is so furious she's even targeting her fans. And yet, we must continue to support her. This is the mark of a true, die-hard fan. I wonder if she feels any pressure, but taking on the church is no small feat. After all, those within the church are anything but ordinary, huh? Goddess, could you live stream the entire battle? I wouldn't mind sending more gifts. I have the means." The chat erupted with excitement once more. Blueberry Jam chose to ignore that message, knowing well that mercy towards enemies is cruelty towards oneself. If she spared someone simply because they were a fan, who knew what repercussions could follow? With a smile, she addressed her audience, "Darlings, you can see that the enemy's artillery is relentlessly targeting us. Fortunately, we have defenses to shield us. Otherwise, we might be doomed. I will be live streaming the entirety of this battle for you all to enjoy." As the broadcast continued, the turtle charged at breakneck speed toward the aircraft carrier fleet, unleashing absolute gravity in an instant. The fearsome force cleaved several carriers in two, sending them slowly sinking into the sea. As the young dragon and Lu Shui swiftly initiated a ground-to-ground assault, the relentless barrage of artillery rained down upon the aircraft carriers, fueled by ample ammunition. The two sides were perilously close to one another, not even a kilometer apart. Each missile swiftly multiplied into 10, striking the carriers with pinpoint accuracy. Regardless of the formidable defenses of the aircraft carriers, they were utterly incapable of withstanding the onslaught. In a mere half hour, over 200 carriers had succumbed, save for the invincible battleship, which began to sink slowly. At this juncture, the captain of the invincible battleship finally reached out to Yichuan and his companions. However, to their astonishment, he did not seek mercy but instead issued a threat. "I know who you are and am aware of your strength. Yet your artillery cannot breach the defenses of the invincible battleship. Furthermore, over 100 warriors aboard are from the Inquisition. If you provoke us, your fate is sealed, death awaits." "Are you threatening us?" the young dragon inquired, incredulous. "Indeed I am. I am the chief judge of the Inquisition, possessing the strength of the entry-level realm. Slaying you will be as effortless as slicing through vegetables." At this revelation, the group understood his intentions. His bravado was merely a tactic to lure them aboard the invincible battleship, where he planned to dismantle them one by one. He believed their strength stemmed solely from the SSS-grade creature, the Sea Turtle Island, and its seemingly invulnerable defenses and attacks, while their individual combat prowess was lacking. This revelation left them speechless, as their aim was not to destroy the last invincible battleship, but to confront those aboard, particularly since Yichuan needed his allies to assist in clearing out the occupants. In an instant, they surged forward, and upon reaching the deck, an elder led over 100 warriors charging out. The elder coldly regarded them and declared, "I merely employed a minor provocation. Yet you abandoned your powerful weapon and rushed in. It seems your demise is inevitable today. Are you a fool?" The young dragon retorted with a smirk. Addressing the arrogant chief judge, "What makes you so certain of our doom? I alone could contend with all of you. However, out of respect for my order, I shall allow everyone to join in, so you may perish with a semblance of dignity. With a smile, the chief judge signaled, "Now attack." Instantly, nearly 100 formidable figures surged toward the seven, their momentum suggesting an easy victory over the group. Bang! In the next moment, the leading 10 soared into the sky, and with a mere collision, numerous members of the Inquisition lost their precious lives. Meanwhile, each one had already fixated on the chief judge, striding purposefully toward him. The presiding judge, in a moment of fury due to his misjudgment, coldly muttered to himself as he observed each one charging towards him. "So you are their leader? Then allow me to purify you in the name of God, and subsequently deal with those other scoundrels." With that, he swiftly moved forward, launching himself at each one. Unfazed, each one unleashed absolute gravity, his peak power augmenting the attack, as he collided forcefully with the judge. The judge, still deluded into believing he could severely injure each one, was instead sent flying by the blow, his body crashing into the thick bulge beside the hatch, leaving a significant dent. The sheer force of the impact took the judge completely by surprise. He was now spitting blood, overwhelmed by indescribable pain that rendered him utterly incapacitated. Trapped in the indentation with no means of escape, the assembled members felt as if 1,000 wild horses were galloping through their minds. Just moments ago, they had been rallied by the judge, convinced of their superiority, believing they could swiftly eliminate these island lords through sheer force. Yet now, their most formidable judge had been vanquished in an instant. How could they possibly continue this battle? Many members began to entertain thoughts of retreat. Meanwhile, the little flying dragon laughed heartily, brandishing his long knife, mockingly gazing at the stunned members of the Inquisition. How amusing. This is the first time I've seen the Church's followers reluctant to meet God. Aren't you all usually proud of such encounters? Upon hearing this, a chorus of curses rose among the group. One individual coldly remarked, "All we seek is to survive. As powerful beings, you ought to spare our lives. We shall depart immediately and not disturb your affairs." Each one, amused, smiled and narrowed his eyes. Aside from the judge, eliminate the rest without mercy, leave no one alive. In an instant, the 6 individuals sprang into action once more. With each one's command, they held nothing back. Each strike delivered was their utmost attack. Despite the pleas for mercy and desperate attempts to flee, even those who plunged into the water were swiftly dealt with by dolphins and turtles. The once invincible warship of the Church, having dominated for over a decade, had now transformed into a hell on earth. In less than 10 minutes, the battle was resolved. With over 100 individuals being dispatched under the blades of the few, only a handful clung to life, while the rest lay defeated. Each one then approached the judge, calmly inquiring, "I wish to know the current status of your pope." "I do not know," the judge replied loudly. After the pope descended, he initially managed to relay messages, but subsequently, he has gone silent. "We have been out of contact for 24 hours now. None know what has transpired." Each one furrowed his brows as he cast a glance at the dwindling members of the Inquisition. Xiao Feilong immediately charged forward, using their lives as leverage. However, the responses he received were uniformly unyielding. With a slight shake of his head, he swiftly dispatched several individuals with his blade. Subsequently, he pressed his long knife against the throat of the presiding judge and declared, word by word, "Old man, I shall ask you once more. If you do not answer truthfully, I swear that you will never behold the face of God for the rest of your days. I swear by the name of God that every word I speak is true. Amen." The judge, wide-eyed, immediately exclaimed, "Brother, it appears he speaks the truth." Xiao Feilong replied gravely, "It seems this treasure hunt will be fraught with challenges. Are we not those who rise to face adversity? Why fear difficulties?" Liang Hongying softly countered, "Sister, I merely wish to inform my brother about this matter. How has it become a matter of fearing hardship?" Xiao Feilong retorted with a slight pout, visibly displeased. "I have always been a staunch supporter of my brother, following him unwaveringly." "Then that settles it." Liang Hongying shrugged in response. "Hee, brother, shall we descend now?" Xiao Feilong chuckled eagerly. "In moments of idleness, I fashioned an invincible submarine using our fleet of dozens, and later, by joining forces with blue steel essence and the enhancement of a protective shield, we are more than capable of venturing into the abyss." Each one nodded affirmatively. "Let us proceed." With that, Xiao Feilong swiftly eliminated the presiding judge, leaving only the ordinary sailors aboard the invincible warship. After each one secured it further with a super anchor, the group finally boarded the submarine, rapidly descending into the depths of the ocean. Despite the cumulative size of the dozens of submarines, this particular vessel appeared rather modest, measuring just over 50 meters in length and slightly more than 10 meters in width. Piloted by Zhao Feiyu at an astonishing speed, in merely a short span of 10 minutes, The submarine had reached a depth of over 4,000 meters. This location was nearly devoid of light. However, under the submarine's absolute illumination, the surrounding area within 100 meters remained vividly clear. Meanwhile, the audience in the live stream had surged to hundreds of millions, with the donation amount already exceeding billions as they confronted the Inquisition. As they gazed upon the underwater world 4,000 meters below, everyone appeared utterly astonished. It seems the deep-sea world differs significantly from our blue star's oceans. Was that a megalodon I just saw? In the Forbidden Sea, megalodons are but minor players. What is so astonishing about that? The creature resembling an alien with a triangular head walking upright is truly remarkable. I thank the goddess for allowing me to witness such a beautiful underwater realm. I adore the goddess. I too wish to become a popular online influencer like Blueberry Jam, yet I only have a little over 1 million followers. Why don't you venture into the ocean world for survival, and perhaps even find a formidable benefactor? Call him brother during the day and father at night. Haha. Amidst the barrage of comments flooding the live stream, Blueberry Jam excitedly pointed below, exclaiming, "Look, is that not the trench? I believe I can see flames burning within." "Those are not flames, that is magma," Liang Hongying promptly corrected her. "Goodness, what kind of existence is this? There is a river of magma at the bottom of the sea." Blueberry Jam gasped in astonishment, scarcely able to believe the reality before her. This must surely be a marvel. What a fuss. Liang Hongying shook her head in exasperation. "Brother, the temperature of magma is around 1,000 degrees. Can our protective shield withstand it?" "Of course." Yichuan shrugged nonchalantly. With that statement, the submarine had already entered the trench, and moments later, it plunged directly into the magma. The sight was overwhelmingly filled with the fiery red of molten rock, enveloping the submarine entirely. This created a profound sense of oppression. If the submarine were to falter, would everyone not be reduced to mere carbon? Rather than a river of magma, it resembled a lake of magma. They had descended several dozen meters, but still had not reached the bottom, and the location indicated on the treasure map was yet to be attained. Little Flying Dragon scrutinized the treasure map with a hint of skepticism, saying, "Brother, are we being deceived by the church?" "No." Lu Yue shook her head firmly, asserting, "We have not been tricked. The treasure lies beneath the magma. It is likely that there exists another dimension below, or perhaps a vast subterranean space is concealed." The presiding judge above mentioned that their pope had been missing for 24 hours. Could he have entered that dimension housing the treasure? Lu Shuai interjected at this moment. For now, everything remained uncertain. Yichuan stated gravely, "We must wait until we reach the bottom of the magma to uncover the truth." Suddenly, a thunderous crash reverberated as something collided violently with the submarine. Fortunately, the protective shield held firm, and they sustained no damage. "Brother Yu, what was that?" Little Flying Dragon immediately inquired of Zhao Feiyu. Zhao Feiyu furrowed his brow, shaking his head. The submarine's radar is showing no signs of anything. The radar display was entirely engulfed in fiery red. The scorching magma completely obscured the radar signals, rendering the submarine blind, unable to discern its surroundings, and compelled to continue its descent. Bang! Another resounding impact occurred as the same entity struck the submarine again. Zhao Feiyu quickly reassured, "Everyone, remain calm. Whatever is outside cannot breach our defenses. We must simply continue diving." The concern was that they had already descended 100 meters and still had not reached the magma's bottom. Little Flying Dragon remarked, bemused, "Could it possibly be created by those who seek the treasure?" Bang! Crack! Immediately, a resounding impact echoed once more, accompanied by a faint cracking sound. Astonishingly, the protective shield had been breached. Chapter 555. Encounter with the Ghost-Faced Jellyfish. What on earth is this creature that can shatter our protective barrier? Staring at the minuscule fissures on the shield outside the glass, Little Flying Dragon was utterly dumbfounded. Even an SSS-class entity couldn't break through. Could it possibly be an Ultra S-class creature outside? If it were truly an Ultra S-class being, the submarine would not remain so stable after such an impact. It must be an SSS-class creature. Yichuan deduced that the shield had simply succumbed to prolonged exposure to the 1,000-degree magma, resulting in its inability to withstand the assault. With that, Yichuan promptly reinforced the shield with an additional layer, hastening Zhao Feiyu's descent further. After all, even with the shield's protection, the submarine's descent speed in the magma was not particularly swift, and it seemed that there were multiple creatures outside. Following the appearance of the cracks, the frequency of impacts on the submarine intensified. Crack! After 3 long minutes, the submarine endured 7 collisions, and with the final blow, both layers of the protective barrier shattered. In that instant, the terrifying magma engulfed the submarine. Despite the incorporation of blue steel essence into its structure, Prolonged exposure to the magma caused the internal temperature of the vessel to rise rapidly, exceeding 100 degrees in less than a minute. Accompanied by a hissing sound, the exterior metal began to corrode. "Brother, we can't hold on much longer." With little flying dragon's exclamation, the submarine seemingly pierced through a membrane, akin to something releasing gas, propelling the vessel outward as it fell weightlessly downward. "What? There's no water in this place." Yichuan was taken aback and swiftly waved his hand, transporting the submarine into a pocket dimension. The 7 of them then leapt out, entering free fall towards the ground, ultimately landing steadily after several seconds of descent. Is this a stalactite cave? Although beneath the magma, it resembled daylight. Liang Hongying surveyed the surroundings in bewilderment. "Jam, is your live stream still ongoing? Is there signal here?" "There's no signal. The live stream shut down half an hour ago," Blueberry Jam replied. "It seems that once we entered the magma, the mobile signal vanished entirely. Only radio signals can be transmitted." Liang Hongying nodded in response, observing the cave adorned with stalactites, particularly above, where the inverted formations were conical, some weighing over 10 tons. If one were to fall suddenly, we might indeed be caught off guard. Do not rush. Let us proceed forward to examine the treasure location marked on the map, which has yet to reveal itself. Yichuan interjected, urging everyone to remain cautious and avoid disturbing the surroundings. "Shoo!" Little Flying Dragon immediately gestured for silence, and the group moved swiftly into the depths of the cave. It can be said that this is a natural cavern, devoid of any artificial traces. As one ventures deeper, the passage narrows progressively, ultimately accommodating only a single person, and gazing ahead reveals an apparent lack of an endpoint. After traversing for several minutes, they finally reached a conclusion. There should have been a stone door here, but it had been forcefully destroyed, leaving nothing behind. A dead end? The little dragon furrowed his brow. It is not a dead end. The location marked on the treasure map is precisely here. Lu Yue immediately exclaimed, "Look!" Logically speaking, the Pope and his companions would not engage in fruitless endeavors. Since they breached this stone door, it must contain something of significance. As each one spoke, he reached out to touch the stone wall, only for his hand to penetrate directly through it. An unexpected revelation. The little dragon hurriedly inquired, astonished. "We should tether ourselves with ropes and enter sequentially," Yichuan said, promptly producing ropes to connect everyone, and he was the first to step into the stone wall. Following suit, everyone began to enter, ultimately all finding themselves within the stone wall. "My goodness, this place is indeed extraordinary. We must have entered another dimensional space," the little dragon remarked softly while surveying the surroundings. This realm was boundlessly vast, with jellyfish-like entities drifting in the air, casting a predominantly blue hue that evoked a dreamlike ambience. Blueberry Jam joyfully pointed at one of the jellyfish, exclaiming, "Is that a jellyfish? How adorable." However, in the next moment, the creature, resembling a jellyfish, suddenly flipped around, revealing terrifying spiral teeth, and lunged viciously at her delicate, snow-white fingertip. Blueberry Jam instinctively flicked her finger, sending the creature flying, yet its formidable defense rendered even a powerful strike ineffective. "What is this creature? It's so frightening," Blueberry Jam exclaimed as she hurried to Yichuan. "It's disgusting." As she spoke, other seemingly cute and beautiful jellyfish also twisted to reveal their menacing fangs, aggressively charging at the group. "These are certainly not benign creatures," Yichuan declared, drawing his sword and unleashing invisible blade energy that sliced through the surrounding jellyfish monsters, cleaving them in twain. Astonishingly, these creatures possessed teeth that accounted for nearly 70% of their bodies, complete with barbs, making it likely that a bite could tear away flesh. The group continued their assault, forming a defensive circle while solemnly stating, "Brother, what are these creatures? Why are they so tenacious?" "I am uncertain," each one replied gravely. The sheer multitude of these creatures likely numbered in the tens of thousands, yet there were no remains of them on the ground. It was unclear where the Pope and his companions had gone. "Could it be that we have ventured to the wrong location?" Liang Hongying inquired softly. "Is this place merely a trap, and they have actually transitioned to another dimensional space? If that were truly the case, it would be utterly speechless, wouldn't it?" The little dragon was at a loss for words. "System, what on earth is this?" Yichuan immediately inquired of the system, feeling utterly vexed. "Ghost-faced jellyfish. An A-class aerial creature, adept at camouflage, bloodthirsty and brutal," the system's voice promptly responded. "Is that all you can say? You don't even mention how to eliminate them?" Yichuan remarked, bewildered. The path they had taken had vanished, and surely they couldn't eliminate all of them to find an exit, could they? "That is your concern. Not mine," the system retorted. "Damn," Yichuan exclaimed in frustration. Who would have thought that he would be confronted by the system in such a dire situation? Chapter 556. The Secret Treasure Location. Brother, we cannot kill them all. At that moment, the little dragon shouted, and it seemed their numbers were increasing. If we don't devise a plan soon, we would be exhausted to the point of collapse. Yichuan's expression turned solemn as he gravely stated, "These are A-class ghost-faced jellyfish, exceptionally bloodthirsty and brutal. We have yet to find an effective solution." Consequently, the group launched another wave of attacks against the ghost-faced jellyfish. Lu Yuwei approached the group and immediately began studying the treasure map. After a full 3 minutes, she finally spoke. "Brother, the blood of these ghost-faced jellyfish is the key to unlocking the treasure location." With that, Liang Hongying swiftly drew her sword and pierced the mouth of one ghost-faced jellyfish. Its nearly transparent blood flowed out along the blade, and she promptly turned to drip the blood onto the treasure map. The map immediately emanated a faint white glow, and as the blood covered its entirety, it burst forth in a blinding white light. Lu Yuwei's expression shifted, and she called out, "Brother, we need to leap into the treasure." "Jump into the treasure map?" The little dragon was taken aback. "Sister, how can we jump through such a small opening? Are you foolish?" Lu Yuwei replied, already taking the lead and jumping in. As her toes touched the treasure map, she shrank rapidly and whooshed into the map. "In!" Yichuan shouted urgently. One by one, everyone began to enter the treasure map, and with Yichuan's entry, the entire map spun rapidly and shrank until it vanished, transforming the fierce jellyfish into charming and beautiful creatures. Wow! The little dragon felt an overwhelming sensation of falling, after what felt like a long while. It landed with a soft thud on the grassy ground. Lu Yuwei had already arrived and was examining her surroundings. The rest of the group followed suit, and eventually, the treasure map gently floated down, landing in Yichuan's hands. "Brother, this place resembles a vast prairie on Blue Star," Lu Yuwei observed, surveying the surroundings, which were covered in lush greenery, extending endlessly. There's even a river ahead. Blueberry Jam trotted forward, spinning around with her arms wide open, exclaiming, "What a beautiful place. This must be the treasure site. But where exactly is the treasure, and where are the Pope and his companions?" Zhao Feiyu spoke, noting that after such a long journey, aside from the damaged stone door outside, there seemed to be no other traces. Has the Pope truly found this place? Or has he gone astray to another dimensional space? This question is difficult to verify, Xiao Feilong said, pursing his lips. The treasure map has changed again. Yet Yichuan remarked solemnly, "It appears to have transformed into an entirely new treasure map, and we are precisely at the starting point. According to the distance indicated on the map, it seems we still require some time to enter the treasure site." Lu Yuwei said seriously, "I truly wonder what is concealed here, as it is so intricate. The longevity grass is essential for those entering the water realm. If it could be so easily acquired, then wouldn't there be countless formidable beings in the oceanic world?" Yichuan chuckled, adding that he suspected even more powerful entities awaited us ahead. "And we must overcome numerous challenges to seize the treasure." As he spoke, he retrieved the MPV once again, and in an instant, the group boarded the vehicle, swiftly heading towards their destination. Indeed, as Lu Yuwei had mentioned, this grassland was boundless. The vehicle traveled over 500 kilometers before finally encountering a towering mountain. Its peak shrouded in clouds, with at least 1/3 blanketed in snow. Scattered across the ground were the charred remains of birds and beasts, causing the group to frown. Zhao Feiyu whispered, "It seems the Pope and his entourage have arrived. We just do not know what kind of weapon they brought that could decimate the birds and beasts on such a large scale. These creatures are B-class beings. Although their strength is modest, their numbers are vast, and their potential for attack is formidable." Yichuan stated seriously, "It is likely that those individuals employed some powerful weapon from the church, resulting in this outcome. Well, whatever the case, this has inadvertently cleared our path. We simply need to proceed forward," Xiao Feilong said with a grin. "Let's go?" Yichuan nodded. The group continued onward, observing an increasing number of corpses, including many powerful beings of S and SS class, all grotesquely charred beyond recognition, a truly shocking sight. Although the group was somewhat taken aback by what they witnessed, they did not dwell on it, for even with all obstacles seemingly eliminated, a fierce battle with the Pope awaited them. Soon, they entered the depths of the mountains, swiftly ascending the mountain path, finally pausing as they neared the snowy slopes. The cave ahead was approximately 2 meters wide, making it difficult for vehicles to pass through. Consequently, the group had to disembark and proceed on foot. Fortunately, torches had already been lit within the cavern, and the traps and beasts had been mostly dealt with, allowing the group to almost leisurely continue onward without pause. As they ventured deeper, the space expanded, accompanied by ominous roars and a palpable tremor reverberating through the air. It seemed the Pope was engaged in combat with the final boss. The little dragon chuckled, suggesting, "Shouldn't we pause for a moment and wait for their battle to conclude? Wouldn't that be akin to letting the opportunity slip away?" Yichuan retorted with irritation. "We must witness their clash. Only then can we truly savor the spectacle of their struggle, and when they are both weakened, we shall deliver the finishing blow." "Indeed, you are most astute, brother." The little dragon nodded vigorously, his expression shifting. In a flurry, the group hastened forward but halted as they approached the battlefield, spotting two figures stationed ahead, two of the red-robed bishops accompanying the Pope. How dare these two loiter instead of joining the fray? Believing that such a concealed yet perilous location would deter others? The little dragon scoffed. "Those two are on the cusp of being eliminated," Yichuan whispered. "I shall strike the one on the left. You engage the one on the right. Let us aim for a swift kill." Chapter 557, Slaying the Boss. Terrifyingly fearsome in unison, the two launched their attacks, hurtling toward the two red-robed bishops situated 20 meters away. As formidable beings nearing the threshold of their transformation, the bishops had previously pledged their allegiance to the Pope, who promised to assist them in their ascension once he procured the longevity herb. This assurance was one of the reasons they willingly followed him into danger. While observing the Pope and his allies battling within the cavern, they were tempted multiple times to intervene, yet they feared that outsiders might disrupt the Pope's plans, compelling them to remain concealed. Suddenly, they sensed a faint breeze from behind, followed by an overwhelming aura of murderous intent. The one on the left was caught off guard and had his throat slashed before he could react. The one on the right, however, brandished a cruciform holy sword, swinging it ferociously toward the rear. Yichuan's brow furrowed as he swiftly retaliated, his blade crashing against the opponent's arm, severing it cleanly. The strike was effortlessly evaded by Zhao Feiyu, who then lunged forward, piercing the bishop's throat with the tip of his sword. In less than a second from the moment the two red-robed bishops sensed danger, they were slain, deprived even of the chance to raise an alarm. Disposing of the two corpses, the group advanced to the spot where the bishops had stood. Before them lay an expansive area where the Pope was engaged in a fierce battle against a towering figure over 2 meters tall, clad in metal and bearing a pale visage, complete with a tail. This creature was undoubtedly the guardian of the treasure, displaying combat prowess that rivaled that of the Pope himself. The Pope, in collaboration with 3 cardinals, found themselves unable to vanquish their adversary, who appeared to be a formidable entity, nearing the pinnacle of mastery. "Your Holiness, it seems only a grand spell can ensure their demise." As the stalemate persisted, one cardinal exclaimed fervently. In that moment, the Pope retreated, leaving the 3 cardinals to engage the boss. He produced a tome bound in gold and began to recite incantations, ethereal white light enveloping him, while specks of luminescence converged upon his form. Suddenly, a cardinal was struck by the boss's fist while attempting to shield his comrade, sent sprawling to the ground, blood spilling forth as he cried out, "Your Holiness!" God declared, "Let there be light," and thus light was born. At this, the Pope commenced a powerful chant. The white radiance emanating from him surged skyward, coalescing into a cloud-like formation. As the boss struck another cardinal down, a barrage of luminous orbs descended upon the foe with great ferocity. These spheres struck the boss with a corrosive force, severely damaging its metallic exterior, which incited the boss's wrath. With a resounding crack, it shattered its armor, revealing skin akin to that of a hairless cat. Yet, astonishingly, the orbs had no effect on its seemingly soft epidermis, which suddenly displayed formidable defensive prowess. "Do you believe this is the end? You underestimate the might of our holy see." Observing the boss's indifference, a nearby cardinal remarked coldly. The Pope then unleashed a thunderous roar, his hand thrusting downwards towards the boss, which was met with a tremendous sound as the orbs transformed into a terrifying white arrow, radiating blinding light as it descended with fierce intent. Roar! The boss retaliated with a furious cry, its body emanating a soft glow as it braced itself, allowing the white arrow to strike its chest with a tremendous impact, yet it remained unyielding. How is this possible? Even the Pope's expression shifted in disbelief. Meanwhile, the cardinal beside him let out a fierce shout, charging at the boss with unbridled strength, unleashing a power approaching the threshold of mastery, akin to a self-detonation aimed squarely at the foe. Goodness, these individuals truly seem to disregard their lives. Do they genuinely believe that death will lead them to paradise? Staring in bewilderment at the self-destructing cardinal, the little dragon was left at a loss for words. Zhao Feiyu could not help but exclaim. It seems that the birds and beasts scorched outside are the result of the Pope's formidable attack. While its power is indeed impressive, it still falls short against this formidable boss. After all, it is a powerful entity about to plunge into the depths. If the Pope possessed only such meager abilities, he would scarcely dare to venture here in search of treasure. Yichuan scoffed. I suspect he undoubtedly has a backup plan. As he spoke, an unexpected turn of events unfolded. A brilliant light erupted from the boss, followed by a fist that violently struck the light arrow, shattering it into countless fragments with terrifying brute force. In an instant, the Pope's figure vanished, striking the boss like a bolt of lightning. The boss, having just obliterated the light arrow, was caught off guard and sent hurtling away by the Pope's blow. Yet, in the next moment, the Pope pursued swiftly, and the scattered fragments in the air coalesced into a holy cross sword. As the boss collided with the stone wall, it was directly pierced in the chest by the cross sword. This time, the sacred blade penetrated its chest with alarming ease, causing it to emit a wretched cry as it attempted to flee. However, the cross sword had firmly anchored itself to its heart, rendering it utterly immobile. The Pope, feeling a twinge of fear, retreated a few steps and sighed with relief. Your defenses are formidable, but my cross sword is a treasured relic of the Church, forged from the faith of countless believers. It is akin to the collective assault of millions, perhaps even billions. If you can withstand this, then truly, it would be a sight to behold. Amen. Should we not make our move now? Inquired the little dragon in a hushed tone, realizing that if the Pope were to completely vanquish the boss, continuing their assault would likely lead to another arduous battle. With so many of us, we should easily handle one Pope, remarked Blueberry Jam with nonchalance. Even if it were just my brother alone, he could make the Pope call him daddy. The Pope wields not solely his own power, but also the strength of the entire Church's followers. Yichuan shook his head slightly and asserted with seriousness. That cross sword he wields is exceedingly sinister. We must proceed with caution. Having concealed himself for so long, it was time for him to reveal himself, was it not? Almost simultaneously as Yichuan uttered these words, the Pope spoke, turning his gaze towards the direction of the cave. Chapter 558, The Holy Light. Ineffectual against Lu Shuai. In an instant, the group was taken aback, utterly astonished that the Pope had discovered their presence. Immediately, the seven leapt into the spatial realm. The little dragon chuckled, Greetings, old Pope. I didn't expect anyone could actually find their way here. The Pope sneered as he scrutinized them, saying, The inept fools outside truly have no idea what they are doing, letting you in here. Apologies, those fellows outside have already been dealt with, shrugged the little dragon. I recognize you. You are the ones who obliterated the multinational alliance, making quite the stir. The Pope disdainfully remarked. The SSS-grade black bear I dispatched has surely been slain by you, has it not? Indeed, it has, and its meat is rather delectable, replied the little dragon. However, we have yet to savor the bear's paws. On Saturday, it was suggested that they require proper soaking. You shall not partake of the bear's paws. Today, you will all perish here. The Pope coldly chuckled, then waved his hand. The cross-shaped holy sword, which had pierced the boss's heart, instantly transformed into a myriad of fleeting specks and vanished without a trace. With a sneer, the Pope inquired, Do you intend to challenge me one by one? Or would you prefer to confront me together? Against someone like you, we have never favored one-on-one combat. We shall overwhelm you with our numbers. The little dragon retorted disdainfully, donning his battle armor and launching himself at the Pope. In light of the circumstances, the rest of the group hesitated no longer and surged toward the Pope as well. The previously dissipated specks lingered around the Pope, subtly shifting with his movements, creating a breathtaking spectacle. As a formidable being nearing the threshold of immersion, the Pope's prowess was not as apparent against the boss. Yet when faced with these intruders, his combat effectiveness surged. His terrifying strength repeatedly sent several individuals flying. Ultimately, only Yichuan dared to execute a surprise attack, swiftly appearing behind him and delivering a fierce strike to his back. Clang! In an instant, the cross-shaped holy sword materialized behind him, firmly blocking Yichuan's devastating blow, causing a nearly white shockwave to scatter in all directions. The Pope was momentarily taken aback, abruptly turning to slash at Yichuan with the cross-shaped holy sword. Yichuan transformed his great blade into the forbidden gun, extending its tip and thrusting it forward with great force. Witnessing the impending explosion of power, the Pope realized that even the fully extended holy sword could not match the length of the spear and swiftly raised it in defense. The holy sword stood upright before him, just in time to intercept the spear's point. In a frantic moment, that dreadful force propelled the Pope backward, rendering the holy sword nearly invisible. Coincidentally, he was sent flying towards Lu Shuai's location. Lu Shuai could not help but scoff, stepping forward and swinging his long knife at the Pope's back in imitation of Yichuan. Thud! Yet, The Pope's formidable defense rendered Lu Shuai's strike almost inconsequential. In that fleeting moment, the Pope grasped the sword's hilt and retreated, causing the holy sword to pierce Lu Shuai's abdomen and forcefully shove him away, leaving him momentarily dazed. Brother. Witnessing this scene, the little dragon's expression shifted dramatically as he rushed forward to catch Lu Shuai. Brother, how could you be so foolish? Knowing you were no match for him, why did you charge in? The little dragon was both anxious and furious. Have you forgotten? You lack armor and protection. Lu Shuai, still bewildered, struggled to rise. I feel as though I am unscathed, he murmured softly. How is that possible? You are not invulnerable. The little dragon, in a moment of urgency, lowered his head to inspect for wounds, only to discover that there were none. Lu Shuai appeared to be lively and uninjured, a stark contrast to what one would expect after an attack. Did he not strike me? Lu Shuai pondered weakly. The entire assembly was taken aback by this peculiar turn of events. After all, a contestant so close to immersion should not commit such a fundamental error. The Pope, too, cast a perplexed glance at his cruciform sword. Despite its diminished potency under Yi Chuan's assault, surely it should suffice against a mere novice? In an audacious display, Lu Shuai approached the Pope, embracing the cruciform sword and thrusting it fiercely into his own chest. Miraculously, not only did his hands remain unscathed, but the sword met his body with an almost harmonious resonance. This bewildering scenario left even the Pope momentarily speechless. After years of dominance in this oceanic realm, he had never encountered such an anomaly, one that defied all logic. How is this possible? In that instant, the Pope's eyes widened with disbelief, gritting his teeth as he questioned the unfolding reality. Yet, just as he was lost in confusion, a small dagger appeared in Lu Shuai's hand, plunging directly into the Pope's chest. The Pope's expression shifted dramatically. He could scarcely fathom that a mere fledgling like Lu Shuai could inflict harm upon him. The absurdity of it all was staggering. In a fit of rage, the Pope launched a powerful kick, propelling Lu Shuai several meters away, where he was caught by Zhao Feiyu. Are you all right? Zhao Feiyu inquired softly, noticing Lu Shuai's dazed countenance. With a sudden cough, Lu Shuai expelled a mouthful of blood, clutching Zhao Feiyu's sleeve tightly as he gasped. It hurts. I fear I may not last much longer. Lu Shuai, do not speak such dire words, Zhao Feiyu admonished, his brow furrowing in concern. Yet, to have wounded the Pope, I consider it worthwhile. Lu Shuai replied with a faint grin. Do not utter such defeatist sentiments. Yi Chuan interjected, tossing a 300 milliliters bottle of SS-grade freshwater to Lu Shuai. Drink this quickly. I will assist you. Lu Yue volunteered, rushing forward to help Lu Shuai drink. The Pope, now glaring coldly at the group, wore an expression of utmost displeasure. He could hardly believe that he had been wounded by a novice so significantly weaker than himself. In desperation, he began to chant healing scriptures, white specks of light swirling around his injury. Humph! Yi Chuan snorted derisively, shifting his stance to unleash absolute gravity, his spear aimed fiercely at the Pope. The Pope, his countenance darkened further, extended a hand, summoning a shield composed of the cruciform sword and ethereal white light to brace for Yi Chuan's impending strike. Chapter 559. Why must Lu Shuai be killed? Death approaches. Yi Chuan let out a cold laugh, his absolute gravity amplifying the reverse flow technique as he propelled himself forward, his entire being crashing fiercely against the cross-holy sword. After being stabbed by Lu Shuai, the Pope's strength seemed to wane slightly. At the very least, his control over the cross-holy sword was no longer as effortless. With a resounding shatter, the shield crumbled, and in an instant, the cross-holy sword was split in two, subsequently dissipating into scattered fragments. The spear, however, continued its relentless advance towards the Pope's chest. Yet, when the spear tip pierced 3 to 4 centimeters deep into the Pope's body, it could penetrate no further, as the Pope gripped the spear tip tightly, exerting nearly all his strength. Yi Chuan frowned, genuinely surprised that the Pope could withstand such a situation. The Pope smirked coldly, his gaze fixed intently on Yi Chuan as he spoke. Boy, you are still too inexperienced to think you can kill me. Bang! Observing the audacious Pope, Zhao Feiyu's expression turned icy. He stepped forward, leaping into the air to deliver a powerful kick to the end of the spear, the terrifying force crashing down once more onto the Pope's chest. The Pope's pupils constricted as he swiftly turned, evading slightly in the momentary gap, causing blood to spurt forth as a large chunk of flesh was torn from his chest, narrowly avoiding having the entire spear pierce his heart. O Almighty Lord, grant me strength, let my broken body be restored to health. At this moment, the Pope resembled a bloodied figure, loudly howling as he traced a cross in front of him. Amen. In an instant, brilliant white light enveloped his body, akin to S-class freshwater, rapidly healing his wounds. Everyone, attack together. Do not allow him to recover. Yichuan's expression darkened. With a mighty roar, he charged once more, followed closely by the other 5, all unleashing their utmost power against the Pope. The wound on the Pope's chest glimmered with white light as he wielded the cross-holy sword. Stepping forward to entangle himself once again with the group, though their battleground was steadily shifting towards Lu Shuai, he recalled a certain realization. Regardless of whether he would perish in this battle, he must eliminate Lu Shuai, for otherwise, Lu Shuai could become the architect of the church's destruction. Having consumed the S-class freshwater, Lu Shuai's injuries had now healed nearly 70%. However, the Pope's attacks were overwhelmingly terrifying, rendering him unable to move freely. Thus, he could only continue to encourage his companions. After several seconds of intense combat, with Yichuan's assistance, the little flying dragon spotted a flaw in the Pope's defense, finally closing in on him to unleash a flurry of punches upon his wound. The white light was dispersed, and blood flowed anew, but the Pope, leveraging the force of the little flying dragon's assault, surged towards Lu Shuai, his body enveloped in white light as he charged fiercely at Lu Shuai. Since holy light cannot harm you, I shall simply crush you with sheer brute force. As the Pope launched his assault, Lu Shuai, who was already leaning against a stone, could not help but let out a fierce shout, bringing down his great sword upon the approaching Pope. The Pope effortlessly grasped the long blade with a single hand, then swung it back, sending Lu Shuai hurtling through the air. Following this, the Pope unleashed a flurry of punches, each one landing with brutal precision upon Lu Shuai. Unfortunately, Lu Shuai was already nursing old wounds, and the new injuries compounded his suffering, causing him to spew blood uncontrollably. He crashed against a giant rock, collapsing onto the ground, nearly devoid of motion. No one anticipated that the Pope would risk being attacked by everyone to confront Lu Shuai. Yichuan, filled with rage, saw his spear surge to an impressive length, and at the moment the Pope sent Lu Shuai flying, he struck fiercely at the Pope's back. The overwhelming force of his peak transformation erupted, knocking the Pope down, who remained on the ground for an extended period without rising. Lu Yue and Blueberry Jam had rushed to Lu Shuai's side, lifting him gently. Lu Shuai, how do you feel now? Other than pain, it's still pain. Lu Shuai's eyes were vacant, blood still trickling from his lips. He wondered what was wrong with that bastard, why he incessantly targeted him. Don't say too much. Quickly drink the last 500 milliliters of SS-grade fresh water. Yichuan was nearly overwhelmed with anger, knowing this was the final 500 milliliters of SS-grade fresh water. If Lu Shuai could not be saved, it would be disastrous. Haha. The Pope struggled to rise, blood at the corner of his mouth, yet wore a sinister smile, coldly declaring, even if I die, it matters not, for you will never save that boy. Old fool, what is wrong with you? Xiao Feilong exclaimed in exasperation. Among us, only Lu Shuai did not attack you, yet you chose to target him. Are you even human? That's because that fellow must die. The Pope laughed heartily. His existence is a threat to our church. My demise is inconsequential. Soon the church will elect a new Pope, who will continue to lead the believers of the Blue Star and the oceanic world. You cannot harm the foundation of our church. Haha, brother. Let me take action and eliminate him. Xiao Feilong trembled with rage. This scoundrel became increasingly intolerable, and he had to die. Go ahead. Yichuan nodded slightly, issuing the next command. With a furious shout, Xiao Feilong charged at the Pope, wielding his great sword. However, despite being severely injured by Yichuan, the Pope, with his peak transformation prowess, was still not someone Xiao Feilong could easily contend with. The Pope roared, engaging Xiao Feilong once more in a fierce confrontation. In their one-on-one struggle, the Pope still managed to dominate Xiao Feilong, relishing the moment. Boy, perhaps I am destined to die today. But if I can take that fellow with me, it will be worth it. Who will be the victor is yet to be determined. You are too naive. Xiao Feilong retorted coldly. As the words left his lips, a resounding crash echoed through the air. The boss, struck in the heart by the Pope, suddenly surged forth, its sharp claws piercing deeply into the Pope's chest, leaving him utterly chilled to the core. The Pope's face was a mask of disbelief. How could the boss, having been impaled by his own hand, possibly awaken with such ferocity to inflict harm upon him? It was unfathomable. In chapter 560, The Legacy of the Bible, unveiling the treasure, he slowly turned to face the enraged boss, momentarily enveloped in a surreal sensation of impending doom. Was he truly destined to perish here? With a swift lash of its tail, the boss struck again, like a deadly arrow, piercing the Pope's body with cruel intensity. It was tragic that such a pinnacle of power met his end in this fabled treasure site, never even catching a glimpse of the treasure. After slaying the Pope, the boss finally succumbed to exhaustion, its eyes drooping as it collapsed beside the Pope, both bodies lying lifeless on the ground. The Pope was indeed a remarkable figure. Who would have imagined he would fall in such a manner? Fate, it seemed, had dictated this outcome. Observing the two corpses, Yichuan couldn't help but feel a pang of melancholy. "Don't scare me like that, Lu Shuai," exclaimed the little dragon, who suddenly cried out. Lu Shuai appeared dazed, his eyelids heavy, as if he were on the brink of unconsciousness. What on earth is happening? Why does that old wretch target Lu Shuai specifically? The little dragon raged, his face darkening at the absurdity of it all. "Do you remember Lu Shuai's indifference to the holy light's attacks?" Yichuan asked, his expression shifting. "Of course. Why do you ask?" The little dragon nodded in response. Yichuan quickly retrieved the Bible from the Pope's embrace. Despite the Pope's transformation into a bloodied figure, the Bible remained pristine, emanating a faint, milky glow. He placed the Bible in Lu Shuai's arms, and to their astonishment, Lu Shuai's blood began to flow into the Bible as if it were being absorbed, while the Bible radiated a milky light that enveloped Lu Shuai entirely. A force emanated from it, pushing everyone away. "What is happening? Is the Bible recognizing its master?" Blueberry Jam asked, astonishment evident in her voice. "Indeed, it seems the Pope never truly claimed the Bible. He can only be regarded as a false pope," Yichuan asserted gravely. Realizing that Lu Shuai's immunity to the holy light suggested he might indeed be the Pope's chosen one, prompting the attempt on his life. "Brother, you can't be suggesting that Lu Shuai is destined to become the new Pope?" The little dragon exclaimed in surprise. "What's wrong with that? Can't Lu Shuai become the Pope?" Liang Hongying shot the little dragon a disapproving glance, responding with a hint of disbelief. "Certainly. It is just that the thought of Lu Shuai continuously marking his chest with a cross and uttering phrases like the lost lamb and amen makes me feel quite uneasy," Xiao Feilong remarked with a grimace. "Look over there." At that moment, Lu Yue whispered. They observed that the white light enveloping Lu Shuai was gradually fading away. The Bible on his chest had vanished, and his injuries appeared to be healing rapidly. In a mere few seconds, as the white light completely dissipated, Lu Shuai finally opened his eyes, surveying his surroundings with astonishment. He then slowly rose to his feet, gazing at his hands in disbelief and uttering, "Am I truly healed? Not only healed, but you have also received the inheritance of the Bible. You are now the Pope." Xiao Feilong exclaimed with a hint of sarcasm. "Is that so?" Lu Shuai responded, puzzled. With a mere thought, the Bible materialized in his hand, and in the other, he astonishingly held the cross sword previously wielded by the Pope. "Wow, this is shocking even for Lu Shuai. What is happening?" he exclaimed. "Brother, we deduce that you are the chosen one selected by God, which is why the Bible was bestowed upon you, leading to this current situation," Xiao Feilong explained. "Brother," Lu Shuai took a deep breath, casting a deeply moved glance at Yichuan. "How do you feel now?" Yichuan inquired with a smile, shaking his head. "I feel an overwhelming surge of strength within me. It far surpasses the power I previously possessed." Lu Shuai replied earnestly. "I believe I have reached the stage of transformation." "Is that true?" "This rapid transformation is akin to being propelled by a rocket," Xiao Feilong exclaimed, circling Lu Shuai in disbelief. "I truly feel that way," Lu Shuai declared, suddenly sweeping the cross sword through the air, leaving a deep, bottomless gash in the ground. All the sword energy was concentrated within him, without a trace of leakage, significantly enhancing the sword's power. "Regardless, this is an extraordinary blessing," Yichuan exclaimed with a smile. "Rest assured, I believe you will soon reach the stage of transformation as well. It is merely a matter of time. However, our immediate priority is to locate the treasure. Indeed, let us not forget our ultimate goal." Xiao Feilong nodded vigorously. "Lu Yue, please investigate where the door is and where the treasure lies." Lu Yue nodded slightly and walked towards the stone wall ahead. There is a roughly 5-meter square indentation here, with different patterns on each of its 5 sides. However, there appears to be nothing particularly unusual. It seems merely to be a painted recess. In this space, this area is quite unique. The other parts are naturally formed and likely do not hold the key to activating any mechanism, Lu Yue explained. "The issue lies in determining where the mechanism is and how to activate it," Zhao Feiyu remarked seriously as he approached, feeling around the surroundings. Several individuals immediately began their investigations, while Lu Yue gazed upward, pointing at a small fissure and inquiring, "Do you see? Is that spot not somewhat peculiar?" Upon hearing her, Lu Shuai quickly leapt up to touch the fissure, hesitantly remarking, "This, it feels as though it aligns with the tail of that boss." Xiao Feilong promptly dashed to retrieve the boss, and subsequently tossed it to Lu Shuai. Grasping its tail, Lu Shuai thrust it into the fissure, and a series of cracking sounds echoed as numerous fissures appeared above, followed by a cascade of enormous stones plummeting down, prompting the group to leap outward. Within mere seconds, the cubic indentation was entirely filled, revealing a vast cave entrance above the original depression. This mechanism is truly unexpected, Xiao Feilong exclaimed. I wonder if treasures await us within the cave. As she spoke, Lu Yuewei was the first to leap towards the cave entrance, although the passage appeared profound. Glimmering objects could be discerned at its end, seemingly the treasures themselves. Chapter 561, Discovering the Longevity Herb. At that moment, Lu Yuewei called out, Brother. The cave extends for about 1,000 meters, and at its end lies something shimmering, perhaps the treasure. Let us go and take a look. Yichuan nodded, then swiftly jumped into the cave, with the others hastening forward. The entire passage seemed naturally formed, as if carved out by a sharp instrument, stretching over 1,000 meters. And the glittering objects at the forefront resembled white, crystal-like minerals. It was only after turning a corner and advancing nearly 100 meters that they finally encountered a vast chamber filled with scattered gold, silver, and jewels, far exceeding the treasures within the lair of the old Dragon King, including numerous precious medicinal herbs. Yichuan's eyes were immediately drawn to a series of small compartments carved into the stone wall, within which lay a single herb, rather inconspicuous. Yet he felt an instinctual certainty that this was the longevity herb. With a sweeping motion of his hand, all the treasures were transported into his small world. Yichuan then stepped forward to the compartment and retrieved the longevity herb. Although it bore a slight withering appearance, he could sense a profound life force emanating from it. Truly magnificent and overwhelming. The other compartments housed a variety of herbs. While they were of no use for immersion in water, they included rare items such as millennium ginseng and century-old reishi mushrooms. Brother, we have struck gold. Xiao Feilong rushed over, bursting into hearty laughter. These herbs are undoubtedly pure and natural. Such wild specimens no longer exist on Blue Star. Just this millennium ginseng alone is worth billions. Naturally, such extraordinary treasures would be kept for personal use. Yichuan spoke with a hint of irritation, asserting that this was something immensely beneficial for his health. Once we escape, we shall stew it alongside the flesh of an SSS-grade creature. It will undoubtedly be a great tonic. Indeed, indeed. Little Flying Dragon nodded eagerly, excitement nearly causing him to drool. Brother, why do I feel so cold? At that moment, Liang Hongying leaned in to inquire. Noting that while she hadn't felt this way moments ago, the sensation was deepening. Why am I not feeling anything? Little Flying Dragon was taken aback. I feel it too. Blueberry Jam and Lu Yuewei chimed in, expressing that there was a very familiar aura, as if a formidable presence had infiltrated this space. The men were left in a state of bewilderment. Truthfully, they had yet to sense anything amiss. However, Yichuan quietly questioned the system. Could there be another guardian beast hidden within this space? Frithsir, an ultra-S-grade terrestrial creature, possessing formidable strength and invincible defense, the system promptly responded. This revelation left Yichuan somewhat astonished, particularly as the key issue remained the location of this entity. Hongying, can you discern where the other party is? He surveyed the surroundings as he quietly inquired of Liang Hongying. Liang Hongying furrowed her brow, suddenly swaying her body and dashing toward a specific spot. In an instant, her short blade was unleashed, striking fiercely at that location. Boom! A resounding blast echoed, sending dust soaring and creating a modest-sized crater. At last, the group beheld the entity that had been lurking in the shadows, momentarily stunned to realize it was the very boss from outside. However, this creature was evidently smaller than its external counterpart and appeared somewhat more refined. Could it be that the one outside was male, while this was female? Observing the tense standoff, Yichuan waved his hand dismissively, exclaiming, "A misunderstanding, a mere misunderstanding." As if comprehending his words, Frithsir refrained from attacking, instead regarding Yichuan with a cold gaze. With a smile, Yichuan continued, "We are messengers of peace. Aware that others sought to seize treasures, we followed them here, only to witness the Pope entangled with your husband. We joined forces with your husband to vanquish the Pope. Alas, it is regrettable that your husband ultimately perished alongside the enemy. This is indeed a matter of deep sorrow. Please accept our condolences." His words left everyone in a state of confusion. Conversely, Frithsir displayed a genuine expression of grief, extending her arms and howling skyward, seemingly lamenting the fate of the boss outside. Yichuan sighed, "The enemy is too powerful. We understand that you may be unable to withstand the incessant onslaught of villains seeking to plunder treasures. Thus, we intended to assist you in safeguarding them, allowing you to no longer suffer from oppression. However, there is no need for gratitude. We merely acted in accordance with our duty." A few words left the little dragon utterly astonished. Initially, they had come in search of treasure, Yet their elder brother spoke with such righteous fervor. Observing that fellow, who bore a contemplative expression, one couldn't help but wonder if it truly was so easy for him to swallow his brother's tall tales. If there's nothing else, we shall take our leave. May you find solace, Yichuan said with a smile directed at Frithzer, gesturing towards the others before slowly making their way outside, ultimately returning to the previous space. Elder brother, we leaped into the treasure map. There seems to be no way out here. Must we jump back into the treasure map to return? The little dragon inquired in a hushed tone, surveying their surroundings. At this moment, Lu Yue had already pulled out the treasure map, glancing around as she spoke. When we entered, we had the blood of those jellyfish as the key. Now that we wish to leave, I wonder how we shall activate the mechanism of the treasure map. Could it be the blood of that monster we just encountered? The little dragon speculated with skepticism. The group exchanged hesitant glances, reluctant to engage in battle with that creature again. They had been embroiled in conflict throughout their journey, and to face another Ultra S-class being upon their departure would be utterly inhumane. Well, that's the general idea. I can only say there's a 70% chance it might work. Lu Yue rolled her eyes, shaking her head in resignation. With no other options available, they had no choice but to give it a try, right? Isn't there still a corpse over there? Its blood should suffice. Lu Shuai exclaimed, rushing over to retrieve the boss's body. Summoning the holy sword, he made a decisive cut into its abdomen. The once impervious body seemed surprisingly easy to slice open post-mortem, revealing the crimson within. Lu Yue swiftly placed the treasure map inside the boss's belly. Soon, a radiant white light emanated from within, causing Blueberry Jam to smirk. Brother, we aren't really going to jump out from its belly, are we? With that utterance, a chilling, mournful roar reverberated from the treasure cave. Chapter 562. Frithzer's Pursuit. Let us wear each other down. Has it come to understand our actions and now seeks revenge upon us? The little dragon's expression shifted dramatically. Regardless of what it is, we must hasten our retreat. Yichuan commanded in a hushed tone, preferring to avoid conflict whenever possible. Upon hearing this, Lu Yue took the lead, leaping directly into the boss's belly. Oh, how revolting! Blueberry Jam remarked with disgust, gazing at the blood within. With a frown, Yichuan delivered a swift kick to Blueberry Jam's pert backside, propelling her into the boss's belly. One by one, the others followed suit. Yet Yichuan suddenly heard a rustling sound. Instinctively, he activated the reverse flow technique, sending an air blast into the cave while simultaneously leaping into the creature's belly. Roar! With a resounding roar, Frithzer burst forth from the cavern, only to witness Yichuan plunging deep into the belly of his foe. An ear-piercing shriek escaped its lips as it charged fiercely towards the boss, but in a flash of brilliance, it vanished into the depths of the cave. When Yichuan and the others re-emerged, they found themselves beneath a torrent of magma, astonished by the remarkable teleportation ability of the treasure map, which had nearly delivered them to their doorstep. Without further ado, Yichuan retrieved a submarine, and the 7 of them swiftly boarded, propelling themselves toward the molten river. The protective shield appeared merely to prevent magma from cascading down, allowing the submarine to effortlessly navigate into the molten depths. Yichuan reinforced the vessel with 2 additional layers of shielding before rapidly ascending. Despite encountering unknown creatures that collided with the submarine, they managed to break through the magma, surging upward as they exited the abyss and raced towards the surface. Goodness, it's pursuing us! Exclaimed the little dragon in alarm. Frithzer emerged from the magma, hurtling towards the submarine at an alarming speed. Under Yichuan's directive, Zhao Feiyu unleashed all their torpedoes upon Frithzer. With a cacophony of explosive sounds, Frithzer was engulfed in flames, while the submarine was propelled upward by the force of the tremendous shockwave. It's astonishing that this creature would follow us, Yichuan remarked, his expression grave. Though we can contend with an Ultra S-class being, it will consume our time. Had I known, I would have blocked the cave entrance with a barrier to avoid yet another fierce battle. Brother, my strength has increased, and I could teach it a lesson. Lu Shuai interjected confidently. Dealing with an SSS-class early-stage being is manageable, but an SSS-class mature entity is a different story, let alone an Ultra S. Yichuan retorted sharply. For now, we must exhaust its strength before we engage. Following his words, Zhao Feiyu launched another barrage of missiles, all homing in on Frithzer. Just as Frithzer evaded the torpedo assault, it found itself besieged by a dozen missiles. Enraged, it charged at the missiles, triggering another wave of shockwaves. Meanwhile, the submarine resurfaced, and the crew returned to their invincible warship, commanding the personnel to attack Frithzer. Brother, why not retreat into the small world for the time being? Fighting it seems futile. It's better to hide, the little dragon suggested softly. What if it decides to linger? Lu Shuai inquired immediately. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. The little dragon rolled its eyes and remarked, "It has only a 50% chance of not leaving. There remains a 50% chance that it will." The little dragon spoke wisely. "We have already obtained the treasure, and engaging in battle with it seems rather futile. It is better to quietly hide from it." Yichuan nodded in agreement and immediately instructed everyone to take refuge in the small world. On the verdant grass, a mound of gold, silver, and jewels lay before them. The little dragon promptly reclined atop the treasure, laughing heartily as it exclaimed, "Brother, our gains over the past few months are indeed exhilarating. I dare say that even the treasures amassed by those super families over a century cannot rival our bounty. How utterly delightful. Treasure is secondary. The primary pursuit is growth." Yichuan elucidated. At this moment, he yearned for strength, aspiring to one day ascend to the Sky City, perhaps the true sanctuary for the powerful. Setting aside those myriad thoughts, Yichuan waved his hand and said, "All right, you few can start dividing these treasures. Given your reluctance to take more, let us split these riches into 7 portions, 1 for each of you. I shall temporarily store those belonging to Jam and Lu Shuai. Brother, will you not take an additional share?" Lu Yiwei inquired with a hint of skepticism. "Not necessary. Money is but an external object, and to me, it has become merely a string of numbers." Yichuan replied with a smile and a wave of his hand. With that, the group fell silent and began the division. However, the treasures were indeed so numerous that even if each of the 7 took a share, it would amount to several times the wealth they had discovered in the ocean world. Suddenly, a deafening crash echoed as they all turned to see Frithor bursting forth from the sea, assaulting the invincible battleship. Although it was slightly smaller than the boss, it remained a super S-class creature, and its terrifying destructive power was beyond what the battleship could withstand. Just as Lu Shuai had anticipated, after obliterating everything, Frithor remained stationary, seemingly aware that they had not departed, intending to wait patiently for their appearance. "I told you, it has us figured out." Lu Shuai scoffed at the sight. "Let it wait. We have food, drink, and entertainment here. Besides, we can seize this opportunity to train effectively." Yichuan shrugged lightly. "The signals here are connected to the ocean world. You all may contact your families to send the treasures back. I, too, shall commence my training." Striving to break into the water entry realm. Indeed, the group, upon hearing this, ceased further discussion and dispersed to find places to contact their families. Blueberry Jam, grinning, said, "Brother, will you not feel lonely training alone? Shall we not find a place and take it slow? Do consider your fighting style. Do you not find it a tad awkward?" Yichuan smirked, gently pinching Blueberry Jam's cheek before turning to walk away. Chapter 563, Breaking into the Water Entry Realm, the First Battle. The water entry realm requires mermaid tears and longevity grass, which now lay before Yichuan. Yichuan could not help but inquire in a low voice, "System, should I simply consume these 2 items?" The system retorted, "What else do you expect?" This response left Yichuan somewhat speechless, yet he chose not to dwell further on the matter and promptly ingested both items. Instantly, a torrent of overwhelming power surged through his limbs and bones. This force was akin to a wild stallion breaking free, galloping wildly and nearly scattering the energy within Yichuan's body. He dared not ponder further and immediately concentrated, striving to channel this power into a coherent flow. Meanwhile, Xiao Feilong and the others were engaged in conversation with their family members. This left Blueberry Jam feeling somewhat bored. Reflecting on Yichuan's earlier words, she nodded slightly and began to recall her movements during battle, contemplating how to refine her combat posture for greater efficiency. Lu Shuai, on the other hand, sat cross-legged, deeply engrossed in studying the Bible. Since this artifact had chosen him, there must be a reason for it, though he was still uncertain about the rationale behind this choice. From his studies, Lu Shuai discovered the immense power contained within. It had the capacity to absorb the faith of Catholics and transform it into a source of strength for him in combat. Moreover, it concealed secrets related to water entry and the final step into the moon, akin to a treasure that required careful exploration. To his astonishment, he realized that although the previous popes had utilized it, they had merely scratched the surface, as the Bible had not truly acknowledged them as its rightful master. This implied that the former popes were merely false popes, while Lu Shuai was destined to become the true pope. However, that was a matter for the future. Each individual was absorbed in their own pursuits, undisturbed by one another, until Liang Hongying concluded her conversation with the family, prompting Blueberry Jam to eagerly solicit her for guidance, thereby infusing a measure of vitality into the otherwise subdued atmosphere. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, 7 days had elapsed. Yichuan had meticulously organized all his power, and as this energy continued to circulate within him, It formed a complex route for energy cultivation. The raw power had finally transformed into true qi, akin to that of the previous c16. Within his meridians, it flowed like a mighty river. The white qi coursing steadily until it converged in his dantian, resembling an inner elixir akin to that of an ultra S-class being. About the size of a ping-pong ball, though still somewhat ethereal and not yet fully solidified. Despite this, Yichuan felt an inexhaustible reservoir of power within him. He even sensed that his combat prowess now surpassed that of c16. A feat attributable to the mermaid tears of a quality far superior to that of the tears of a merman. Emerging from his secluded retreat, Yichuan felt an urgent need to release the pent-up energy within his chest. He inhaled deeply and then let out a thunderous roar toward the heavens. Waves of sound erupted from his mouth, slicing through the grass and extending for over 10 kilometers before finally subsiding. Soon after, the sound of hurried footsteps approached. Xiao Feilong and the others rushed over, their faces lighting up with expressions of joy upon seeing Yichuan. Blueberry Jam eagerly inquired, "Brother, have you succeeded?" "Of course," Yichuan replied with palpable excitement, astonished by the significant enhancement in his abilities upon entering the water. "I now feel that the 3 versions of myself from before would stand no chance against the current me." "Is that truly the case?" Little Flying Dragon exclaimed. Taken aback, with a slight shrug, Yichuan chuckled heartily. "I must admit, this indeed exceeded my expectations. That fellow outside, are we not capable of dispatching it with ease?" Lu Shui interjected immediately. "That creature outside has not yet departed?" Yichuan paused, swiftly gesturing with his hand to reveal the scene beyond. There stood Frisia, motionless in place, seemingly unwilling to leave until Yichuan and his companions made their exit. "Goodness, this creature is rather persistent. Are you suggesting that if we do not leave, it will remain here indefinitely?" Yichuan remarked with irritation. "It appears we must indeed eliminate it. Brother, you have now reached the water entry realm. I wonder if you can take that creature on in a one-on-one battle." Little Flying Dragon chuckled. "With such power, we would be in for quite the thrill. That boss is at the peak of the Super S adult form, while his wife is roughly in the Super S growth stage," Yichuan analyzed solemnly. "I should be able to hold my ground, or perhaps even narrowly defeat it, but we will only know for certain once we engage." "Excellent." Little Flying Dragon nodded eagerly. "Reaching the water entry realm, I am truly eager to witness my brother's prowess. Ha! I will step out and test my strength." Yichuan nodded slightly, and then exited the small world. Frisia had been waiting for 7 days and nights, and its patience was wearing thin. Upon seeing Yichuan appear, it erupted into an enraged roar, its body twisting like lightning as it charged at Yichuan. Yichuan shouted and wielded his great blade, poised to confront Frisia head-on. In an instant, tremendous power erupted forth, creating a massive hole in the ocean's surface, and both combatants were sent flying backward. However, Frisia was propelled nearly 100 meters further than Yichuan. This encounter provided Yichuan with a clear understanding of his strength. He could indeed contend with the Super S growth stage, but he fell slightly short against the peak of the Super S adult form. With a smile, Yichuan remarked, "I feel great sorrow for your partner's demise, and I have already advised you to grieve and move on. Yet, you still pursue us with the intent to kill. This is akin to turning against your benefactor. Do you not understand your ingratitude?" Frisia's eyes burned with icy fury, completely disregarding Yichuan's words, as if it believed that killing Yichuan was the sole purpose of its existence. Frisia let out another furious roar and lunged at Yichuan once more. In that moment, a grayish luminescence emerged from its mouth, and it opened wide, unleashing a beam of gray light that seemed intent on obliterating Yichuan in an instant. Yichuan snorted disdainfully and stepped forward confidently, his long blade positioned before him, prepared to withstand the impending assault. The terrifying assault surged forth with a devastating force, crashing directly against the long blade, sending Yichuan reeling backward in an instant. This wave of power, upon its explosive emergence, nearly transcended the Super S growth phase, reaching the pinnacle of the Super S adult form. Even his body trembled slightly at that moment, prompting him to shake his head in resignation. "It seems you truly prefer punishment over a cordial invitation." Chapter 564, Slaying Freezer, Immediate Objective. Freezer, undeterred, fixed a malevolent gaze upon Yichuan, as if the latter were a sworn enemy responsible for the death of his kin. Within mere seconds, the water beneath Freezer began to churn violently, and in the span of 3 to 4 seconds, a water column of considerable width erupted skyward, elevating Freezer into the air. Surrounding water columns gradually ascended towards the heavens. The entire marine expanse stirred by Freezer's command. Originally believing him to be merely a terrestrial creature, Yichuan furrowed his brow at the unexpected display of hydrokinesis. He ascended slowly into the sky, leveling with Freezer. The swirling water columns, resembling serpentine whirlpools, transformed into colossal water dragons that roared with the sounds of thunder as they charged towards Yichuan. With this single maneuver, the atmosphere shifted dramatically, causing creatures below the SSS level within 1,000 miles to scatter in fear of collateral damage. As the water dragons neared Yichuan, they merged instantaneously, coalescing into a water dragon king, thousands of meters long and dozens of meters thick, which opened its gaping maw and engulfed Yichuan in an instant. Inside the water dragon, turbulent currents raged, akin to sharp teeth gnashing at Yichuan. However, possessing strength of his caliber, he remained unfazed by such attacks. With bold strides, he traversed from the dragon's head to its tail, drawing his blade with determination and delivering a powerful slash forward. A cacophony of wails reverberated in all directions as the fearsome water dragon shattered in response, ultimately dissolving into a cascade of droplets that struck the ocean surface, creating a terrifying chasm. This was undoubtedly a severe blow to Freezer. The water dragon, capable of obliterating SSS-level beings, crumbled before this man. An occurrence almost too incredulous to comprehend. With a sweeping gesture, Yichuan coldly declared, "I did not wish to kill you, yet you have left me no choice. Thus, I must send you on your way." With a fierce shout, he swiftly lunged towards Freezer, employing absolute gravity, intent on determining the outcome with one decisive blow. A flicker of resolve crossed Freezer's face as he charged forward as well, prepared for a direct confrontation with Yichuan. Should he falter once more, he planned to retreat and guard the body of his fallen ally. With hands clasped, his body spun, his claws transforming into the sharpest of whirling instruments, generating ripples in the very air itself. Ultimately, absolute gravity erupted forth. A force nearing 1,000,000 tons struck fiercely upon the rotating dual claws, which, despite their formidable nature, were instantly pierced by the forbidden spear, creating a significant breach. The spear continued its relentless advance, penetrating Flisser's chest. As Flisser spun rapidly, a gaping hole was torn through its torso. Bewilderment enveloped Flisser. It had already clashed with Yichuan twice. Although Yichuan was undeniably powerful, he seemed only marginally superior. Such a terrifying blow could not possibly be so easily thwarted by Yichuan, leading to its own demise. However, there was no time left for contemplation. Its vitality drained rapidly, leaving it almost powerless, as the water column that had supported it began to descend, dragging it toward the sea, leaving behind a smooth, rounded inner core in Yichuan's grasp. With a wave of his hand, Turtle Island and Zhao Feiyu and others were all expelled from the small world. Observing the two inner cores in his hand, Yichuan tossed them to the little flying dragon. The little flying dragon immediately grinned and exclaimed, "Big brother, that was incredible." Though clad in battle armor, his combat prowess seemed somewhat lacking. He should consume some inner cores for sustenance. Yichuan replied nonchalantly, "Consuming inner cores from Ultra S-level beings carries certain risks. I'll provide you with 500 milliliters of S-level freshwater. Fear not, big brother, I am well aware." The little flying dragon laughed heartily, confidently asserting his readiness. However, a thought troubled him. Big brother has already reached the water realm. Why did it take so long to deal with this Ultra S-level being in its growth phase? Lu Yuwei, with a hint of skepticism, added, "As the pinnacle of the transformation realm, how could the Pope not eliminate an Ultra S-level adult? The answer lies in the Bible and the Holy Cross sword forged from holy light." Lu Shuai promptly explained. The Bible, a treasured artifact of the Church, wielded immense power that could ultimately elevate me to the moon realm. The grand techniques and the Holy Cross sword unleashed through the Bible could even manifest the might of the water realm. Moreover, the holy light exerted a suppressive effect on such beings, which allowed for a narrow victory in the end. Goodness, this artifact is indeed astonishing. The little flying dragon gazed at Lu Shuai in awe. No amount of treasure can compare to this divine relic. It is all thanks to Big Brother. Lu Shuai laughed. Without him, could I have achieved my current standing? Big Brother, now that the treasure map of the Forbidden Sea has vanished, should we not venture into the life forbidden zone? Liang Hongying inquired at that moment. Yichuan pressed his lips together. To be honest, he was eager to enter the life forbidden zone. After recently utilizing the forbidden spear in the water realm, he had felt a distinct discomfort, as it lacked a crucial element found within the treasure of the life forbidden zone. However, the pressing issue was that Godzilla was ever watchful, scrutinizing him. Should they all enter the life forbidden zone, Godzilla might not refrain from attacking, and then they would once again find themselves in a life of escape. After glancing at a few individuals, he felt that unless they could reach the realm of transformation, they might stand a chance against Godzilla. Otherwise, entering would indeed be perilous. After some contemplation, Yichuan solemnly stated, "I believe I should assist you in achieving transformation. Otherwise, with our current strength, venturing into the life-restricted zone could only lead to our demise." His words, though blunt, held a kernel of truth. Zhao Feiyu shrugged, acknowledging that they were dealing with a forbidden-level marine creature that, when enraged, could obliterate the entire outer sea. They indeed could not act recklessly. However, the path to transformation was not so simple. Xiao Feilong raised his hands in exasperation, remarking that individuals like Lu Shuai, who had received the biblical inheritance, could transform directly. What inheritance could they possibly acquire? This can only be tackled step by step, Yichuan replied gravely. We will extend the super radar to 30,000 nautical miles and seek out powerful island masters or larger islands in order to borrow resources from them. In short, the objective was clear: to employ every means to assist you in transformation, preparing for entry into the life-restricted zone. I concur. Zhao Feiyu was the first to raise his hand in agreement, with the others nodding in unison. Yichuan snapped his fingers and promptly operated the super radar, quickly pinpointing their first target. Chapter 565, The Recovery System. It was a small island spanning 1 square nautical mile, home to a nearly mature community of approximately 100 individuals. They had fortified the island to an impenetrable state and raised 5 or 6 SS-level terrestrial creatures, boasting an arsenal of various weapons for defense, including ground-to-ground and ground-to-air artillery. 2 super aircraft carriers stood guard outside the island, resembling sentinels protecting against invaders. Meanwhile, Yichuan and his companions had been traveling aboard the Turtle Island for a day and a night, with only about 1,000 nautical miles remaining to their destination. Expected to arrive by noon the following day. That evening, the group enjoyed a sumptuous meal of 1,000-year-old ginseng stew with beef, accompanied by a few drinks. Reveling in the moment. Yet, Xiao Feilong, puzzled, inquired, "Given that we are still 1,000 nautical miles from the island, those people must have noticed us. Why have they not attacked? Either they possess immense confidence in their ability to defeat us, or they plan to wait until we draw closer before striking, thus avoiding the need to traverse mountains and rivers to reach us," Zhao Feiyu speculated. Regardless of the scenario, a confrontation is inevitable. Surviving the super tsunami. They were clearly not ordinary beings. This might indeed escalate into a fierce battle. Yichuan stretched lazily and smiled. After dinner, let us rest well. Tomorrow, I shall leave the opportunity for display to you all. Great. Lu Shuai laughed heartily, feeling a surge of anticipation, having always been a supportive player from the back. With Xiao Feilong and the others as the main combatants, he was eager to prove himself as the first among the 6 to break through to the realm of transformation. As dark clouds obscured the moon, signaling an imminent downpour, the group retired to their rooms, leaving Saturday and his partner to tidy up the remnants of their feast. Yichuan could not help but open the public chat room once more, instinctively glancing at the ongoing conversations. It's been 2 days since the super tsunami struck, and those who survived are heroes. Let us salute ourselves. Dude, you're such a fool, chatting away in the room since the novice period, and yet you're still alive? Of course, I am under the protection of the ocean god. No one can perish while I remain, and I shall navigate my way to the Sky City. What is this Sky City? Is it the ultimate goal of the island lords? That is not for you to know. It is not a place for those of your standing. Observing this island lord, who seemed to do nothing but chat incessantly, Yichuan took note of his ID, narcissistic baldy. He had been active in the chat since day 1 as a novice, yet he contributed nothing but idle talk. How had he managed to survive thus far? At that moment, Yichuan was struck by a bold suspicion. Could he also possess a system? As he pondered, the system's voice suddenly chimed in. Hidden mission detected. Will the host accept? The unexpected appearance of a hidden mission was indeed surprising. Yichuan rubbed his hands together in anticipation and inquired, "What is the hidden mission?" Hidden mission: retrieve the out-of-control system. The host must recover the sole remaining system in the ocean world within 1 month and eliminate the host. A substantial reward awaits upon completion. Will you accept? The system replied. Yichuan was taken aback. He had previously encountered someone with a system, pondering how many such individuals existed in the entire ocean world. He had even contemplated absorbing that individual's power. Little did he expect that he and this other person were the last 2 with systems. And now the system intended for him to eliminate the other. This would indeed fulfill the uniqueness of the system. The host may choose to accept or decline. The system prompted once more. Of course, I choose to accept, Yichuan said with a slight smirk, his tone tinged with irritation. The more systems there were, the less valuable they became. Since there were only 2 remaining, and one was destined for recovery, he would thus become the sole possessor of a system in the ocean world. How delightful. Detection confirms the host has accepted the hidden mission. Please complete it promptly. The system responded immediately. Completion, completion. Yichuan nodded repeatedly, and then fell straight into a deep slumber. Detection shows the host has not yet checked in. Would you like to check in? The next morning, Yichuan awoke to the system's alert. Stretching lazily, he mumbled check-in while leisurely making his way to the bathroom. Check-in successful. Congratulations, host. You have received 2,000 evolution points, 200 kilograms of fertile black soil, 1 super missile, 1 time-sensitive protective shield, and 1 absolute defense. The system's voice followed, leaving Yichuan momentarily astonished by the unexpected bounty he had just received. Upon reflection, Yichuan quickly grasped the situation. After all, I have been engrossed in seclusion and cultivation these past few days, neglecting my daily sign-in. The system has unexpectedly bestowed upon me a multitude of rewards, which can be regarded as a form of compensation for my efforts. This aspect of the system is indeed quite considerate. On Saturday, breakfast was prepared, and as everyone enjoyed their meal, we observed the super radar, noting that we were approximately 200 nautical miles from the island, with an estimated arrival time of 2 hours. Yichuan smiled and remarked, at this juncture, we can make adequate preparations to sink those 2 super aircraft carriers and then proceed directly to the island. This time, let us embody the spirit of Bushido. We shall refrain from taking lives, merely borrowing everything they possess while sparing their lives, which can be seen as a form of compensation. Cutting the grass without uprooting it allows it to regrow with the spring breeze. Xiao Feilong interjected as a reminder. This elicited a laugh from Yichuan, who patted Xiao Feilong on the shoulder and said, My brother, do you truly believe there is anyone who can rival us now? Who could possibly bring about our downfall? Unless it is a forbidden-level creature. Xiao Feilong replied immediately. Exactly. You yourself have implied that none of the island lords pose a threat to us. Can you name one who could challenge us? Yichuan chuckled heartily, adding, let alone killing them, even if we stood there and allowed them to strike. Who would dare to make a move? That does seem to be the case. Xiao Feilong pondered. However, Zhao Feiyu interjected solemnly. Everything has 2 sides. Some individuals underestimate ants and ultimately perish at their hands. Therefore, if one must be eliminated, it is better to do so rather than waste resources. Let us discuss it further when the time comes. Yichuan reflected, we already have blood on our hands. Whether there is one more or one less is inconsequential. Just then, an urgent alarm blared from the super radar, interrupting their conversation. Xiao Feilong couldn't help but chuckle. Big brother, these fellows are losing their composure. Chapter 566. Lu Shuai unleashed, then let us commence. Yichuan exclaimed, observing the 2 aircraft carriers approaching rapidly and already initiating their attack. Xiao Feilong and Lu Shuai promptly dashed to operate the ground-to-ground missiles. Yichuan activated the temporal defense system, causing the sea turtle to levitate and accelerate, while employing the island accelerator to propel the island forward in an instant. 2 volleys of ground-to-ground missiles surged forth, with each super aircraft carrier receiving 18 missiles. The terrifying velocity significantly enhanced the power of the warheads. As the close and long-range defenses began to fire furiously, the 18 missiles had already separated, multiplying into 180, now converging from all directions towards the super aircraft carriers. In the aircraft carrier's command room, the commander was nearly driven to madness by the incessant piercing alarms on the radar. What is happening? Engage the defensive artillery immediately. We must intercept. Captain, we have maximized our firepower, even deploying barges, but these warheads are approaching from 360 degrees. We cannot stop them. The operator spoke with a sense of grievance, expressing certainty that they would undoubtedly endure a barrage of artillery, hoping only that the warheads were not as formidable as they imagined. With that statement, nearly 100 warheads rained down upon the super aircraft carrier. Despite its considerable size, the vessel was utterly incapable of repelling such a massive assault, and the destructive power of these warheads was comparable to that of ordinary missiles. The weaponry and defense systems were rendered inoperative in an instant, and even the aircraft on the deck, including fighter jets and bombers, were reduced to mere scrap metal. Within the main control room, alarms blared incessantly, leaving scarcely a place unscathed. The commander gritted his teeth as he glared at the radar, trembling with rage. What on earth is happening? What kind of weaponry do they possess? What manner of guided warhead could wield such terrifying power? Captain, they are utilizing a unique type of missile. The power of a single small warhead rivals that of a standard missile. The operator explained. Our weapon systems, propulsion systems, and more are all incapacitated. Our aircraft carrier may soon be reduced to a pile of scrap. Damn it. The captain slammed his fist on the table in frustration, his teeth grinding audibly. This was their first encounter with such a dire situation. For 9 years, they had roamed the ocean, typically instigating trouble for others. Even when attacked, they would easily dispatch their foes. Yet now, they faced a mobile island with such formidable strength. Captain, they have bypassed us and are heading towards the island. A voice rang out from the operator. So soon, the captain's body jolted in disbelief. Despite the nearly 100 nautical miles separating them, it had only been a matter of minutes, and the enemy had already crossed past the aircraft carrier. Did this mean they would reach the island in mere moments? Quickly, alert the island and instruct them to launch an attack. The communication systems were also down. Damn, on the island. The master had already taken note of the approaching Turtle Island. Observing their rapid advance, he felt no panic, merely stating, "Send forth those SS-class creatures. Eliminate them outright. We only require what is readily available on the island." Understood, the Vice Master replied respectfully, promptly issuing the command. As the Turtle Island was about to collide with the island, a series of terrifying roars erupted, unleashed by the Vice Master's 5 SS-class terrestrial creatures. These 5 creatures, nearly indistinguishable black panthers with eerie green glimmers in their eyes, let out a furious roar and began sprinting across the surface of the sea. Upon witnessing them, I was suddenly reminded of the shadowy panthers from the Lost Continent, pondering whether there might be a connection between the two. Observing these 5 black panthers, each one couldn't help but smile and declare, "Leave this to me. I shall handle them." Lu Shuai chuckled heartily, taking the lead as he charged directly into the throng of leopards, colliding forcefully with the foremost black panther. The sheer force of the impact erupted instantaneously, sending the creature hurtling backward. In that fleeting moment, the Holy Cross sword had materialized, and with a swift arc directed towards the front, the black panther, upon nearing Lu Shuai, split into 2, racing past him on either side, lifelessly drifting upon the surface of the sea, blood saturating the waters. The remaining 3 black panthers glared coldly at Lu Shuai, growling incessantly, yet hesitating to launch another attack. After all, in just a brief encounter, 2 of their companions had been slain. Such overwhelming power was undeniably formidable. Was it not akin to courting death for any ordinary leopard to confront him? Shall the 3 of you approach together? Or will you come one by one to meet your demise? Lu Shuai inquired with an air of arrogance, scrutinizing the 3 black panthers. With gritted teeth, the trio of black panthers glared at Lu Shuai, their bodies surging with power as they charged ferociously towards him. God said, "Let there be light." And so there was light. Lu Shuai proclaimed softly, wielding the Bible. As he uttered these words, a cascade of milky white light particles manifested around him. Unlike the previous ascent toward the heavens by the Pope, these shot forth like bullets towards the 3 black panthers. The dense points of light rained down upon them with relentless force, and despite their all-out charge, the panthers were sent reeling backward. The combined might of the impact nearly shattered their organs, and with the onslaught of light, the 3 black panthers were rendered utterly lifeless. The island's master stood in stunned disbelief. Who were these individuals? One had emerged and effortlessly vanquished all SS-level terrestrial beings. Their power was astonishing. What had that fellow just said? God said, "Let there be light." And so there was light? Such words seemed to belong only to those of the clergy. Could they be members of the church? Yet, that made little sense, for the church possessed a fleet of aircraft carriers. When had they taken to riding sea turtles? Well done, Lu Shuai. At this moment, Lu Shuai had returned to Turtle Island, where the little dragon snapped his fingers and laughed heartily. To be honest, I find myself a bit envious of you for having acquired such a formidable inheritance. It clearly demonstrates the terrifying prowess following your transformation. Truly extraordinary. Indeed. We aspire to grow stronger at the earliest opportunity. Zhao Feiyu remarked pensively. Strength is the sole criterion by which all is measured. Haha, look at those fools. They appear utterly dazed. Should we not proceed to the island? The little dragon chuckled, then inquired earnestly, glancing at the island. It seemed the opponents had no intention of resisting further. Yichuan nodded affirmatively. Let us ascend the island. Chapter 567. Encountering the hidden demon in the cave. Deceived with those words, the 7 of them leapt onto the island. The island's leader strode forward with over 100 followers, confronting Yichuan and his companions. He inquired in a deep voice, "What do you intend to do?" "Do not misunderstand. We are not here to kill." Xiafilong interjected promptly. "Recently, our brothers have fallen into poverty and wish to borrow some resources. I trust you would not refuse." "Borrow what?" The deputy island leader retorted almost immediately. "That depends on what you possess." Xiafilong shrugged. "Gold, silver, Precious gems, rare materials, whatever you have, we shall take. As the saying goes, while the green mountains remain, one need not worry about firewood. Even if we temporarily take these items, you can still thrive. Do not sacrifice your lives over mere possessions. Is this borrowing? It is plainly robbery. One individual exclaimed in anger. We have worked hard for so long to acquire these treasures, and you think you can simply take them? Is that feasible? With that, Lu Shui brandished the holy sword, slicing through the air with a swift motion. The island leader's expression shifted as he drew his long knife in defense, but it was effortlessly cleaved in two by the sword's energy, continuing its path to sever the speaker in half. Xia Filong chuckled. Since we claim it as borrowing, it shall be so. Who knows when we might return it? We possess a treasury, though its contents are meager. I believe they can buy our lives. The island leader replied darkly. I will take you there now. Take whatever you wish. Xia Filong, let us go? Yichuan declared. Thus, the two followed the island leader into the depths of the island, soon arriving at a place resembling an underground cavern. The island leader leapt down without hesitation. Exchanging glances, the duo followed suit, only to discover that the leader had vanished, replaced by a heavy sound of breathing. As they adjusted to the dim light, they beheld a humanoid creature standing within. It appeared human-like, with smooth, pale skin, a bald head, and a nose seemingly removed. Its rapid breathing and blood-red eyes fixed upon Yi Chuan and his companion, emanating a formidable aura of oppression. Meanwhile, the island leader had returned above the cavern, smirking as he declared, This is an SSS-grade terrestrial creature, a basilisk. No matter how strong you are, you cannot contend with an SSS-grade basilisk. Who would have thought you had a secret weapon? Xia Filong inquired, astonished. I aim to catch you off guard and eliminate you all. The island leader sneered. Rest assured, you will not return anytime soon. They will soon lure those 5 here for the basilisk to kill. You can only blame your naive trust in others. With that, the island leader blocked the entrance with a massive stone. As the spotlight illuminated the volatile creature, Yichuan felt a sense of helplessness. He had thought that with Lu Shui's presence, he could finally relax, yet he found himself needing to lead once again. As this thought crossed his mind, Voldemort suddenly swayed and took the initiative to strike, unleashing a terrifying force that violently slammed into Yichuan, causing the very cave to tremble as if it were on the brink of collapse. Boom! In an instant, the longsword was unsheathed and fiercely struck Voldemort. Despite his lightning-fast speed and formidable defenses, Yichuan's strike carved a gash into his body, extending from his throat to his left chest, a sight both shocking and gruesome. Yet no blood flowed, merely exposing the crimson muscle tissue beneath. Goodness, this fellow's defenses are truly extraordinary, capable of withstanding an attack from someone at the water entry realm? The young dragon exclaimed in astonishment. After all, he was an SSS-level creature. Although he was not as grotesquely powerful as the tentacled octopus, his rank spoke volumes. Yichuan shrugged slightly, fixing his gaze upon Voldemort. My friend, we have merely come to borrow something, not to kill. I believe we should adhere to the principle of peaceful coexistence. Roaring with barely contained rage, Voldemort glared at Yichuan, his teeth clenched. He hunched over, fists clenched, staring at the wound on his chest, which was visibly healing at an astonishing rate, and his aura surged significantly. The dreadful presence permeated the cave, prompting the young dragon to grimace and mutter, If I had to face this guy alone, I'd probably be killed in no time. That's why I'm here with you. As Yichuan spoke, he drew forth the forbidden gun, declaring, Since this fellow refuses to accept our goodwill, I shall be left with no choice but to eliminate him. Bang! In the next instant, Voldemort propelled himself off the ground and launched another attack. This seemingly simple movement created a deep, cracked indentation in the earth, demonstrating that his power had surged by nearly half in a heartbeat. Yichuan said nothing further. Absolute gravity erupted around him, concentrating all his formidable strength into the spear. With a dragon-like cry emanating from the forbidden gun, it struck Voldemort's chest. The once near-invulnerable body was easily pierced, as if it were made of tofu, the spear driving through and firmly pinning him against the stone wall, piercing his heart in the process. A wretched scream echoed throughout the cave in the following moment. Even Voldemort himself could not comprehend why, with just a change of weapon, his opponent's strength had seemingly doubled. He began to resent the island master for pitting him against such a formidable foe. Was this not a deliberate push toward his demise? Yet his eyes remained fixated on Yichuan, and he slowly approached, utterly unconcerned about the spear that was about to completely traverse his wound. How could he still move with his heart pierced? The young dragon's expression shifted, and he cried out, Brother, does he even have a heart? How would I know? Yichuan replied tersely. After all, it was merely an SSS-grade creature. He had not inquired about the details regarding this entity, feeling rather indifferent about it. However, observing Voldemort's arrogant demeanor at that moment, Yichuan felt a wave of exasperation. Without hesitation, he wielded his large blade once more, bringing it down forcefully upon the creature's head. Voldemort immediately began to screech at Yichuan, his claws extending menacingly as he pivoted to fiercely grasp the blade. Chapter 568. Can it all be transformed? Crack. In the next instant, Voldemort's hands were severed, and his head tumbled from his neck. Had it not been for the forbidden gun propping him up, he would have surely collapsed to the ground. Is he truly dead? The little dragon expressed his astonishment, cautiously poking Voldemort's arm with a finger, which indeed remained motionless. He is truly dead. The little dragon chuckled heartily, feeling a sense of nostalgia, recalling the arduous battles of the past where they had to deploy missiles and laser cannons to vanquish an SSS-grade creature. Who would have thought that now? My brother could effortlessly slay an SSS-grade being? Indeed, strength is a valuable asset, haha. If strength were not advantageous, no one would relentlessly pursue becoming more powerful. Yichuan likewise reflected, rest assured, you will soon attain such formidable prowess. Hee, thank you, big brother. The little dragon beamed, bowing deeply to Yichuan. In just over 8 short months, he had evolved from a novice to a formidable contender, and soon he would achieve transformation. Such speed would surely astonish many. The little dragon was confident in Yichuan's promise, believing that everyone would soon grow stronger, just like Lu Shuai. Let us return. These island lords have deceived us to this extent, and they can only expect dire consequences. Yichuan declared, sweeping his hand to draw forth the forbidden gun, thrusting it fiercely upward. The terrifying true energy surged forth, accompanied by a brilliant flash of the gun, instantly shattering the stones that obstructed the cave's entrance. The two then leaped out of the cavern. The island lords had yet to return to their companions. After more than 10 minutes had elapsed without their return, Blueberry Jam and the others grew increasingly anxious. Logically, with Brother S' powerful motions, all treasures should have been gathered swiftly, so why the delay? I say, old man, are your island lords attempting some trickery? Lu Shuai could not help but voice his concern loudly. Impossible. How could we dare to deceive you when you are so formidable? The Vice Lord hurriedly explained, surely something has delayed them. Shall I take you to check? That would be acceptable. Zhao Feiyu slightly nodded in agreement. No need. Just as the Vice Lord was about to move, Yichuan's voice resonated. This caused the Vice Lord to shudder, staring at Yichuan as if he had seen a ghost. How could this be possible? What is impossible? Blueberry Jam queried, confused. Brother, what does this fellow mean? Their island lord lured us into a cavern, where an SSS-grade Voldemort resides, and they actually intended to slay us. The little dragon exclaimed in fury, moreover. Their plan is for Voldemort to kill us, after which the deputy island master will lead you over and eliminate you as well. What? Upon hearing this, the group was seething with rage. The deputy island master immediately knelt down, pitifully stating, this is not our fault. It was the island master's idea. We obey all his commands, and we dare not obstruct him. Where has your island master gone? Yichuan coldly questioned. He must have gone to the treasure vault. The deputy island master quickly replied. Indeed, we do have a treasure vault not far from that cave. I can lead you there right now. Are you certain? The little dragon stepped forward, placing a foot on the deputy island master's shoulder as he asked. I am not the island master. I wouldn't dare deceive you. The deputy island master nodded fervently, swearing, the treasures inside belong to no one. Anyone can take them. Even if you were to kill the island master directly, the treasures would not disappear. Then lead us there. Yichuan nodded slightly. If I find out you are deceiving us, I will ensure your suffering is endless. Thus, the deputy island master, surrounded by his subordinates, swiftly guided the 7 of them to a location resembling a container, a natural cave housing a large metal vessel. Indeed, the island master was lying inside, surrounded by a considerable amount of gold and jewels. Upon seeing the deputy island master, the island master trembled, then erupted in fury. You fool! I instructed you to lead them into the cave. How could you bring them here? Do you wish for us all to perish? Island master, you truly possess audacity. At this moment, Yichuan and the little dragon revealed themselves, regarding the island master as if he were a simpleton. Do you genuinely believe that an SSS-grade creature can kill us? You. As the island master observed the lively duo, he grasped the fate that awaited Voldemort. He immediately knelt before them, weeping profusely. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Please don't kill me. All the treasures are yours. I only beg for my life. Do you believe there is any possibility of that? The little dragon coldly mocked. Someone like you is likely to deceive for a lifetime. If we trust you, it would be tantamount to seeking death. As he spoke, The little dragon leapt down and pulled him up, while Yichuan waved his hand, transporting all the treasures into a small world. Then, with a swift motion, he severed the island master's head. A look of fear and a hint of disbelief lingered on the island master's face as he died, perhaps never comprehending why Yichuan had executed him without warning. Next, Yichuan coldly glared at the others and inquired, "Are these all that your island possesses? Nothing else?" "There is also an apothecary, containing elixirs and herbs gathered from the island masters he plundered over the years, as well as those discovered within a radius of 3,000 nautical miles." The deputy island master hesitated to admit, while another nearby individual seemed utterly petrified. As soon as Yichuan finished speaking, all were quick to divulge. "Let us," the little dragon commanded, his expression shifting with urgency. At present, a group of individuals, along with Yichuan, scoured the apothecary, and the 7 of them returned to Turtle Island with a sense of satisfaction, swiftly proceeding to their next destination. Just as they were about to relax, believing they had survived, 6 airborne creatures surged forth, launching an assault on them. The treasures they found were rather unremarkable, save for the medicinal herbs, among which was a substance known as the transformation pill, resembling the one Yichuan had previously discovered. To his astonishment, there were over a dozen of these, albeit each smaller by 2/3 than the one he had obtained. This revelation left Yichuan momentarily stunned. The prerequisites for transformation included the transformation pill, as well as the immortal spring and the celestial spring, both of which he had in ample supply. Did this mean that the 5 of them could undergo transformation immediately? Suppressing his inner excitement, Yichuan promptly inquired, "System, is my conjecture correct?" Chapter 569. Can a little fishing boat be so adventurous? Why do you always think of such optimistic scenarios? The system retorted, "System, do not forget that you still rely on me to reclaim the out-of-control system." Yichuan interjected, "I suggest you treat me with a modicum of respect, or else I cannot guarantee the completion of this hidden task." Their situation was somewhat unique. In addition to requiring the transformation pill, they also needed the cleansing pill. The system immediately responded, "The cleansing pill is located with the host of the out-of-control system." Does that mean, regardless of the circumstances, I shall have to confront the rogue system? Yichuan replied with exasperation. "Then you must at least tell me the whereabouts of this rogue system's host." "Southwest, 23,000 nautical miles," the system promptly provided. "Host, please be advised that the opposing system has gone rogue and may act unpredictably. This will be a formidable battle. Then arm me with weapons and defenses, so I possess the means to contend with him." Yichuan retorted, "Brother, which coordinates shall we pursue next?" The little dragon inquired with a mischievous grin. He was quite pleased with the prospect of borrowing resources, as it allowed for both treasure acquisition and combat, providing ample entertainment. "For the time being, we shall refrain from borrowing resources. We must acquire another essential item for transformation," Yichuan decisively stated. "Another item?" The group looked at Yichuan with keen interest. "Currently, we have obtained over a dozen transformation pills, but to undergo transformation, we require a pill known as the cleansing pill." Yichuan elucidated, "I have discerned the location of the cleansing pill. We merely need to seize it." "Then what are we waiting for? Let us go seize, no, borrow it," the little dragon exclaimed, slapping his hands together enthusiastically. "However, I must preface this by stating that our target possesses strength comparable to mine, and I am uncertain if we can defeat him," Yichuan asserted solemnly. "Everyone must prepare for the possibility of failure, as our opponent is not to be taken lightly." "Not a problem. Bring it on." Zhao Feiyu solemnly remarked that entering the realm of the islands was a coveted dream for many island lords, let alone the pinnacle of transformation. Everyone was willing to pay any price for it, for gold and jewels were mere external possessions. True strength was the only authentic treasure. The group nodded in agreement, prompting Yichuan to instruct the sea turtle to turn around and head towards another host. For the next few days, the group continued their journey, indulging in leisure and merriment, occasionally engaging in boastful banter, enjoying a life of remarkable ease. During this time, Yichuan diligently signed in, acquiring numerous valuable items, indicating that the system was quite invested in this forthcoming battle, generously bestowing treasures upon him. However, this also instilled a sense of pressure in Yichuan. It seemed the system had never been so benevolent even during his previous confrontation with Godzilla. After all, despite the formidable strength of the opponent, it could not possibly surpass that of a forbidden-level creature, could it? In a bid to empower himself, Yichuan consumed no less than 3 inner elixirs from Ultra S-class creatures over the past few days, nearly treating SS-class freshwater as if it were mere water. Although he sensed a gradual enhancement of his abilities, the forbidden gun remained an incomplete weapon, leaving him uncertain about whether he could truly stand against his adversary. The notion of an uncontrollable system sounded quite formidable, with 10 days remaining and thousands of nautical miles to their destination. Yichuan had amassed defenses and weaponry beyond his wildest imaginings, bolstering his confidence immensely. Yet, just as he completed his latest sign-in, an alarm blared from the super radar. Yichuan swiftly turned to the radar, which indicated several fishing boats rapidly approaching their location. Indeed, these were fishing vessels, approximately 7 to 8 meters long and over 2 meters wide, astonishingly reaching speeds of nearly 100 nautical miles per hour, leaving one utterly speechless. Even the little flying dragon appeared bewildered, exclaiming, "Brother, is this some sort of cheat? How can these small fishing boats be so fast in the Forbidden Sea? They must be on some serious medication to be this reckless." Yichuan calmly suggested, "Let us refrain from attacking for now and observe what these individuals are about." As they waited while having breakfast, it took about 10 minutes for both parties to meet. Sure enough, a dozen small fishing boats approached, each carrying 3 to 4 individuals. Upon sighting the massive island, one of them boisterously announced, "Gentlemen, you should not proceed any further. You may turn back or head in another direction." Zhao Feiyu, perplexed, queried, "What do you mean? We have approximately another day's journey to our destination. Are you suggesting we cannot pass?" Indeed, the path ahead was fraught with peril. A stout, dark-skinned individual called out, "Our king has decreed that you are not of good character. He does not wish to engage in battle with you at this moment. So if you know what is good for you, leave at once. Otherwise, should he unleash his wrath, not even 10 of you could withstand him." Upon uttering these words, the young dragon was immediately enraged. "What kind of cattle did you, the so-called king, raise to boast such bravado? Do you truly believe that merely piloting a small fishing boat grants you superiority? You would do well to refrain from inviting calamity upon yourselves." The leader narrowed his eyes. Accompanying his statement, a dozen laser cannons were aimed at Turtle Island. Coldly, he declared, "At my command, these laser cannons could send you all to the afterlife. We have no desire to engage you because you lack the merit to provoke us. Do not mistake our reluctance for fear. Coincidentally, we too possess laser cannons." The young dragon chuckled heartily, revealing his own cannons alongside a green gem. "Shall we test our might and see whose laser is more formidable? What folly is this? This fool believes a single laser cannon can stand against our dozen and dares to utter such boasts? Brother, I suggest we eliminate them swiftly and return to claim our accolades from the king. These fools think that possessing a turtle as their island grants them immunity, unaware that they are mere jesters. I strongly advocate for activating the laser cannons to obliterate them." The crew erupted in a chorus of shouts. "Come on, fire. Whoever hesitates is a coward." Coldly gazing at the crew, the young dragon bellowed, "Are you truly considering making me fire?" The leader, equally incensed, glared at the young dragon. "Go on, fire. I dare you." The young dragon replied, amused, "Fire." Taking a deep breath, the leader nodded slightly and issued the final command. Chapter 570. The ultimate battle of the two hosts commences. In an instant, a barrage of laser fire was unleashed upon the few individuals on Turtle Island. The terrifying force seemingly capable of reducing them to mere fragments in the blink of an eye. Yet, in the next moment, the lasers struck the protective shield and could advance no further, leaving them merely a meter away from Yichuan and his companions. The leader's expression changed drastically. No wonder these individuals appeared so fearless. Their island possesses a protective shield. At this moment, the young dragon also wore a cold smile. "Now, it is our turn." With that, the lasers erupted forth, striking the green gem, which then split into multiple green beams, amplifying the power of the laser cannons nearly tenfold. The unfortunate fishing boats were utterly decimated within mere seconds, leaving only 5 or 6 crew members alive. How is this possible? The leader, having narrowly escaped, stared in disbelief at the laser cannons. He could hardly fathom how the opponent's lasers could be so terrifying, possibly due to the green gem's influence. As the leader was still in shock, the young dragon had already dispatched the remaining crew members, dragging him ashore. The leader fell to his knees, screaming like a slaughtered pig, "Please, do not kill me. Do not kill me. My lord, who exactly are you, and what is your combat prowess?" Yichuan inquired coldly, having just dispatched an opponent with a swift kick. He was situated 2,000 nautical miles away, residing within an enormous shell, and had only recently attained the entry level of aquatic mastery, commanding several invincible warships. The man, realizing the gravity of his situation, divulged every detail without hesitation, revealing that he was accompanied by 3 adept warriors and an array of formidable mechas, all boasting impressive combat capabilities. "Is that all?" Xiao Feilong exclaimed loudly, noticing the man's silence. "That is all we know. Beyond this, I cannot provide further information. The man pleaded, his voice tinged with desperation. I have already revealed everything. Please, spare me. I pose no threat to you. With a swift motion, Zhao Feiyu silenced him, sending him to the netherworld. Brother, this individual possesses considerable strength. Yet it still feels inferior to us, Lu Shuai remarked solemnly. Those 3 adept warriors can be handled by Yu Ge and the others. I can deal with those mechas alone, while you focus on confronting their leader. This strategy will surely leave them questioning their existence. Are you certain? Yichuan asked with a smile. I might be, perhaps, Lu Shuai hesitated, his voice faltering. For now, it seems we have no choice. But this fellow definitely has more hidden depths. Yichuan's smile faded, replaced by a serious demeanor. We shall advance 1,500 nautical miles today, and then launch an all-out assault on them at dawn. Understood. The 6 nodded vigorously, affirming their resolve. Consequently, the sea turtle continued its journey, while Yichuan expanded the radar's range to 2,000 nautical miles, ever vigilant against any surprise attacks from the host. However, the adversary appeared remarkably self-assured, seemingly indifferent to Yichuan's approach, remaining quiet until nightfall. By midnight, when they were merely 500 nautical miles from the foe, Yichuan decided to pause and rest before proceeding. Meanwhile, beyond that distance, a man in his 30s was reveling with 2 exceptionally beautiful women. One of the women, puzzled, asked, My lord, the enemy is only 500 nautical miles away. Shall we not eliminate them? How dull that would be. The man replied with a grin. Let us wait for them to approach before we annihilate them. Though they possess some strength, they are utterly insignificant before me. To extinguish them is as effortless as squashing an ant. Then tomorrow promises to be quite the spectacle. The other woman chimed in joyfully. I, Sun Shaosan. Never engage in endeavors without certainty. The man retorted with a cold laugh. If I dare speak thus, it is because I possess absolute confidence in our ability to ensnare them entirely. My lord is simply marvelous. Both women clapped their hands in delight. Enough of that. The long night stretches ahead. Let us engage in another 300 rounds. Sun Shaosan chuckled, diving back into the fray with one of the women. Time flew by. And soon it was the dawn of the second day. Yichuan awoke to the system's alert, rising to gaze at the splendid scenery outside. He strolled out of the villa, remarking, The view is exquisite. It seems today is indeed a propitious day for a grand battle. Brother Chuan, I have just prepared a snake soup. Should we not indulge in a bowl before the impending clash? At that moment, Friday approached, carrying 7 bowls of snake soup. I have infused it with nourishing ingredients like Ganoderma. One must be well fed to engage in combat. Yichuan chuckled heartily, his eyes gleaming with mirth as he turned to Saturday. Ah, Saturday, it appears you and your partner shall also need to partake in the fray today. After all, we remain unaware of our opponent's hidden strengths. It would be wise to subdue them swiftly. Brother Chuan, Friday interjected, a serious expression crossing his face. I have a foreboding feeling that our adversaries possess 2 combat-type robots, perhaps on par with our own abilities. Yichuan paused, momentarily astonished as he regarded Friday. Upon reflection, it did seem plausible. After all, as island masters supported by the system, their early development should not differ vastly from his own. However, Yichuan harbored some skepticism, recalling that the last island master he defeated did not have such robotic companions. Perhaps this host might not possess them either? The answer could only be unveiled when they confronted him directly. After instructing Saturday to distribute the snake soup, Yichuan consumed it with haste and commanded the sea turtle to hover and accelerate, darting toward their target like lightning. When they were still 100 nautical miles away, Yichuan, in a precautionary measure, opted not to engage the shield, instead deploying the barrier, a device capable of withstanding full-force attacks from forbidden-level marine creatures, one of Yichuan's crucial defenses against Sun Shaosan. On top of a massive clam, Sun Shaosan, flanked by 2 beautiful women, sneered as he observed the rapidly approaching Turtle Island. He slowly waved his hand, signaling the invincible warships to commence their assault on Turtle Island without restraint. Yet, whether it was cannonballs, missiles, or lasers, all seemed futile against the barrier, causing Sun Shaosan's brow to furrow in contemplation. Could it be that he is also? With that thought, he abruptly shifted his stance, unleashing a terrifying super shockwave that coalesced into a formidable beam of light, hurtling toward Turtle Island. Chapter 571. The shock from Sun Shaosan, a super shockwave. The crew aboard the vessel gasped in unison at this spectacle. I have already stated, he and I are of the same ilk. Yichuan retorted coldly. Everyone, pay attention. With those words, the menacing beam struck the barrier with tremendous force, merely slowing the turtle's speed without inflicting further harm. This is impossible, Sun Shaosan exclaimed. Incredulity etched on his face as he regarded Yichuan. He had surmised Yichuan's true identity, yet if they were indeed of the same kind. The super shockwave, a move of such magnitude, should have inflicted at least some damage on Yichuan and his companions. How could they advance unscathed? Island Master, are they truly formidable? A beautiful woman could not help but ask in a delicate voice. It may be somewhat challenging, yet ultimately, the conclusion will still rest in our hands. Sun Shaosan smirked coldly, accompanied by a grand gesture of his hand. 3 formidable experts, 3 mechs, slowly emerged atop the giant clam. Sun Shaosan, with an air of arrogance, gazed at Yichuan and proclaimed, "My friend, we are of the same ilk. I believe that by joining forces, we would fare far better than engaging in mutual destruction. Do you not believe that together, we could even dare to venture into the forbidden zones of life? Do not speak to me of such trivialities. My mission is to eliminate you." Yichuan replied coldly, "What is the point of wasting time? Let us settle this swiftly." With these words, ground-to-ground heavy artillery, super laser cannons, and even rotating crossbows began to unleash a rapid assault in all directions. The invincible warships, simultaneously retaliating, commenced their own attacks. Although Sun Shaosan was immensely powerful, his warships appeared devoid of any protective shields, seemingly inexperienced in large-scale battles. Despite their relentless assault, a few of these invincible ships, targeting Turtle Island, exuded a sense of inadequacy. This realization rendered Sun Shaosan's expression grim. He forcefully pushed the 2 women off the giant clam and, gritting his teeth, bellowed, "Eliminate them." In that instant, the 3 mechs launched an assault towards Zhao Feiyu and his companions. Sun Shaosan soared into the sky, then came crashing down, directly aiming for Yichuan. Every effort he had exerted was being methodically dismantled by Yichuan, inciting a fury within him that unleashed unfathomable power. In his hand, a staff seemed to channel the might of heaven and earth as it descended fiercely upon Yichuan. I shall witness what kind of formidable adversaries an unhinged system can conjure. Observing the oncoming Sun Shaosan, Yichuan could not help but smile coldly. He drew his long blade, unleashing a surge of energy, and executed a 360-degree spin that sent forth a blade of light several dozen meters long, colliding with Sun Shaosan in midair. In an instant, the sound of thunder erupted, and a terrifying shockwave burst forth, shattering the space like glass and creating a vast expanse of fragmented spatial debris. Yet, under the ocean world's miraculous restoration abilities, the space fragments rapidly mended. However, Sun Shaosan was left astonished by Yichuan's prowess. Clearly, this individual should have been a novice recently entering the oceanic realm, yet he had ascended to such heights in just over 8 months. His own system had continuously asserted that it had severed ties with the main system's control and would swiftly propel him to the Sky City. Yet now it appeared to be mere bluster. Damn it! Gritting his teeth while glaring at Yichuan, Sun Shaosan slowly moved his arm that gripped the staff. "You have truly enraged me. How dare you disrupt my meticulously laid plans and foolishly attempt to kill me? Do you not realize you are chasing an illusion? I initially thought this would be a daunting task, yet it seems, in reality, it is far from it." Yichuan shrugged lightly, asserting that the cause of all this turmoil did not lie with him. The blame could only rest on the malfunctioning of your system. "Now, allow me to show you the terror that ensues from such chaos." Sun Shaosan bellowed, shaking his body as he charged once more towards Yichuan. With a dismissive smile, Yichuan met him with his blade, once again engaging in fierce combat. As 2 formidable masters of the water realm unleashed their full strength, the entire space shattered and restored in a continuous cycle. The sea surged violently, creating terrifying deep pits, while monstrous waves of hundreds and even thousands of meters were relentlessly stirred up. Aside from the colossal clam, which remained steadfast upon the surface of the sea, even the invincible warships had been consumed by the deep pits, rendering them mere scrap metal under the relentless onslaught from Turtle Island. In comparison, Lu Shuai's solitary battle against 3 mechas seemed trivial. As the second strongest in their small team, Lu Shuai held the Bible in one hand and the Holy Cross sword in the other, continuously fending off the mecha's attacks while reciting incantations to cultivate an invincible ultimate move. Though the 3 mechas posed a challenge, they were not insurmountable, especially as they communicated mentally, seemingly devising a strategy within mere seconds and initiating its execution. Caught off guard, Lu Shuai was deceived by one mecha feigning a vulnerability, only to be met with another mecha that lunged swiftly at his throat. In the mecha's perspective, Lu Shuai's moment of panic never materialized. Instead, it wore a grin of triumph, as if Lu Shuai were the architect of his own demise. The mecha clearly heard Lu Shuai utter a single word towards it: light. just as the distance between Lu Shuai and the mecha dwindled to less than a meter. Countless bullet-like points of light suddenly erupted behind him, surging towards the mecha with overwhelming force, rendering it incapable of defense and propelling it hundreds of meters away. Its circuits crackling as it succumbed to defeat. Ha ha ha, you mindless robots. Did you really think you could outsmart me? Lu Shuai chuckled, not even considering the gravity of the situation. Amen. The two remaining mechas swiftly darted towards their incapacitated comrade, only to abandon the effort as they recognized the sheer horror of the earlier attack that had rendered it useless. This incited a fury within the remaining mechas, and though they could not speak, they retaliated fiercely against Lu Shuai. Come on, let me show you just how powerful humanity can be. Amen, haha. Lu Shuai laughed heartily, the Holy Cross sword gleaming as he charged at the two mechas. Chapter 572. Yi Chuan encounters danger, little poison awakens. Boom. With a resounding crash, a blinding golden light erupted from Sun Xiaoshan's staff, striking fiercely against Yi Chuan's long knife, the tremendous force sending Yi Chuan flying. In the brief minutes of their confrontation, Sun Xiaoshan's power had surged by at least 30%, radiating a series of golden flashes that evoked the aura of a divine warrior. Looking down upon Yi Chuan, Sun Xiaoshan couldn't help but let out a hearty laugh. Boy, didn't you want to witness the true might of an uncontrolled system? Is this strength sufficient? Not strong enough. Yi Chuan shook his head. Although Sun Xiaoshan's prowess was undeniably escalating, if Yi Chuan unleashed absolute gravity, he would still remain superior. Moreover, Yi Chuan intended to conclude the battle swiftly, aiming to eliminate Sun Xiaoshan so that even if the system spiraled out of control, without a host, it would be rendered useless. Hearing Yi Chuan's words, Sun Xiaoshan's expression turned icy, his gaze fixed on Yi Chuan with frostbitten intensity. Boy, since you dare to say such things, I shall let you witness just how powerful my system can become upon eruption. With that, Sun Xiaoshan lunged forcefully towards Yi Chuan. Yi Chuan smirked, his figure vanishing suddenly as he activated his invisibility. Although it lasted only 5 seconds, it was ample time to contend with Sun Xiaoshan. Momentarily bewildered by the sudden loss of target, Sun Xiaoshan paused, sensing a gentle breeze approaching, yet he was unable to pinpoint Yi Chuan's location. After 3 seconds elapsed, Sun Xiaoshan's expression shifted dramatically, and he swung his staff fiercely forward. A terrifying golden radiance enveloped the sky, blindingly bright like the sun. Then, it seemed as if time itself had frozen in that instant. Sun Xiaoshan watched in disbelief as Yi Chuan suddenly appeared beneath him, a spear soaring towards him. With no strength left to resist, he witnessed the spear strike forcefully against his chest, piercing through to his heart. Damn it! As Yi Chuan retreated, Sun Xiaoshan gritted his teeth, glaring at him. How dare you harm my precious body? So, Yi Chuan shrugged. Do you think this is the end? Sun Xiaoshan sneered. If you truly believe so, you are gravely mistaken. As he spoke, golden energy began to swirl around him, flowing like water, gradually reaching his heart and miraculously mending the damaged organ. This is impossible. Yi Chuan's face changed dramatically, disbelief etched across his features as he stared at Sun Xiaoshan. My system has detached from the main system, free from any constraints. Sun Xiaoshan stretched lazily, chuckling. Thus, disregarding the facts, I have become an immortal. You, a mere mortal, think you can kill me? That is nothing but a delusion. What kind of task has the system assigned me? This fellow cannot be killed. Yi Chuan glared at him, nearly at a loss for words. Yet, the system seemed to ignore Yi Chuan, perhaps lost in contemplation. So, boy, it is time for me to initiate my counterattack. Sun Xiaoshan gently swayed his staff, mockingly gazing at Yi Chuan as he proclaimed, it seems we are the only two systems in this entire oceanic realm. Now, I shall show you just how exhilarating it is when a system spirals out of control. With that, he vanished from sight, casting aside all extraneous thoughts. Yi Chuan let out a low growl, striding forward to once again engage in battle with Sun Xiaoshan. Despite Sun Xiaoshan having enhanced his strength by nearly 50%, Yi Chuan, armed with extensive combat experience, managed to hold his own for a time. However, as Sun Xiaoshan reached the pinnacle of 60%, Yi Chuan began to find himself on the defensive. Although Yi Chuan's defense was nearly invincible, the strikes from the golden staff were excruciating, especially after Sun Xiaoshan unleashed a flurry of blows, swiftly closing the distance to Yi Chuan. With a feint, he swung the staff fiercely towards Yi Chuan's heart. In that moment, it seemed as though fate had reversed. The experiences once endured by Sun Xiaoshan were now being inflicted upon Yi Chuan. Growing increasingly impatient, Yi Chuan misjudged the situation during the fray, directing his attack towards Sun Xiaoshan's feigned strike, leaving him unable to retaliate. A smirk appeared on Sun Xiaoshan's lips. as if he could already envision Yichuan's impending demise, prompting him to laugh triumphantly. Die for me. Bang. The next instant, the staff collided with Yichuan's chest. To Sun Shaosan's astonishment, the anticipated scenario of a fatal blow did not unfold. Instead, he felt an odd, viscous sensation. What? Sun Shaosan stared blankly at Yichuan, bewildered. Shouldn't your system have gone haywire too? Haywire, my foot. A sudden voice erupted, followed by dozens of sharp, elongated black spikes erupting from Yichuan's chest, thrusting violently towards Sun Shaosan. Whoa, little poison! Yichuan exclaimed, his expression shifting to one of exhilaration as he laughed heartily. I adore you. Ha! Master, this fool intends to eliminate us. If we do not thoroughly trounce him, it would be a disservice to his insufferable face. Little Poison retorted coldly. I can hardly bear to witness this. How did you suddenly awaken? This is incredibly timely. Yichuan eagerly inquired. With all the nutrient solutions you provide daily, if I were to remain dormant, I would be utterly remiss. Little Poison replied with a huff. It is fortuitous that I awakened just in time for us to confront this wretch together. We must demonstrate who truly reigns as the foremost in this oceanic realm. What on earth is that? Sun Shaosan swiftly dodged the assault, scrutinizing the dark substance emanating from Yichuan's chest. Kid, does your system only produce these repulsive things? You are the repulsive one. Little Poison snapped back. You are the very definition of revolting. And you? Sun Shaosan's expression hardened. What's wrong? Out of words, are we? Little Poison taunted. Fool. A single strike is lethal, and two will ensure death. It is only fitting to dispatch both of you together, so that you may have company on the road to the netherworld. Sun Shaosan scoffed disdainfully and struck once more. With a 60% increase in power, he regarded Yichuan with utter contempt, even with the addition of an insufferable ally. He was confident he could annihilate both the man and his loathsome companion in an instant. Charge! Little Poison bellowed, instantly transforming into battle armor that enveloped Yichuan and simultaneously launched a fierce assault against Sun Shaosan. In an instant, the two clashed once more. Chapter 573, Master and Servant United, their might unyielding. With Little Poison's involvement, Yichuan's combat prowess surged, effectively neutralizing Sun Shaosan's enhanced strength. What was once a manageable fight had now turned exceedingly arduous. This unexpected turn of events left Sun Shaosan puzzled. What manner of entity was this Little Poison, capable of transforming into battle armor and fighting alongside him? Surely, the system had never rewarded him with anything of the sort. As he pondered this, Sun Shaosan momentarily faltered. While he was preoccupied with fending off Yichuan, Little Poison suddenly unleashed a tremendous force, condensing into a fist that struck Sun Shaosan with tremendous impact. Ow! Sun Shaosan exclaimed, his body propelled backward. Yet, in that fleeting moment, a series of black threads erupted like silver needles, piercing his ankles and preventing him from being sent flying. Come! Yichuan laughed heartily and struck again. The forbidden spear elongated and descended mercilessly upon Sun Shaosan's head. Just as he was beginning to comprehend the unspeakable pain, he was struck again before he could fully regain his senses. The unfortunate Sun Shaosan found himself plunged into darkness, losing the ability to retaliate as he plummeted into the water like a cannonball. Damn it, what is this thing? Sun Shaosan growled through gritted teeth. The moment he entered the water, he regained consciousness but had no time to react before the black threads yanked him back. With a mighty sweep of his staff, Sun Shaosan severed the black threads with brute force. As he flipped in midair, he suddenly beheld the black fist hurtling toward him. FK. In that moment, Sun Shaosan's composure began to shatter, and he was forcefully driven into the water by the overwhelming strength. Master, this is exhilarating. Little Poison laughed heartily, reveling in the thrill of such an invigorating battle. It's been ages since I've enjoyed myself like this. Joy is secondary. Our primary objective remains to eliminate this foe. Yichuan replied sternly. Understood. The colossal hand formed by Little Poison made an okay gesture toward Yichuan, patiently awaiting Sun Shaosan's reemergence, intending to deliver a decisive blow. Yichuan couldn't help but inquire of the system. How might I eliminate the rogue system you mentioned? Destroy the water-controlling clam. The system promptly responded. That massive clam? Yichuan asked, astonished. The water-controlling clam, an SSS-class marine creature, possesses the ability to manipulate seawater and boasts terrifying combat power. The system provided a direct introduction, revealing that only by breaking through its clam-like defenses could it be vanquished in the shortest possible time. I initially believed this matter pertained to Sun Shaosan, but it became evident that the true focus lay with the colossal clam. Yichuan suddenly comprehended. However, he also recalled his own circumstances. Upon entering the oceanic realm for the first time, He had bound himself to Turtle Island. Thus, it seemed that the system was not primarily connected to him, but rather to the turtle, ensuring that when the host was eliminated, the system could preserve itself. Damn it, this system is not as benevolent as it appears. As he pondered this, a tremendous crash resounded, and Sun Xiaosan erupted from the water, propelled by a deluge of water columns that surged violently towards Yichuan. Yichuan could not help but murmur, "Little Poison, let us swiftly eliminate this fellow. He is not our primary adversary. The true threat is that large clam." Understood. Little Poison responded with a gesture. In an instant, the master and servant unleashed their might against Sun Xiaosan. At this moment, Sun Xiaosan appeared frenzied, glaring with wide eyes and grinding his teeth as he shouted, "You bastard! I have been diligently developing my own strength here without offending anyone. Yet you insist on bringing about my demise, you beast. If there is blame to be placed, it lies solely with your system for losing control, potentially causing harm to the oceanic realm." Yichuan shrugged lightly. "Then you must face annihilation. You are merely a lackey of the system. What right do you have to speak so?" Sun Xiaosan retorted vehemently, "My fate today is your fate tomorrow. Do not presume yourself to be righteous." With that, Sun Xiaosan charged fiercely towards the duo with overwhelming force. The long staff and spear clashed once more, unleashing a terrifying power that made the entire sea tremble violently. The shockwave cleaved the water almost in two, plunging down thousands of meters to the ocean floor, carving a deep trench several dozen meters wide. In that moment of collision, Little Poison unleashed an unparalleled force. Countless black threads, as fine as hair, transformed into the world's most resilient metallic needles, piercing into Sun Xiaosan's body. Sun Xiaosan shuddered and quickly retreated, as those silver needles nearly perforated him. Although golden matter rapidly repaired his body, he had been punctured by thousands of needles, rendering him nearly as porous as a sieve. Restoration was futile. Damn it! Feeling the omnipresent pain coursing through his body, Sun Xiaosan glared at Yichuan with gritted teeth. "Is your battle armor toxic?" While termed battle armor, it was in fact a super S-level tentacled monster. Yichuan shrugged slightly. "However, having been injured by me previously, it is likely that its current strength has not fully recovered, but it must at least be at the SSS level now, right? Master, we are bound by fate. Why dwell on past grievances?" Little Poison chuckled. "What matters is our unity now, which is as sharp as a blade." "Well said. Let us first eliminate this fellow." Yichuan chuckled heartily, swiftly making his way towards Sun Xiaosan once more. "I'll fight you to the end." Sun Xiaosan, resembling a madman, gritted his teeth and brandished a long stick fiercely towards Yichuan. The clash between the spear and the staff commenced anew. However, given Sun Xiaosan's recent injuries, he was no match for Yichuan and was swiftly sent tumbling into the sea by a powerful thrust. Just as he was about to plunge into the water, the black threads of Xiao Du surged forth, ensnaring his body and yanking him upwards with terrifying strength. In a state of utter bewilderment, Sun Xiaosan found himself momentarily lucid, only to see Yichuan advancing upon him with ferocity, the sharp spearhead resembling a death decree, crashing down upon him. In an instant, it was as if Sun Xiaosan were watching a film of his fleeting life, which imbued him with a newfound appreciation for the sanctity of existence. He could not help but scream in desperation, "No." Chapter 574. The water-controlling clam is the true boss. Yet, it was too late. The spear erupted with a resonant dragon's roar, striking with unmatchable force into his chest. The heart, formed of condensed golden energy, detonated instantaneously, causing Sun Xiaosan's pupils to constrict. In the next moment, the black threads exerted absolute force, pulling towards either side as Yichuan's spear sliced downwards, tearing Sun Xiaosan's body asunder, sending him lifelessly into the sea, while only the golden staff was seized by Xiao Du master. "This item is a treasure," Xiao Du exclaimed excitedly. "It should be of the same caliber as your spear. Let us set this aside for now. We must not forget that we have one more enemy to vanquish." Yichuan replied, turning slowly to gaze at the water-controlling clam. This gigantic clam remained poised on the surface of the sea, seemingly without intent to flee, as if eager to practice with Yichuan. Boom. Meanwhile, the battle involving Zhao Feiyu and the others had reached its conclusion. Despite being skilled fighters, they were utterly powerless against Zhao Feiyu and had been cast into the water, where they were devoured by the lurking great white sharks beneath. The three mechas had long since vanished from sight. All six of them now stood before Yichuan, with Xiao Feilong grinning. "Big brother, the situation over there has been resolved. The battle is over." "No, there is still one final foe." Yichuan shook his head and pointed towards the large clam ahead. "This is an SSS-grade adult peak water-controlling clam, possessing formidable strength. We must prepare for a serious confrontation. Come on, big brother. If you can defeat an Ultra-S growth stage creature, why do we need so many of us to tackle this clam? Xiao Feilong chuckled. I reckon even Lu Shuai could handle it alone. Trust me, you are mistaken, Yichuan said, his expression grave. This will be a fierce battle. After all, the uncontrollable system now resides within the water-controlling clam. Should the clam be vanquished, it would signify the dissolution of the system. Thus, it is evident that the system shall not easily relinquish its hold on the clam. Empowered by the system, this creature may even reach the zenith of the Super S-class adult form. Just wait and see. At this moment, Lu Shuai chuckled heartily, grasping the cross-shaped holy sword in one hand and the Bible in the other. Today, I shall purify this great clam. Amen. With that, he took the initiative, unleashing a torrent of milky white holy light, aiming to cleave the clam in twain with a single stroke. However, in the next instant, the clam stirred. A towering column of water surged skyward, and as the seawater gradually dissipated, a colossal figure, formed from the sea, emerged before the onlookers. It bore an almost sentient quality, coldly fixating on the advancing Lu Shuai, extending a massive hand to strike down upon him. Come, Lu Shuai bellowed, and the cross-shaped sword sliced forward with unerring precision. The sword's aura surged forth, the pearly light resembling the scythe of death, and in an instant, it crashed against the giant hand, cleaving it in two. Yet, the other hand of the colossal figure soon followed suit, crashing towards Lu Shuai with tremendous force. At that critical moment, the milky white energy solidified into a protective shield before Lu Shuai, absorbing the impact of the terrifying blow, causing only a slight tremor without inflicting any harm. I underestimated you, Lu Shuai remarked with a cold smirk, swiftly retreating as a flurry of white light points rained down upon the adversary, bombarding the sea giant until it was reduced to mere drops cascading back into the ocean. However, before these droplets could settle into the sea, they transformed again, launching towards Lu Shuai. Employing the same tactic, he placed the holy light shield before him, but these droplets possessed a ferocity surpassing that of the previous sea giant, shattering the shield and striking Lu Shuai directly. The overwhelming force sent him hurtling backwards, leaving red welts upon his skin. Though the droplets did not pierce his flesh, the pain was akin to that of shattered bones, leading Lu Shuai to question his existence. Damn, is this not an SSS-class marine creature? How can it be stronger than Super S? This is precisely why I assert that this being's power is utterly formidable. Yichuan scoffed, his gaze icy as he scrutinized the droplets surging towards them. With a swift motion of his hand, he invoked a counterflow technique, neutralizing the oncoming force. The sea turtle gradually emerged, and Yichuan instructed softly, I will confront this creature. You all head to the island and deploy every weapon at your disposal to drain its strength. With that, Yichuan was the first to strike, propelling himself towards the clam like a cannonball. In that instant, the clam astonishingly opened its shell, revealing the soft, tender flesh within, seemingly intent on ensnaring Yichuan within its depths. A flicker of cold mirth flashed in Yichuan's eyes as he hurled the super missile directly toward the giant clam. Simultaneously, he executed an aerial somersault, propelled by the assistance of Xiao Du, and retreated swiftly. Just as the giant clam prepared to close its shell, the super missile detonated, unleashing a tremendous explosion that sent the clam hurtling into the depths of the sea. The once tender, pearly flesh of the clam was now rendered pitch black and severely damaged. At this moment, Yichuan had already returned to Turtle Island. With the second activation of the barrier device, this formidable force exerted